Liberal men are soy boys. Debate me. Okay, that's the debate tonight. I always think it's nighttime. I'm just, doing live in the morning. This morning, our debate is liberalism rejecting masculinity. We got a couple of gentlemen joining us to have this debate. Sir, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, before we start, one of us is going to have to change, right?
Well, we're not completely wearing the same thing, but I was wearing it first. So.
To be clear, yes, I did wear a beanie just for this specific occasion, and they didn't think it was that funny. In fact, I have a lot of misfires of jokes on here because we didn't have the same sense of humor, so that was a little weird. But it was very surreal being in the Tim Pool compound. It's I was like, wow, I used to watch this, and now I'm on it.
Well, so I've been told by Alex Jones that you wear the beanie because you have the, what did he say? He said, Tim Pool has the mark of the beast on his forehead, and he hides it because he's the Antichrist.
Well, he calls the mark of the beast a pentagram.
Okay, but yeah, I'm the soy pill. I make video essays. I'm a progressive. I'm a soy boy, but I try to own it, and try to fight the stereotype. But
all right, he's a soy boy, and you are not a soy boy, sir?
I don't know if I would identify myself as such.
Okay, so John Doyle, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much just a Nazi. I mean, like completely unambiguously, like super racist, like anti-Jewish, anti-black, he kind of hides it a little bit, but he also doesn't. He's like, if you look even slightly under the surface, he is. And to be clear, he's not here to debate me. He's here to make Tim Pool look like he's in the center. And you'll see this in a little bit. Tim Pool's going to say, oh, John Doyle, that was a really right-wing thing you said, and kind of push back a little bit. But then the rest of the debate is just me and Tim Pool talking. And this is just what Tim Pool does. He gets two people on, the leftist person who he wants to debate, the right person who's there as a prop to be yelled at by the leftist person for a little bit, and then to sit there and play on their phone for the rest of the time.
Necessarily. I'm simply a guy who talks about politics on the internet. My name is John Doyle, and I'm glad to be back on the program.
I don't know. He looks like he works out more than you do.
Well, he's got to. That's the thing. That's why he calls himself the soy pill. His job and why he exists in the ecosystem is to sort of be a lightning rod and be like, soy boys? Absolutely not. Look at me. I go to the gym. So it's like a costume. I respect a good physique, but
he's
it
coping.
has to be that way because it's
Respecting
you.
a man's physique is pretty soy, I got to say. You're checking me out.
I didn't say that, but no, it's indicative of discipline and things like that, which 99% of people on your side would reject, but it's good for you. I'm happy for you personally.
Well, we'll try to change that. That's kind of the point.
Okay, well, let's get into that. That's a general idea. There's a couple elements to this. We were going over what is the core theme yesterday, and it's that masculinity is incompatible with liberalism was one of the arguments, or that liberalism rejects masculinity. I guess that's your argument. Do you want to kick off what you mean by this?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, whether you look at it from like a fundamental perspective where the idea behind liberalism is more or less derivative of this like blank slate. John Locke, father of liberalism, that we are all these blank slates, and if there is to be a masculine or feminine identity, that is simply because of what's popularly, argued to be like a social construct or something, but it's not something that's really rooted in nature. There is no natural way for men and women to behave, and insofar as we see those throughout society or history, it's because men typically have oppressed women for whichever reason. And so I would say that it rejects the concept of masculinity, and there are ways to intellectualize this and, what is a real man or something, but I would just say that it's how men typically tend to behave when left to their own devices. And moreover, I would say it rejects it in terms of its political implementation, because when liberalism or liberals tend to get in power, what we tend to see is not only they're being rejected by men who are maybe...
So a bunch of the comments and a bunch of the people, you're going to notice I interrupt a lot, especially at the beginning, especially when John's talking. And that's because they just start saying really dumb shit really fast. So I think my first interruption's coming here. And it's kind of ironic that I interrupted myself about to interrupt. But yeah, this isn't because I'm like, oh, like I'm being bad faith. It's just like, look, you guys are going off on your rants, all this crazy shit, and you're not even like talking to me. So I have to like keep getting my word in. But let's see.
More normal or masculine, as you see, whether it's you're looking at who men are voting for, or you look at maybe the most, extreme manifestations of left-wing men in the country. Look at like the Antifa mugshots. They all tend to look a certain way. And then when liberals get into power, they persecute masculinity. They make male behavior illegal. They empower women. They demonize men throughout the culture, things of that nature. There's even like a biological component, which I know we've covered on the show before with RFK and different things they're putting into the...
What male behavior is like illegal from like...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, patriarchy, fatherhood, courting, all things like that.
So notice he makes this claim that like there's a illegal male behavior that's happening, which is like kind of painting into this right-wing narrative that men are demonized, which like to a degree, white men are in especially the ultra-liberal circles a little demonized. But then he's like, oh yeah, it's like illegal to be a man. It's like, okay, what do you mean? Like assaulting a woman in a club? Like, so I try to press him on this and he has no good answer.
Illegal though? Yes, yeah, in many cases, like typical male behavior, which would be used to take control of your household, to meet a woman, things like that, are culturally enforced to either be, denigrated or demonized, or in some cases, like, yeah, you can have, police harass you if you make...
Notice he walked it back there. Oh, it's not illegal. It's just culturally enforced that, like, yeah, you shouldn't be like an aggressive asshole when you're like hitting on a girl, or like, I don't know, beat your wife, but
you know, or maybe coworkers harass you or HR harass you for making an inappropriate comment at the office or something like that.
Well,
So,
Okay, but that's
I
not
would,
illegal.
I would say to the illegal component, there is not that on the book that says being a man is illegal. Like obviously beating your wife is illegal and it should be. However, there are circumstances where because of this system.
By the way, I don't know if John Doyle would say that beating your wife should be illegal. In fact, he might be a person who thinks that marital rape isn't like a thing. So
the balances of it. Men who don't beat their wives, who actually get beaten by their wives, will still have the police called on them, and they are more likely to get arrested.
Yeah, but that's not making masculinity illegal. That's a concept of these, perceived gender roles. Women are perceived as weaker, and frankly, mostly are. So if that does happen, it's just a matter of like, hey,
Women
there's
are
this
weak.
big guy. Huh?
So I noticed this happens all throughout the thing. Is I was trying to be charitable, not because I think Tim is good faith, but like I'm appealing to the Tim Pool audience a little more, and I will say like, hey, yeah, like in general, women are weaker. And even when I would give this like conceit that like obviously is true, but like is not something I'm going to bring up as a point, Tim would still push back. He's like, no, they definitely are weaker. And it's like, oh my God, like take the fucking W I'm giving you. I'm trying to be gracious. Here's my olive branch.
I said women are weak.
Yeah, well, I mean, just in general, they're on a spectrum. Like, no, I mean, people like, get to mad at the left for like rejecting the reality of like, most women are weaker than most men, which is true. But like, that does come back and hurt men too sometimes when it's like, oh yeah, like how could this woman be beating this man? Like, how could that possibly happen? But that's a factor of viewing women as less.
I'm just saying, if we're going to view the law as a rigid, it is as it is, then I would disagree with you, John. It's not illegal to be a man, but if we're looking at the function of what law does, because typically we don't. I bring this up all the time. There are laws in the books we don't actually enforce.
Sure.
Like my favorite, as I was reading this book, and it said it's illegal in Boston to cool a pie on your windowsill on Tuesday or something.
Well, yeah, because it like
Back then,
interferes with
bears.
air traffic when the people float through the air.
Well, back in the day, it was with bears.
No one caught that joke. I don't know if the pie on the windowsill thing is lost on these old men, but apparently not.
It's like you live in a small village, you don't want a bear coming by, don't put food on your windowsill, but now who cares, right?
it's the results of social incentives, cultural programming, which create the same effect, a deterrent that would be, created perhaps by a law that's enforced, but without.
Oh, real quick, Joe Davids, did Tim teach you any new tricks or Tony Hawk's? No, but if you've ever seen Smiling Friends, there's a scene where like in the first episode, Pim is like, hey, my brother, my cousin, he could do like sick tricks on the tech deck. And unironically, 10 seconds before we started, Tim was doing like the little tech deck tricks and like not, he's kind of failing at it. It was very funny.
Having the bad optics of like literally making it illegal to be a man or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an apparatus of law that is anti-male or masculine.
I don't know. I don't see that. So
Now, okay, I want to say my biggest failing in this is like I tried to come across as like, look, I'm from the most liberal progressive area, and I just don't think this is happening. I probably should have had like a study to back some of this stuff up, but yeah, this idea that like, oh, we're demonizing masculinity legally through the system is like, what are you talking about? And it's like, are you talking about like Me Too, where it's like, hey, don't rape people? Oh, dang, they got us.
hear what you're saying. I think a problem with the left is 4 years being a straight white guy was like the norm, right? And then finally the left starts getting into power and it's like, hey, let's highlight all these marginalized voices, right? Like women come here, black people come here, trans voices, gay voices, whatever. And the problem is now it's not focused on men. And a lot of these pendulum swinging people are like, yeah, you guys are the patriarchy, you guys are the cis het white males. And there is like a attack or at least a narrative against that. But I don't know, it kind of reminds me of something like white privilege, like that term, where if you look like back in the 90s and 2000s, I want to say like kind of everyone just accepted like, oh yeah, black people get treated worse by the police. Like they have it worse off. Like there's the, what's that Onion skit where it's like, this is America. No one deserves to be treated like a black man, right? Like, yeah, it's like they rule that a white woman can be treated as a black man. That's like,
right.
And it's like that was kind of like culturally
Yes, I know that
accepted. But as soon as you introduce the term like white privilege, now you have people like white guys, like even me when I first heard this in high school, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like I have problems, right? Like things are happening to me that are out of my control that suck, and now you're telling me my life's just better. Like this is kind of this weird term that's like attacking the people that really haven't done anything wrong in a way to frame the idea that other people are less well off. And
So I don't know if there's a better word for this, guys, but like, what do we call white privilege? Do we call it black detriment? Do we call it like in-group preference? Like, how do we make it so white people don't get upset when they hear it? And what they hear is that, hey, minorities in general have it worse than you. We need a better word for it.
that kind of happening with men now, where they're no longer centered because it was the norm for so long. And so people feel rejected from the left. But really the left is this umbrella of, hey, yeah, you can be a soy boy, you can be like a little twinkie guy, femme-coded, gay, whatever, but you can also be masculine. But those traditionally masculine people, which is the norm, which most people do fall into, are not, don't feel as welcome because they're not the only thing that's being focused on, which is what the right does, right? It's like, hey, you can be, this is all we are, rather than this is the umbrella that encompasses that. And people like me, like I grew up in the most progressive place.
Black detriment. Oh, what if we called it, you know how he says, it ain't easy being cheesy? Like, dang, it's whack being black. We got to come up with one for every race that is discriminated against. Joe Davids, I'm a progressive, essentially.
like on the planet in San Francisco. I went to like a liberal college, UC San Diego. This is like, you know, all the SJWs. There were people like on the middle of the campus with signs that said like white men bore me, you know, or little posters are like, oh, don't say minorities, say POC, right? Like very, very progressive SJW stuff back in 2016 era. And like none of that made me less masculine or make me want to be less masculine. It's just made
Who
me
to
say,
be a
oh,
Jew.
okay, that's kind of annoying, or like that's weird. But like the idea that it's such a turnoff that it's pushing you into a different party is weird to me, because like my ideals haven't changed. It's just like, oh, okay, like I can still be me, I can still be this in this party. I'm just not the sole focus.
I don't think it's about sole focus or centering or anything. I mean, if you even are familiar with like the average temperament or disposition of a conservative or a Republican, these are people who fundamentally like just want to be left alone. Like you don't have to go and talk.
Okay,
to
this is so wild to me. He's like, conservatives just want to, you know, be left alone. It's like, dude, no. And especially like his politics are all about like enforcing this like trad, like super ultra far right fascy stuff on the entire country. So he just has to like crypto this, I guess, on Tim Pool's show. It's very weird.
to a bunch of like Trump supporters and appeal to them as like the white vote or the straight vote or things of that nature. And I think it is actually pushing people who otherwise would have preferred to identify themselves with like the predominant party into the arms of Republicans or Trump, as has been the case with a lot of media personalities, for example, because they do feel ostracized, not just because of maybe some of the excesses that you see on the college campus with like a sign or a t-shirt that says like boys are icky or like down with white power or something, but because the policies which these people are pursuing ultimately are dispossessing normal white Americans, and they're becoming more aware of that, which is why they're walking away. They may agree with you on, you know, wanting to be left alone, people can have their own identity, but at the end of the day, when that party gets into power, they act in ways which dispossess normal Americans, takes money from them, opportunities from them, and redistributes it to literally the entire world and demonizes them throughout the culture. So I would like it to be some umbrella. I think that would be nice, but that's not what we tend to see when you guys get into power. And even in your own case.
The issue is that even as you're describing it, people view politics and people of all generations as a single group. So when you say things like, you know, it's the right, they're, you know, white masculine men or whatever, and the left is trying to lift up voices that aren't actually white men, that is saying that the younger generation of liberals have an issue with boomers and Gen X, so they penalize Gen Z men in a way that these Gen Z men can't comprehend or not.
So he tries to give this narrative about the fact that like, because racism existed for older generations, they're trying to punish younger white men for the crimes of their ancestors or something. It's very strange. It's like, no, like white privilege is not a generational thing. If someone is, for the record, if someone here is new, white privilege is not, hey, white people have it better because they're white, even though that's kind of what it is. It's more, hey, if you're white, you don't deal with the things that black people deal with. And that's it. And that still exists for younger generations. It's better. And I go on this later as a tangent. I'm like, what? Would you say white privilege wasn't real in the 60s? Like, obviously, someone in the 60s who is black is going to get treated worse in a like pre-civil rights era. That's all that means. And it's like, yeah, black people in general are going to have a harder time in certain parts of society. This does not mean on an individual basis that every single white person is going to be better off. It doesn't mean that every single black person experiences the same kind of discrimination. It is just in general. And so he tries to fucking do all this wild shit about like, oh no, it's about the boomers, it's about the Gen Z, it's like, no, like this is completely separate. Yeah, it's a 1.25 times speed, so I don't have you here for 3 hours, guys.
I think it's perceived as penalizing. I don't think it is, but I know what you mean.
It is.
That's the thing. Well,
no, but it is. Like
I have never felt penalized.
A group attacking white people, insulting white people, and then they're allowed to do it, is creating a condition by which you're allowed to be racist to a group of men that did not experience this white privilege that was described.
Sure, but like,
so that's penalizing.
First of all, again, as much as I have a problem with the term white privilege, I think you can look at like statistics of do white people
Thanks for
get as much
joining
shit as,
Big
you know,
Dick
black
Swinging.
people?
Great. Now let's go back to what I was saying about Gen Z.
I'm just saying, like,
how about
you do experience it, but the problem is like,
let's talk about my point.
We can.
An 18-year-old man did not experience the white privilege of a 55-year-old white man.
You're
and
saying
so
like
an
economics, like,
an 18-year-old who's entering the world and saying, man, it's really hard on me.
Yeah.
And then the left in these colleges say, you're white, you're bad, you're stupid, you bore me. And when they go, please stop making fun of me, they go, no, you have white privilege. And he goes, no, the old guy might have, but I don't.
Well, that's the thing is when I say, hey, generationally, you can look at the way that these races have been treated. And yeah, like you're not experiencing the boomer housing market, right? Like I'm not as well off as my parents. They bought a house for like, you know, $300,000 and it's now worth like $1 bajillion. I would never be able to afford that. I probably never will be able to. I just have to wait for them to die. But that's not the same thing as white privilege.
BlackRock will get it before that.
Huh?
BlackRock will get it before that.
That's true. That's true.
Not even joking.
Yeah. No. The idea that like that has something to do with like the way that different races are treated by some sort of system, I think is irrelevant. But the point is, that's what I'm saying is like you don't feel white privilege. I'm not like, oh boy, what a great day. Well, I am like, what a great day to be white, because like let's be real, it's kind of hard to be all the other races. But you're not feeling this advantage. It's the point is like if it was framed as something like black detriment.
I actually disagree with you about it's so hard to be the other races.
Harder? Oh, because you're Korean?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was told that if I put down that I was Mexican, I would get free stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, so my parents told me not to put down that I was Asian when I was applying for anything because I'd be discriminated against.
Talking about like DEI policies and how like, or maybe like an affirmative action thing that's like trying to correct historical record. So like a white person might feel like, well, this guy, because this happened to me in college. Like I saw people that were maybe not as like smart as me get advantages, maybe because it was like a, SWE is like Society of Women Engineers. Like they'd get certain opportunities or scholarships, and it's like, well, shit, like I didn't get 10 grand to just go and do this like one particular thing. It's literally just because you have a vagina. That does happen.
No privilege.
Yeah, so he's going to describe people getting, scholarships for being a woman is anti-white, and therefore white people don't have privilege. So you can clearly understand, like, I think he's being a little bad faith here. You can clearly understand the concept of being preferentially treated. And he goes off about Chinese people a little bit here. Let's see.
Sort of.
Literally.
The point is, like, if you're looking at it as a societal thing, it's like that is something that in this specific, minutia of college, yeah, there are people that are going to be lifted up over maybe white people, but you don't see that as privilege insofar as like, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal. In fact, these people are, but it's talking about a historical thing of, oh, these people had it worse off for so long. But that's why I would call it like a black detriment and not like a white privilege. But this is back to your point on what was it?
What does that mean, though?
The
The
point-
point had it worse for so long. I mean, we've been following the vector of like progressive
And now John's going to talk about how black people actually didn't have it worse for so long. So, because he's John.
progressivism and civil rights for 60 years now.
Yeah.
And by any metric, I mean, whether it's like familial wealth, house
I
ownership,
think
which you
black
alluded to.
generational wealth right now is like similar levels to like Reconstruction era. It's not very good.
Exactly. So we've been following this vector of progressivism and saying that this is to make up for injustices of the past. And this vector would suggest that those injustices have been alleviated because it's now illegal to discriminate in varying capacities. But the situation
why
has
would it
not
suggest that
improved.
it's been alleviated?
Because we have the civil rights movement, the Great Society, all of these fruits, which has made it illegal for you to discriminate in the ways that you're alluding to in terms of these past injustices.
Yeah, but like
so if
when
that's
they-
been
when
made,
they
hold on,
pa- well-
if that's been made illegal, then it would suggest that maybe these injustices were not orchestrated from the top down, people just being mean and racist for no reason, but that there are just cultural things that are different between people who exist in America, which is why there really hasn't.
Yeah, it's like actually racism wasn't people being mean and racist. It's actually just inherent. And we do it like this is the natural settling of the races where all the generational wealth is.
Been a big change between the 60s and now in terms of
Well,
how
I-
things are performing.
I would argue that
Oh, this is the one time that Tim pushes back on John Doyle, who is a Nazi, by the way.
blockbusting and redlining, which still exists today illicitly, would be the argument against that.
Redlining,
like,
if you
just-
look at the actual counties which were affected, it didn't take into account things like credit score, income. If you actually look at the data behind redlining, it's just
Sure.
it's a liberal
All
talking
right.
point the same way
Blockbusting.
that Jimmy, I don't know, blockbuster.
Blockbusting is when, still to this day, real estate agents will intentionally buy a house, move a black family into a white neighborhood, then solicit the residents there to sell their properties because, quote, there goes the neighborhood, and then try and buy the houses on a premium. And then what they do is they buy the house, rent it to a black family, go to all the houses and say property values will go down because a black family moved into your neighborhood. You need to sell to us now. They'll get the property for a premium. Then a year later, they move the black family out, restore the prices up to where they are in the market.
So I'm upset that he just moved on from the redlining thing because that is a really big thing about generational wealth and segregating people into community and then making their schools worse. And this, like, we're still seeing the downstream effects of this today. But he's right on the blockbusting thing too. Like, these are systemically racist things where you don't need a racist actor to do blockbusting. You just need them to be like, hey, I'm not racist. But I know that if a black family comes in here, the prices will go down, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. And I don't hate black people. I just want the prices to go down. Okay, like, that's discrimination, and that's hurting the black community. So
Market. This was made illegal in the 80s, but it was a principal way by which they perpetuated this. We still see this today, where it is typically recognized as a racist market fact. Like, I'm not saying there's an individual who's racist against black people, but you go to any real estate agent and
out of
ask them, like, hey,
context,
you
Tim
got-
seems
you got investment
liberal here
properties?
almost.
What would you do if a black family moved next to your investment property? They're going to tell you they're going to sell.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, look, I've got no problem with a black family. Tons of friends are black, but the market will react negatively to this, so I probably don't want to lose money and I would sell. That concept perpetuates since the 80s. So I don't know how you get rid of this. You know, it's funny because even liberals do it. Like, the story that I've told is a woman that I worked with who was this progressive Hispanic woman. She said that she inherited a property in New York City from her.
The reason I bring up anecdotes so much too is because it's a Tim thing. I thought maybe if I do anecdotes to counter his anecdotes, but it's not a normal thing I'd do.
Grandpa or from her family or whatever. She was woke, as one could describe woke. And I said, what would you do if a black family moved next door to your property? She goes, oh, I'd sell right away. And I was like, isn't that racist? And she goes, I'm not trying to be racist, but like, my property would lose all its value right away. And I'm like, okay, so long as you believe that and perpetuate it, that's going to cause problems to the net worth and like the generational wealth of black families.
Right,
So
that's
I-
not
I-
illegal, right? And
it's not illegal.
like stuff like that happens all the time. That's kind of what people describe when they talk about systemic racism. It doesn't take a single individual being like, oh, I hate black people, like throw them in jail. Although that does still happen. And that's the other thing is, like, you talk about, like, yeah, it is illegal. Yeah, we did pass the civil rights law, but like, kicking and screaming, half the country was fighting against it, and those people didn't disappear, and their kids probably have very.
Joe, that wasn't. This is not edited out of context. This was live streamed. I don't think they took anything I said out. So I'll give them that, I guess.
similar values. We are becoming more progressive, but the idea that like, oh, well, because it's illegal, it's gone now, is just like not borne out. Like these things absolutely still happen. These people still hold these views in a lot of different places. So
Of course it is. I mean, if there were any evidence that it were actually happening, even on the individual level, like this is the example that comes to mind. Look at like what happened to Papa John. Papa John literally said the N-word in a meeting, telling employees of what not to say.
No.
he was quoting someone, right?
Papa John said something to the effect of, how come Colonel Sanders said N-word and he got no flag for this?
Okay.
Why is that acceptable? He was condemning that Colonel Sanders used the slur and no one cared, and they used that against him to strip him of everything.
The point being, it's such a
I can
hot
use this to
market.
pivot back to the topic, though. Actually,
Any instance of racism, you can file civil suits, you can do whatever. It can become a national media thing. You can get a book tour, whatever it is. If these instances were actually existing, even at the individual level,
I can't tell if he's genuinely this dumb. I think he's being bad faith, but like, oh, like if rapes were happening at this level, like you would see more rape, like, convictions. It's like, well, some people just don't report them. Some people don't think that the cops will follow through on them. It's like, yeah, if racism was to the extent you're describing, and obviously you could look at arrest statistics, you could look at like any sort of comparisons with hiring practices, and like look at the actual evidence for systemic racism, which we have. You can see it, but also there would just be, social media posts everywhere. And it's like, well, there kind of are, dude. Like, I know you don't see them.
So I feel like it's this like game of, I don't know, whack-a-mole, where it's like, oh, surely these things must be being caused by, institutional racism, even at like the individual level. Whereas, I mean, maybe we've got the thing with the blockbusting, but there are also things like education, school funding, crime rates, of course, all sorts of different things that we could use to explain the outcomes of different cultures in this country that we can't quite find so precisely with things like institutional racism or even, anecdotally.
But all of those things you just mentioned can be products of the institutional racism, like blockbusting, where it's like, hey, this like entire neighborhood of black people is just more poor because of something that started off as a racism thing, or maybe from someone who was well-meaning, a liberal, progressive, woke person, and yet this is now downstream effects. The property values are lower. That means the school's going to be underfunded. Like this is all. Like,
that's why they get funding from the federal government.
It's like 10%, I think, for like public schools. Right?
On average, I think schools that are majority minority receive like 1% greater funding from the federal government than schools that are predominantly white. Even, I mean, they even have better.
So I think I point this out, but this is so wild. He's like, yeah, they get 1% more. It's like, okay. That's like nothing, especially compared to like the like how much lower the property values are and how their schools don't get fucking funded. But all right, buddy, like nice try. Like the argument, like, yeah, the black schools are just better and they're still not doing well.
Credentialed teachers with advanced degrees, they get more funding. And I remember I went down to Cass Tech High School in Detroit because I was trying to do a fundraiser one time, and it was better than my high school, which was in Birmingham Public Schools. It was supposed to be like one of the better districts. And I go down to Cass Tech High School, and I'm like walking in between like crackheads and human feces, and I go into what looks like a Silicon Valley startup building, and I was like, okay, this is like pretty advanced. Yet I don't know how many kids in Detroit schools are literate. So clearly there's something else going on. I don't know about that.
Like 1%, I don't think is going to make a huge difference. And I could just fire back an anecdote. At least I grew up in a particularly poor neighborhood, and I was in like the okay kind of middle of the line mixed school. But all the schools down in Richmond, which is like a notoriously poor neighborhood, were really bad. There's like gunfights, drugs, people getting. I mean, there's literally, I think a movie about just how bad there was, like Coach Carter or something like that. Like these are really, really bad schools. The property values are really low, and these kids like they grow up, they don't have anything. They don't have a lot of opportunities. I don't think you can just attribute this to like, well, it's just the cultural thing. But the culture is downstream of definitely things that happen due to them being in these like segregated ghettos, essentially.
I don't know, man. I see.
But I wanted to focus back to the masculinity thing because you mentioned the Papa John thing of this idea that like he didn't actually do anything wrong. I don't think he quoted someone who did something wrong to disparage that racist guy, right? Yeah. And then the reaction was, let's cancel Papa John, despite the fact that if you look at this in context, this man has no ill will towards black people. This man is specifically trying to call out racism, and I think that's kind of what's going on with the masculinity thing, where you get this concept of like toxic masculinity. I know you covered the Gillette commercial, right? Where like everyone freaked out because it was like calling out men, and like.
It wasn't calling out men. It was
like
stereotyping and disparaging them.
Right. And like this idea that like the pendulum swing back to the left is, hey, for so long we've seen these bad behaviors, and rather than try to like integrate and like, hey, men, like let's fix men as men, it's more of this like, hey, guys, like look at patriarchy. Look at this, like, the men control everything. The white people are oppressing us. And like this idea does alienate people because you hear this and like you're like, well, even if you're not one of those people, it's like, oh, well, why are you being mean to me? Like you said, like, why are you pushing this on me? And the reaction of like the concept of toxic masculinity becomes this like, oh, so being masculine is bad, even though it's trying to describe the worst parts of masculinity. It's unfortunate that like people just hear that and they get turned off instantly, and it's like this overreaction from the left that causes an even more overreaction from the right to push them away.
I have a question. How come the toxic masculinity and patriarchy and white supremacy narratives don't exist in other countries to their
okay, this is the weirdest point that he brings up. He's like, well, why don't they have white supremacy in China? And it's like, dude, because they're in China. What? And like, I'm like, well, I guess you could call it Han supremacy. I'm like, yeah. Or like Uyghur detriment, or like literally, be any other race than Chinese, you'll get discriminated against in China because it's much more monoethnic. Like, yes, this exists. And like, he pretends like this is a gotcha to like, oh, well, this is why white privilege doesn't exist. It's so weird.
Like in China, how come there's no like left side of their political spectrum saying Han supremacy is bad and Chinese people are oppressors.
Well, I don't know specifically much about China. Do they not like lock up dissidents to a degree there? Or?
Oh yeah, it's the point being like, where's their political movement calling out their moral or racial or ethnic supremacy?
I don't know if there is one for like racial or moral. I mean, you can look at
it seems like
the concept of Taiwan or Hong Kong and these people kind of rebelling against the leadership there. But
they're
I
the
can't
same
speak.
ethnic background.
Yeah, I don't.
Taiwan is the original Republic of China. It's a difference of political ideology.
Sure, but I think they consider themselves like different peoples, right? Or maybe I don't know. I'm not like.
Well, the Taiwanese are going to say they're Taiwanese for sure, and China's going to say the Taiwanese are Chinese. My point is, in the United States, the only group with racial
like there's literally like in the Taiwanese history, if you look at like the White Terror and like the discrimination against like the island peoples versus the mainland Chinese, like yeah, this existed. Like every fucking culture in the world has some sort of like discriminatory like majority group preference or some sort of weird privilege, you could call it. So I don't know why he's bringing this up.
Are white liberals. Blacks, Asians, Latinos have a racial in-group preference. And white conservatives have a racial in-group preference. White liberals have a racial out-group preference.
You say out-group preference, like if you poll them, they're like more likely to support their community than the party or something.
No, they're more likely to support non-white people.
Okay, and so white liberals are the only group that would support non-white liberals.
So racial out-group, meaning black people are more likely to vote for and support black people. Latinos are more likely for Latinos, Asians for Asians, white conservatives for white people, and white liberals for any other race.
Sounds like white liberals are the least racist people.
I would argue that makes them the most racist.
Well, if we're willing to vote for anyone in our out-group?
No, it means they don't support white people. It means they have a preference.
They specifically have
the gay sex thing is at the very end, buddy. Sorry.
Anti-white bias, you're saying?
Yes. Well, we call it racial out-group preference.
Well, what I heard from that is like, oh, they're willing to support anyone other than specifically white people, which is kind of what my experience has been in like San Francisco. It's not. Let me be clear. There are people on like the fringe left that are like, oh, fuck white men for sure. But for the most part, it's just like, hey, like I'll support anyone regardless of their politics, and like that's kind of what that sounded like to me, or at least maybe that was me projecting my experience onto what you were saying.
Like progressive activists, one might say, are nuts, but they do hold a disproportionate amount of power among the liberal faction in this country, be it the Democrats or otherwise.
I'm being so nice. I'm like, maybe I'm just projecting.
Universities and
it's like, fuck, why is I being so nice? I get Tim really triggered at the end. I should have done that at the beginning.
The SJW college UCSD, right? And I even took a gender studies class. They had like a requirement DEI class, right? So like I thought like going in, I would watch Tim Pool. I would watch like anti-SJW content, and I thought this was going to be like the wildest thing ever. And going into that, it was really just kind of tame. Like sometimes they would say some wild stuff, but it was never like, hey, you're a white man, sit down, shut up. If anything, I was the guy talking in class the most, like because I was the one who was more opinionated. I wanted to have these conversations. I was really interested in like, hey, like this seems like an insane idea. Can I push back on it? Like no one ever like marginalized me for being white. At the worst, there was maybe some rhetoric, but that's kind of like my whole thing about this masculinity thing is, yeah, I get some bad things coming at me, maybe some like mean comments, but that's like really the extent of it. Like I don't feel discriminated against, and like why let that change like who I am in my politics and make me feel like it didn't make me feel like I couldn't be myself in the liberal party.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I know we all have our opinions and that's our prerogative, but we do live in a two-party system, which is to say that you have to at some point align yourself with whichever party you believe is going to be a better approximation of how you want the world to look. And so I have, complete respect for your opinions and your experience and you aligning yourself with progressives, maybe even voting for Democrats. But the problem is that when Democrats are in charge, whether that be expressly in political institutions or even culturally, you do see that demonization, which maybe is caricaturized in something like a Gillette commercial. But even then, I mean, you can trace this back to growing up, and you may not feel like, a mean comment here or there is really like stripping you of some identity, but it is true that girls are encouraged, boys are treated like they're defective girls are the example you're supposed to behave.
So this is an interesting narrative he's going to go on for a while about, and I'm like, why is this different now with Democrats and not like kind of what we've been doing for 100 years? And he doesn't really have a good answer for this.
And boys are being plugged into this learning environment, which is frankly like alien to them in the way that boys tend to learn versus girls.
Also, like, boys in the chat, did any of you guys not learn because you were just too rowdy because your natural boyness prevented you from doing math? Or are boys just like disproportionately like in all of these STEM fields and learning really, really well? Like this is such a strange narrative.
And so a lot of them just check out
on some of these. Like, because like I said, like my middle school like was the most progressive private middle school like you could ever like go to, and like I was never shamed for being a boy. They to be fair, I did a little rowdy stuff and I got in trouble for that, but it was never like, oh, you need to sit down and shut up like a girl. Like I'm a little confused.
Right, but the fact is that males tend to have a more tactile learning basis,
like hands-on sort of stuff,
physical activity, things like that, a requirement for more physical activity. But the entire school system is, we give you 7 hours of sit down and shut up. And we
is
give
Kyla a
you
gender essentialist, Juna?
Where boys probably need substantially more tactile learning. And so what John's saying is, it's not that they're going to the boys and saying, you're a boy, you're bad. They're saying, behave in the way we've outlined.
Right, which
and
is
as it
against their
pertains,
nature is kind of the argument. Like
it's just more feminine. It's more female
It
centric.
creates
Okay, sure,
conditions
but, like-
which are going to make them less successful, and it tries to elevate women into being more successful. Let alone to mention, the things, all these programs, outreach, women in STEM, everything like that.
Can we pause? Because like, okay, when you say they're going to be less successful, I mean, like this has kind of been how we've done school.
Yeah, like this idea that like, oh, if we just let boys be more rowdy and boyish as they naturally are, they'd be more successful. Like I haven't really seen this anywhere, and the idea that we need to, like, we should have more hands-on learning, period, for everyone. But like, we need to like teach boys and girls differently in like grade school is kind of a weird claim.
Schooling for decades, right? Like this wasn't really borne out in the past 100 years that men were less successful because they were feminized
That's
in
not.
school, or
No, that's not. I guess you can say feminized, but
well, that was what you guys were saying.
take,
Like they're
take,
saying like
take
you
a
know,
look at
be
the last
quiet or
100
be-
years.
The last 100.
Quite literally, I think the argument would support that over the last 100 years of industrialized, institutionalized learning facilities, it has been to the detriment of men, and we can see that substantially.
Like what metric? I mean, like the
men are
Yeah,
more
it's like
likely
the industrialization and the way that we teach kids is a detriment to men. That's why for most of the last 100 years, men have been more successful, more job opportunities. Like the metrics he's going to point out here, like as we've allowed women to do things, are, well, men kill themselves more, and it's like, what? Like, how are you attaching this to the way that we treat boys in school? Like, as if that's majorly shifted to the point where like men die more? What?
commit suicide. They don't live as long.
I think
They're
everyone
more
is
likely
right
to be
now.
unemployed. They're more likely to be unemployed right now, especially in this generation, millennials and Gen Z. They're more likely to live at home with their parents, not have jobs,
But if
not
you're
go to
comparing this
university.
to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, maybe, yeah, sure. But if we're
Right, it's a
looking past
gradual-
100 years, and you talked about industrialization, where it's like, yeah, I think just on a whole, everyone is better off post like 1860s, like invention of factories, like
Well, the
as
point
people
is
move into
this:
cities, like
since we've implemented this institutionalized learning industrialization, you've had a downward trend. And
Men should be held back
doesn't
by
mean
1
it's
year.
industrialized
sole-
learning, are you talking
Hell yeah.
about?
Industrialized learning is when pre-industrial revolution, you had small schoolrooms, sort of, where
Yeah,
it
like
was
the schoolhouse with the one teacher and the 20 kids or whatever.
and even then it wasn't entirely that way. A lot of kids would just learn from their parents, or through correspondence, or through self-study, or through their largely
Yeah, but I mean,
homeschooling.
if we're comparing
Industrialized-
industrialized, we wouldn't say like we're smarter, better off than that as a whole. I mean, I feel like most people are doing better, absolutely, than the like 1850s learning.
but we're not
I'm so
talking-
incredulous here. I'm like, are you seriously saying that like before we had industrialized schooling, we were better off? Like, and by what fucking metric?
talking about technological advancement. We're talking about the structure of society.
Yeah, I'm talking about like life
So-
expectancy, happiness, like all the other
Technological
metrics.
advancement indeed has
Yeah.
continued to go up, largely
Life
due to
expectancy's
oil.
down, actually, and
In the 1850s.
no, maybe not from the 1850s, but quite recently, life expectancy has dipped, I think, in the last 5 or 10 years or so, particularly for white men who have been so vilified unfairly. And what was the other one? Happiness. I don't know how you would quantify that. You
That
could
is
look
a
at,
hard
like,
one for sure.
the general social survey, or, as Tim mentioned, suicide rates. That's a pretty good.
That
No, no, no,
That
no.
was
Just,
going up.
I think it's quite simple. I mean, happiness is relative. It's subjective, and humans adapt.
Real quick for everyone watching, because Lucky Monkey asked this and a bunch of people are, this will be unlisted because it's like both streams together and I leave all the VODs unlisted. I'm going to clip the first debate out. Me watching the Tim thing is going onto the Soy Pill Streams channel. So it'll be there tomorrow.
But the fact that we have a large portion of the younger generation, of
Dragon.
men, their needs, not in employment, education, and training. is
Dragon just
indicative of
said,
a
"I'm gonna
failure
kill
of our
myself because
society
I'm
towards
white."
men.
Yeah.
Women are more likely to go to university and graduate than men by like what? It's like 60-40 now.
But their suicide rates are up as well, right? I would say I mean, men are better at everything, so that's why we kill ourselves more because we're better at it, and they're more likely to do. I mean, people always bring up gun
Like I
deaths.
was doing this like very dry humor thing throughout, and they just like does not resonate with them. I hope you guys like it when I say men are better at everything, including killing yourself. But
Right, like I think half of them, there's like 13,000 of them per year. Liberals will complain
Mostly
about this, and like
suicides.
gun. Yeah, most of them are suicides, and like if you have a gun, it's easier. And women tend to do things like what, like wrist
Pills.
stuff, pills, things that you can recover from. And I think like it's one of those things where people are unhappier in the trends right now because of what you're talking about. Because you look at your boomer dad and your Gen X dad, and it's like, well, what the fuck? Like you got all these opportunities, and I don't get any of these. And there's all these expectations. It's like, what's the big lie of like, just go to college, you'll be successful. And like, I graduated college. I was one of the lucky ones. A lot of people just didn't get jobs out of college. They're struggling. I can't afford a house. The only people I know in my generation, I'm 29, that have a house are the 2 engineers that got married. And even then, they're not in California. They're in like Colorado. They're in some other place where the cost of living is much easier. So like, I think this idea that this is because of the demonization of men is not nearly so borne out as it is. People had this expectation of what life was supposed to be, and it's just not happening. And so all these, like, as a whole society in our generation is more unhappy because we're not getting what we want. We don't have the house. We don't have the white picket fence.
So once again, the issue is if you're an 18-year-old white man and you grew up in a society, you've experienced no privilege.
Well, why do you say that? No privilege. Like when I say
because you're-
privilege, like,
because-
you don't have the Gen X privilege, right? You don't have that economy. But when it's like, hey, like, because again, I hate the word privilege here because it's like you don't feel the idea of black people are cops are less likely to attack you
because that's
you're black,
not
right.
because what I would say is the challenge with
sometimes when Tim thinks like this, I can tell that he like, I feel like he can understand it better and is purposely dancing around it. And you'll see him do this much more obviously later. So it's like, yeah, you can understand that it's easier to be white than black in general statistically, right? And he's like, well,
What you're describing is it's based on class for the most part,
It's
with sometimes a racial component.
I was reading a study actually from, I want to say this is it's on a book called How Fascism Works, which is like the most liberal book I could have brought up here. But it was talking about the hiring practices of people who report themselves as former convicts. And it was like black versus white, not a former convict, black versus white, former convict. And for like the black who are not former convict, the percentage of whether or not you get hired is already like 10 times lower or something ridiculously low. And then for the black convict level, even the white former convicts were getting like hired at like a 10 to 5.
yeah, true, Mustafa. This is what I was trying to say in shorter words, which is equality feels like discrimination when you've been privileged for so long.
Percent higher rate. It does seem like there is at least this product of, and people call that privilege. I don't like that because if I'm a white guy not getting hired, I don't feel privileged, right? That's why I don't like the word.
So the issue is there's no such thing as white privilege. That is a fact statement, not an opinion.
What do you mean by that? Because what I just described,
Because there's
what
something
people mean,
because
but I think that's a bad word.
Because you can when you're trying to determine any kind of like fact basis in science, we look for controls. And when you look at any other non-white nation, these concepts don't exist. However,
We're a unique nation.
similar
White privilege doesn't exist in non-white nations, therefore white privilege is factually untrue, is something I would call him an idiot for in any other context, but because this is the beginning and I'm trying to be nicer, it's like, all right, buddy.
The history of
meaningless.
racism.
Similar.
No, I'm saying it's meaningless.
So if I finish the point that I'm trying to make, instead of you interrupting before the point can be completed,
Okay.
The Han Chinese, for instance, have an ethnic majority and supremacy, and they experience what one would define as a privilege.
Okay.
But it's not because
Oh yeah, then he describes exactly what white privilege is and then pretends like it's not real.
white privilege.
Yeah, it's Han privilege, sure.
It's just majority privilege.
Going forward, I will be meaner to Tim than I am to Tally. To be fair, I'm not mean to Tally always. In fact, in our gender debate, I was very civil with her. It's just when she pretends like she is a authority to speak on. And I get pretty mean with Tim by the end of this.
A nation's ethnic and cultural majority tends to dictate what they want and what they expect.
Okay.
That will never go away nor change.
Well, I think it can change. I think if
Well,
expectations change, you just
so-
described it. The point is,
So the point that I was making,
you're agreeing with the concept, which you
there's
clearly
no
get
white
it.
privilege.
But-
And if you
but
are a
there's the-
Gen Z white man, you've never experienced such a thing. So when they say, white guys would go and apply for a job, they get it. And now a 17-year-old white guy applies and they go, no white people, get out. And he goes, there's no privilege because
No
there isn't.
white people? I'm sure this has happened before, but like, is there like a massive influx of people like we don't hire white people? I mean, first of all, it's literally
Yes.
illegal, right?
It should be, but this is typically what the left supports. So we
I don't
actually
think
we interviewed
people
a
are,
pro
as a
skateboarder.
whole, supporting the idea of we can't hire white men. Like,
Absolutely.
They're supporting the
94%
idea of
jobs
like
in
I work at
post-Floyd era went in the to people of color to women in the S&P 100 or
boosting
something.
a marginalized group is not the same as saying no white men. If there are people that say
It
you
is
cannot
literally
hire
the
white
same
men,
thing. It
no,
is
it's
a matter
not
of
because you're
policy.
assuming
It's
it's a
illegal
zero-sum
to
game.
hire white men.
Yeah, no. Wait, what? It's
Yeah.
illegal to hire
Yeah,
white men?
if he started a company and all he were hiring were white men, T-minus what until a lawsuit comes in? They would be investigated. You
Right.
cannot start an S&P 100 company or some serious
Right.
company without
By
hiring.
the way, and I didn't bring this up, but I found this out shortly before the debate. I think they are getting rid of the recording data in the government for like demographic data post-Trump election, so that you can't determine whether or not something like this is happening, like all white men being hired at your government agency. Just fucking wild, but I didn't bring it up here.
some women, some minorities. So it's illegal to hire based on merit, which yes, in practice makes
Well, that's
it
not illegal to
hire
be
white
hired
men.
based on merit, first of all, because the idea that
Sure it
like
is.
no, because you're describing it like they just found a black woman on the street and they're like get in here, right? Versus like hey, when you look at a pool of qualified candidates, you can't select one race, which is a very different thing. And it's not a zero-sum game. You have a bunch of different slots. If it was one slot and you're like for this one job, you can't hire a white guy. I think like the only thing that would ever make sense for that is if you're like casting for a show and it's
Well, so,
like,
I mean,
this character's black, right?
But it is a fact that this happens. That white guys are passed over.
Right, but you're
Affirmative action
describing it as
exists.
a phenomenon that is so widespread that every 18-year-old millennial is experiencing this, which is, at least in my experience, is like growing up in this progressive area, in the most
See,
progressive.
this is where I make a weak point. Where like that didn't happen to me. What I should have said is, show me the fucking data where white men are being discriminated against on a mass and for millennials. This is ridiculous.
place on the planet. This is not happening. I'm not getting discriminated against for
Yeah,
being white.
good point. Start a new company that's a Fortune 500. Yeah, just do it.
Like I said, I'll get some insults here or there, but it's not
That's
like
called being
well, hold
discriminated
on.
against for being white. Yes.
Okay, sure, but not on an institutional level for jobs. Like no
How would
one's
you
like
know?
we're
What
not
are you
hiring.
comparing it to?
I'm comparing it to like every other white person that I graduated with, like all the white people around me. Like none of these people are
Generations
struggling.
don't experience the same thing as the other generation. Like literally, Gen Z men are struggling.
I am in Gen Z technically, and I grow up around, I hang out with a lot of younger people because I had a deferred college like graduation. So
Would you agree that Gen Z men are struggling?
yes, absolutely, but I don't think
Okay.
it's because of white men discrimination.
I didn't say it was. It's a component.
Yeah.
The point is when the left comes out and says we want affirmative action in hiring and colleges and public contracting, the 17 or 18-year-old white man is going, whatever it is you think boomers got, I don't have. I don't get. So when you create a racially discriminatory system, you have created a privilege for certain classes of people.
Yeah, in that specific thing, yeah, absolutely. And this is what I was talking about. Like, you don't even if like just for a second assume that the phenomenon that we both agree exists is called white privilege, just because that's what people call it. It exists insofar as like, yeah, this person might be preferential preference in this specific area, or you might not just face the same problem as a black person here, but you don't experience white privilege. You don't. I don't feel the absence of something. Well, you agree the majority group in control is going to have some sort of like in-group preference for that same.
Which for the past 15, 20 years has been liberal left, so they're white critical.
To an extent,
yeah, so he's now saying that the majority group of America is liberal left, and in hiring in like institutions, and then his only examples he can think of is like Twitter. So let's see.
Our country is not like a liberal left majority ruled by. They're not like
when Jack Dorsey was in charge of X, for instance, if you post FBI crime stats, you'd get banned.
I'm sorry, your example of whether or not white men or liberals are in control is just Twitter not allowing like.
Perhaps I could describe it as Facebook, YouTube, and X, the 3 largest social media platforms in the country and the world,
is a big component of
banning
our lives,
people for posting fact data because it was deemed racist.
Yeah, but that's not just posting the fact data. Almost if you're posting like 1350 stuff, it's because you're trying to paint a greater narrative of, black people have a crime gene or something.
So you're not disagreeing with me?
I'm saying that if you're using the example of like, oh, look at our institutions and how they're overwhelmingly liberal. If you're talking about social media, yeah, they were for a while. I think that has since shifted, obviously, especially
and major cities, institutions are liberal as well.
Major cities, yeah, but if you're talking about like the country as a whole, jobs, like all these places, this is not like everything everywhere. Like it is absolutely part of it, 100%, and like half the country sure is like liberal, progressive, not progressive, liberal at the very least. But the idea that like that is the same as saying like a white majority in group is just not like borne out. There's not like I guess you might say like certain people might discriminate against your politics in certain areas. Definitely in San Francisco, I've had people who are MAGA leaning at the least, but like that is not the same as like a white in group preference.
This is not there's not a debate on this issue. This is a fact statement.
So after all that, it's like, look, obviously there's like different in-group preferences across the country. It's not all liberal progressives just because YouTube, Facebook, and X, Twitter, were more progressive and discriminated against bigoted right-wing opinions. It's like, this is not disputed.
That we had Supreme Court hearings over as to liberal institutions not admitting hiring white people.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Now,
you're saying, does this happen? I'm saying, yeah, obviously. I'm saying this is not the widespread concept of America is this in-group privilege for white liberal progressives or liberal progressives. Like, I just don't think that's the case.
No, it's anti-white.
Sure, liberal progressives being the majority in-group, in the same way you might say that America was a primary white in-group preference in like the 60s. Like there's not like that sort of thing going on, like to the extent of like, oh, we're like
the point being the left right now is penalizing young men for something they did not do. It's the sins of the father.
Penalizing how? Like you talked about discrimination, which is true.
If you apply to go to Harvard, you have to score higher substantially than a Latino or black person to get in. Yeah. That's called a penalization.
That sort of, but again, this is like
they literally deduct against your score based on your race.
Right, and they do that for like Asians the worst, right? Too. It's
I know.
There's like a whole lot about this. Did they get rid of that?
I think they technically
did get rid of it.
They changed the way they went about it, which was another controversy. I don't know where the lawsuit ended up. It's been a while since we covered that one.
But this is also one of the things where I'm like, I haven't gotten to finish this point, but the idea like you don't experience privilege is like you don't feel less detriment. You don't feel that.
I've only ever felt more from it. Huh? I've only ever felt more detriment.
Exactly. You only ever feel it when it's against you. So like if someone is like, oh, like let's just say we're talking about the 1960s, where like obviously you would assume like white privilege exists in the 60s, right?
No.
No.
So I was like, oh fuck, I forgot I'm talking to John Doyle, the like Nazi, like white privilege exists in the 60s, right? He's like, absolutely not. It gets so stupid here.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get into that. I kind of know your politics. I don't want to get into it.
You couldn't marry someone who wasn't the same race as you. You couldn't live with them.
Yeah, like even Tim Pool's like, wait.
Of like, oh, my grandparents were the crazy ones, but I know better. It's like this has been a consistent trend and in the country's history.
Well, I'm literally just saying, was it not obvious that you had a harder life if you were black in the 60s? You can't say no to that. Come on.
Oh, actually, Derek Bell would disagree with you.
I have no idea who that is.
He's one of the founders of critical race theory.
He would say it was easier to be black in the 60s.
So I think Derek Bell is one of these like, oh, like we should go back to when we had our own communities people, and he's going to try to use this as like, actually, CRT, Derek Bell, therefore the left agenda is this, even though most people have never heard of this person. This is like a very strictly academic thing, and even the academics don't agree with him, and people aren't arguing for like segregation policies. This is ridiculous. Just to pivot off, because like John is trying to defend the idea that black people didn't have it worse in the 60s.
Argument is that the end of segregation was a detriment to black people.
Okay, I don't care. That sounds stupid. But
well,
the point I'm saying is
hentai goonicide. Would you rather be black or white when you get pulled over by the police? This is so obvious, and the fact that they're arguing against it is so fucking weird.
This is critical race theory.
Yeah.
He works alongside Kimberly Crenshaw. They wrote the book on this stuff.
Okay.
The argument among the people who advocate the concept of white privilege is that separate spaces for black people, they call them POC spaces, are better.
Safe spaces. No, I experienced that.
I wouldn't call it. They don't call it safe spaces. The argument was from Derek Bell that They said Plessy v. Ferguson was wrong. He says there should be black-only schools. There should be black-only businesses.
Okay, this guy sounds like a radical racist person. I don't like this.
But this is
what
what
you're describing.
This is critical race theory, the book. This is what the universities are teaching. Derek Bell is a
I didn't
prominent
learn
thought
this
leader
in DEI course. I literally took gender studies. I didn't learn about Derek Bell, maybe, but I don't think
should.
this is
I
what's
mean,
like the
he's a
universal like
contributor.
university. First of all, the fact that I am like familiar with so many college people and no one has told me this before. I'm not saying this isn't real, by the way.
You haven't studied critical race theory.
No, I'm saying this is not like the universally applied theory to most of these places where like, yeah, we need to segregate society.
How much time have you
back.
spent in the black community?
A lot, actually.
So during the Ferguson riots, for instance, and the Baltimore riots, they were circulating a letter, the teachings of Derek Bell.
So he keeps coming up with these like very specific niche positions for more radical people that want to like segregate white and black people, and is like, actually, this is what CRT and the Democrats and the gender studies is, and it's like, dude, where is this? What like actual person has ever said this in like any and all seriousness, and not you reading it off the Daily Mail and then remembering it 8 years later?
For a black-only community space. In fact, I think it was.
Only
Hey,
community
Grant.
space is different from 1960 segregation, though.
The argument predicated upon that before the end of segregation, black people had their own economy, their own Wall Street, their own wealth.
Yes, I've heard this.
And
before,
after
yeah.
the,
and it's like it was better then, right?
And what the argument they're making is that white supremacists, which had always been the Democratic Party, the party of the Klan and Jim Crow and slavery, decided if we allow black people to establish their own economy, they will supplant us. What we need to do, while they're still weak, force them by law to integrate with us so that our institutions will be over them.
Okay,
that is the critical race theory view of what the end of segregation was.
It was a ploy to subvert the black like excellence kind of movement. Like they would have
Tim
done
Pool's
better
not
on
hotter in
However you
person.
want to describe it, the point was, the question asked by these critical race theorists, these black community leaders, is why did the Democrats do a 180 in a matter of 4 years?
the Southern strategy.
Some people try to make the argument that they were trying to win, but that doesn't change how an entire block of racists suddenly...
To be clear, this is not some people make the argument. This is like undisputed fact by any serious historian. Actually, Mr. Beat has a very good video on it. You should all watch.
We're not racist anymore.
Well,
we're talking about
racists become unracist, or did
the politicians themselves. Yes, they didn't
like Robert Byrd.
They didn't evaporate from the political landscape. They just all of a sudden said, you know what? We agree. We're not racist anymore.
Okay, sure. If the argument is that,
I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying that's the critical race theory argument.
Sure. It seems kind of like a weird conspiracy theory, but the whole point I'm trying to bring up is like, look, if we just talk about white privilege or privilege in general, you don't feel privilege. Like I don't feel if I was a 1960s white guy, I'm not
It took a while.
Boy, like there's no problems in my fucking life because I'm not forced to go into the left door instead of the right door, and I don't.
I don't have white privilege at all. I'm mixed race.
Well, hold on. I mean, do you agree that if we're accepting the concept of white privilege in the 60s, that you don't feel privilege if you did have it then? You don't feel like, oh, everything's better. You just don't have it worse, right?
I think what I would say, just to clarify, is ethnic majority access is probably a better way to put it.
Cool. So it took me 30 minutes to get Tim to agree that white people have it better in the 60s. I know he already thinks it, and he just doesn't like the term white privilege, and he's trying everything in his power not to be caught in a clip of him saying, yeah, I guess white privilege is real there. It's ridiculous.
Sure. And you don't feel that until it's gone, right? And that's kind of what's happening on the left with men, where it's like we had a big in-group preference for so long, and now because we're focusing on all these other groups, I'm not getting the focus. Me, white men, big muscular guys, people discriminate against me insofar as they're like, oh, like, is that guy here to invade my space? I've been in they would go to these like feminist talk circles in college, and they'd be like, what are you doing here? They give me looks because they're like, you're not like us, you don't look like us, and that feels like, oh, well, shit, like because we've focused and put the spotlight on these people who never did have it before, now I don't have it. It feels like something's
That's
been
just
taken
the
away
same
from me.
problem regurgitated for a new generation.
Right. And I'm just saying,
choosing anyone based on
saying
race
that-
is the problem.
I'm saying that feels alienating, and I understand why men are not drawn to that, especially when the right offers them something like, hey, like, we're not doing that. And it's just simple as that.
The left is basically going like, hey, look at that problem. Let's do the exact same thing again.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, actually, telling a guy that he makes a woman in a women's circle feel uncomfortable is the same as 1960s segregation, so...
Sometimes, but I don't think it's the exact same thing. For example, like you talked about, if you have a black-only community space, I don't think that is the same thing. As much as I say you don't need to have that necessarily, like you can absolutely have white people working in your community towards a common goal, I don't think they're segregating them because they're like, oh.
Grant, I was never a sleeper build, let's be clear. And he was avoiding clippable moments, but he always does this. And that's why when Sam Cedar got him in like a corner, he was like, you're clip farming, Sam. And it's like, what? Like Sam would never do that because Sam doesn't fucking know what clip farming is. But Tim knows that it will be clipped. And so he freaks out when he realizes like, oh, this could be used against me because I look like an idiot here. And don't worry, he has a few of those later.
We hate white people, we don't want them there. It's because they specifically want to hyper-focus the conversation on people who understand the problem because they're from that community, and then spread those ideas to other places because it's not this exclusive segregating thing.
Do you think it would be good if
he'll deny it.
Took a major city, say Chicago, and then made all the races live in race-specific areas?
No, that
kind of do that already now. Actually,
that's the point.
Yeah, kind of already.
That's actually the structure. Naturally,
the level of segregation as it exists now is actually greater than it was even in the '60s, pre the outlawing.
That might be neighborhood segregation, but we're talking about, hey, you can't go in the same bar.
Right. Yeah, but do you know? Hold on. You're from San Francisco?
Yeah.
I got it. you know, I want to make this proposal to you, but I also I don't want to be responsible for your death.
I
would-
You're telling me to go to a gay bar and I'll get.
No. I'd like to bring you to K-Town
Okay.
and see how long you last.
Why would I be?
So
kill
I
you?
was so confused, and I still don't know what he means here. If he means Koreatown, I've been like all over San Francisco. I've been to fucking the Tenderloin. The Tenderloin is like full of fentanyled out like homeless people. It's super dangerous. It's sketchy, but like people don't just like attack you randomly for the most part. But he's like, yeah, if you go to K-Town, they'll kill you for being white. And I'm just like, I was so incredulous. And as a San Francisco native, I'm just like, I genuinely like I can't even push back because I just don't even know what you mean. Like, is this like a different K-Town I've never heard of? Absolutely ridiculous. What's his excuse for taking Russian propaganda money? You'll see. Spoilers. Essentially, he just denies it all.
You'll
because
just
it's-
die because you're white.
Okay. I mean, that's
Because-
bad. People killing people because they're white is bad. Yeah. I don't know. What
Right. The point being that in racism and these privilege and these things you describe are just like, I feel like it's largely white people standing on a hilltop looking around being like, look how great we are. We're so great. How come it's so good for us? Why are we so great? These poor minorities.
Sniper, the good stuff is in the second half of this when I confront him on his politics and I confront him on the Russia stuff.
Like, take a stroll
We'll
through a
get
black
there.
neighborhood in Chicago and see what happens.
You know,
Wait,
Jason,
to be
how does
fair-
it- what does that have to do with
to
whether
be
or
fair,
not
like,
white
Hyde
people have
Park's
it
super
easier?
nice.
Is that not an indication?
because
of-
everyone is mad at white people all the time for no reason. Adjacent to the data you mentioned earlier about in-group versus out-group, there's data even showing how races rank each other. If you look at how white people rank themselves relative to other races, it's pretty much a straight line. If you look at how black people rank themselves, it's the first, every other race not so much, white people last.
You need
Same
white boy
thing-
magic,
Same
like black
thing
boy
with
magic.
Hispanics, same thing with Asians. They all like themselves the most
so
and
stupid.
dislike white people the most. And so that creates a problem when you have these communities. Like you're saying, if you walk through, I know you mentioned in the car you were Jewish, but if you walk through and they identify you as a white guy, that's going to be a problem in these neighborhoods. And so why that is, I mean, do you really think that this
What, do you
education...
think if I said stop, I'm Jewish, they wouldn't kill me?
No, I don't think they understand sort of the problem there. But I
Whoa,
would say that,
if you're in New York and you stop, I'm Jewish, you'd get.
They'd kill me extra.
Have you seen what's been going on in New York?
Oh, I saw the thing that happened at that.
Well, it's called the knockout
Museum.
game, and what you have is this is
Oh,
yeah,
this is something else. Okay.
black men,
I was thinking about the
teenagers have been going around New York attacking
Jews.
Jewish people. Yeah.
Wow.
that's been going on for, I remember that was an Obama era thing as well.
But
But the point I was trying to-
the point they're bringing up here is, by the way, it's worse for you if you're Jewish. In New York, Jews, it's very not safe for the. That's why there's so many Jews in New York, because it's so unsafe there.
make there is if we can agree that, say, minorities are not getting the same access to education that white students are, which maybe I would disagree with, but let's pretend that's the case, then this education...
So this is weird. It's like I would disagree with the idea that minorities aren't getting the same access to education as white students. Like this is just like empirical fact that your education quality is going to be based on your property value, and minority fucking neighborhoods are lower property values, worse quality schools in general. Just obviously, I can't believe that he argues against this. I don't know if he genuinely thinks that, or he's just like, nah, fucking, I love lying about the minorities.
they're getting, which a lot of conservatives would say is making them hate America and all this stuff, isn't quite landing with them the same way. They're not getting A's on tests about all the evil white people who are mean to their grandparents, yet they're still doing things like the knockout
Did
game.
you go to college? Like,
They're still
is that what they're teaching? Because like I literally took a gender studies class. They're not teaching you that white men are evil. Like
They still-
one of the coolest things that they taught me in that was about, do you know COINTELPRO, like that whole program, like the anti-civil rights, like FBI thing.
Okay, so even better, they're not teaching that, but still the races are reporting these attitudes and how they feel about white people versus other races. And so what that would suggest is that, as Tim said, there is some sort of like anti-white cultural, maybe anti-majority cultural narrative that is predominant, and that young people...
Right. So what they're describing here is they think it's everyone hates white people, and to be fair, the farthest left people, yeah, are going to be like super anti-white, but no. The narrative is like, hey, by the way, there was a huge in-group, racist preference towards white people for decades, hundreds of years in this country, and there's like people trying to correct for that. That's not people hating white people, but that's how he's viewing it. So
are
a
recognized.
gender studies class it was gender studies 2. So yeah, I took gender studies. It was actually really interesting. Learned about lots of stuff. COINTELPRO was fun. That's how they infiltrated the Black Panther movement and other leftist movements back in the 60s and 70s and did some crazy shit.
And they are responding to other people's reaction towards their existence, and they are moving away from that.
Right. I agree with you completely. This is what I'm talking about, where it's like this narrative of, hey, these people have been in power so long, and these injustices were caused by this group in power. That's framed as, oh, I'm bad because I'm white. And what I'm saying is I went through that whole thing. I went into the trenches of the gender warfare, and I didn't come out thinking like, oh, I'm bad because I'm white. I'm bad because I'm a male. I just thought, oh, yeah, like people in the past did things, and I don't have guilt for things I never did, and I'm just recognizing like the historical things that might have happened that might have caused these groups to suffer. That's fine. Like that didn't cause me to leave the left. And I'm not saying there's no reason to, because some people do come out of that and they're like, I feel demonized. I understand that 100%. I guess olive branch to those people is like, why let that change your policy if these people aren't actually discriminating against you? They're just at worst kind of being annoying. Like that's really just been my experience, and it's like that didn't make me less liberal. It didn't make me less progressive. It's just like, oh, okay, like I don't feel guilt when they're like, oh, we're talking about slavery and white people did slavery. It's like, okay, so
I just
like,
simply not true.
I'll put it this way on the race stuff. Chicago is deeply segregated by choice.
Yeah, that happens in like most cities.
It's
Like,
but it is enforced.
self-segregate, right?
It is enforced to one degree by law. So where I grew up, if you crossed 47th from the south to the north, you went from a largely white, somewhat Hispanic neighborhood into an all-black neighborhood. And if you did, you get stopped by the cops, and they detain you, and they usually drive you back.
Is because they're like, hey, this isn't safe, and we're protecting
No,
you,
because
or
they said the only
no white
reason white
people
boys
here?
come up here is to buy drugs, so you're leaving right now.
Okay, but that's not legally enforced segregation. That's
I said largely
stereotyping.
enforced by the law, which I meant the cops.
I
The
get what you're saying,
inverse,
but
however,
that's a pattern of
inverse of-
behavior that they're trying to.
The inverse, however, was that there were several gangs of teenage black girls from north of 47th.
So the point of this story is to say the law segregated the city by saying white people can't go here, which is like, okay, do you want me to say that's good? That sounds bad. And I just don't know why he does this shit. I think it's just to obfuscate when it's like a very clearly, obviously bad thing, or anytime I make a good point, which is all the time.
Who would cross down to the south and then mug and rob young girls in the white neighborhood, and the police. It became this huge issue with the local government, and the cops were like, look, we can't do anything about it because if we stop these girls before they commit the crime, we're racist. So we're going to let them keep going. However, the problem is after they've already committed the robberies and the muggings, and we know it is a gang, well, then they're gone. What can we do? So it just kept happening in our neighborhood.
Okay.
This created, so it's like people choose to live near the races they choose, but this created pure racism
Yeah, that's
and
bad.
conflict.
I think those cops should have arrested the people doing crimes.
They
and not
can't.
stopped. Oh, well, they should.
But
I
it's
understand.
racist.
It's not racist to arrest people who's mugging someone.
How do you arrest someone after they've been mugged and the gang splits up and you don't know who did the mugging?
I mean, you could stop people if they're like, hey, don't get me wrong, this does get applied in poor ways where it's like, hey, a black guy robbed me, and then they stop like every 30 black people. But like, if you give a description of a suspect, you got to go stop them.
I completely agree. That's why I've always been a big supporter of stop and frisk. I think cops need to go and stop as many.
That's like, yeah, it's like, oh, they're too progressive and they won't stop the black kids who did the crime. It's like, okay, well, they should arrest them. It's like, yes, this means you are also in favor of stop and frisk, the policy where they were just like profiling people based on how they look and like frisking them, even though they had done nothing wrong and didn't have any suspects.
These black people who fit descriptions as possible and search them in case they're the ones who committed the robbery, right?
If
He
you're
did not bring up the
responding to a
grooming
crime, I think
games.
that's very different from just stopping random people that look suspicious on the street all the time, like they did in New York. But
But if someone fits a description, the cop should stop and frisk them, right?
you mean if they have absolutely no other reason to, other than hey,
No,
can
no,
we,
they
like,
fit a
question you?
description for a crime. The cops should stop them and frisk them.
I don't know if the rule is that you're allowed to just immediately search them, but if they fit the role of a crime and they want to
You
stop
are.
them and ask them,
Cops can pat down, but they can't put their hands in your pockets or bag. They're allowed to feel the outside. And if they feel an object that they believe is a weapon or contraband, then they can
I
probably
can see
cause
ways of it being abused. But again, if the idea is the dichotomy between
listen.
not being able to stop a criminal suspect and frisking everyone on the street, I guess I don't want no one to be able to be searched.
The issue that arises is you get activist groups that claim it is racism, white supremacy, because too many black people are being stopped.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is stop and frisk specifically was shown to be like extra discriminatory, especially because the majority of the people they were stopping and frisking weren't committing crimes, so it was just harassing kind of people. Versus what you just talked about, which is, hey, 5 people just committed a crime. This kind of black person meets the description, and then they go stop people. I think these are very different situations.
Certainly, and the political climate is such that in our neighborhood, the alderman, the mayor, the police, they were like, I am not going to be the person who has to run for office and explain why we're stopping young black girls. I'm not getting involved in that.
Yeah, it's like this seems like he's just exaggerating this super hard. Maybe I'd have to read the specific story, but it's like, yeah, like I'll be real. There are cops that are like not enforcing crime in the Bay Area, but it's like, oh, I can't stop a black person who looks like the suspect who did the crime because they're black. It's like, yeah, what? Like, just you can pull over a suspect. The problem is when cops are just like, well, a 4-year-old black girl committed a robbery, and that's why we've pulled over these like 38 black men. And it's just like, what? Like, these aren't even the same descriptions. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But he's never going to go into that nuance. So
I don't want to be a racist.
That might be, that is an indication of, I would say, over progressive, correction for a
That's
problem.
what we're arguing against.
Right, but okay, here's the thing.
Or
If,
at least what
if
I
you say toxic
We're talking about men.
masculinity
We're talking about racism.
is an overcorrection for like, the patriarchy of men ruling for so long or women being discriminated against, like, yeah, I can see places
This was
where
2
that
months
has gone
ago.
too far, where it's like, oh,
Adam.
men are evil, kill all men. You see these like super radical feminists, but like this isn't a majority of that movement. And I think that the concept of calling out something like a toxic masculine person shouldn't be alienating to someone who, like, I don't know, I think I embody a lot of traditional traditional masculine traits, except for the beard, and this hasn't forced me out of wanting these progressive policies. That's all I'm saying.
Again, that's the problem here is, like we were talking about education and crime. And on the one hand, it may just be an experience in a college classroom where some kid says something silly and everyone's like, okay, dude, whatever. But these kinds of people are those who grow up to end up being district attorneys who simply refuse to prosecute crimes and who are installed by wealthy progressives who are radical. And that's pretty much the story in almost every major city in the country. And you can hear these anecdotes about like women robbed at gunpoint on video.
he's about to bring up such a weird anecdote about his mom.
and the crime doesn't get prosecuted for whatever reason.
well, I got a
It really
question.
happened to my mom in Detroit. They had this guy dead to rights on camera, robbed her at gunpoint, and then got into a luxury sedan, which was crazy because I was always told that these people were impoverished. And then
Notice he said these people, by the way.
he was identified actually on the television, local news, by his parole officer. They bring the guy in, they've got him, and then some person just didn't submit some document in enough time, and so unfortunately they couldn't get this guy. He ended up getting arrested 2 years later because he sexually assaulted a minor with a gun, and then now he's in prison for like decades.
So just to be clear, because I don't know if I hang on him for this, there's a guy, they had him dead to rights. There was a processing issue, so they couldn't get him. It has absolutely nothing to do with being tough on crime or soft on crime. It's like, oh, it sounds like the bureaucrats fucked up when they were trying to prosecute, and then he did more crime, and then they got him. So what the fuck is the point of this?
But then my mom had lunch with some woman who lives, in one of the suburbs that these people flee to because they're just so crazy making this stuff up about what happens in minority neighborhoods. And she was like, yeah, that's a story. If anything happens to you in Detroit, they just won't prosecute if the victim is
but
white.
that's like
I got a
whole
question.
Different issue.
Just like a question for this whole debate, be it race or gender or whatever. Is it bad to discriminate against a person based on their immutable characteristics?
Depends on how you're doing it, right? Like
So that's a no.
it depends on how you're doing it. 'Cause,
Well,
like,
but-
you could- well, no, because if you say,
That's a no.
if I say it's not bad,
This is so weird. He tries to get me by saying the liberal says it's not bad to discriminate. People do this all the time. It's like, hey, do you discriminate based on like hiring practices? I'll give good examples. Doesn't matter here. Look,
to discriminate. When people hear
This is
discriminate,
so
you think
dumb.
of the historical examples of like the 1960s.
Let's
but
try
we
this again.
discriminate all the time for various things.
Are there
If
are there
I-
any acceptable circumstances where it is okay to discriminate on the basis of immutable characteristics? Yes. or no?
100%. Doctors
Would
do
you
it all the
agree?
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I say, hey,
yeah. So notice we both say yes, but what's the meme where it's like when I say yes, I mean, hey, a gynecologist can only see people with vaginas. That's an immutable characteristic. Is different from from John Doyle's. Yes, I do think it's okay that we don't hire black people because they're worse because of eugenics.
I have a gynecologist, and the gynecologist is like, I'm an expert in looking at vaginas, and it's like, okay, I'm discriminating. All my patients are people with vaginas. That's an immutable characteristic. That's what discrimination is. The problem is discrimination is a dirty word, which is why I
It's actually illegal.
say I'm only a gynecologist can only inspect vaginas.
So if a trans woman went to a gynecologist and was denied service,
Trans women with a vagina?
well, they don't have vaginas.
Well, yeah, it was like a plasty, like petite one, or like.
But that's still not a vagina.
Well, whatever it is, like if the gynecologist is able to assess the medical needs of that, then I think they should also do that. But that,
The issue where we're going with the Civil Rights Act is that
Did not address my point at all. Where it's like, hey, it's illegal to say you only work on vaginas. It's like, well, okay, if a trans woman comes in and they have a neo vagina or whatever they call it, post surgery, post op, and that's something that a gynecologist can assess. Yeah, they should do that. That's discrimination against penises because the gynecologist says no penises here. Okay. That's fine. That's fine discrimination. That's person who knows how to do thing about your immutable characteristic. Like, imagine it's like, hey, is it bad to discriminate against white people in general? But sometimes, well, oh yeah. Well, what if a white person gave the talk at the historically black school about the black experience, and you said no? Would that be bad? It's like, no, it'd actually be good. You should have a black person give the speech, probably.
one of the arguments we've seen from LGBTQ groups is the end of gender segregation, much like we saw the end of racial segregation. The argument they've been making for some time now is that we used to have white and black bathrooms, or I think it was white and colored because colored could be not
Latino, or
just, it could
yeah,
be
yeah.
any kind of mixed race or anything. And so the argument made by trans rights activists is that gender segregation, under the exact same law that banned racial segregation, there should be no men's and women's rooms.
Okay, wait, but let's take a step back. If you are against that, then you're for discrimination against an immutable characteristic, which
all right.
which is what I was saying. Is like, yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Right, that's all I'm saying. Is like
After all that of trying to get me, it's like I describe it in the way it's like, yeah, it sounds like you're pro discrimination. He's like, oh yeah, I'm fine with it. It's like, what the fuck did you ask?
the phrase "I'm in favor of
Oh, I
discrimination"
know I asked to make me look insane.
can mean so many things, and people are going to attach the so you want to be racist and not hey, like certain things are immutable. And
Yeah, I wasn't asking about the discrimination as a gotcha or anything. I was asking like
That's exactly
we're
what he
trying
was
to figure
doing.
out how policy and law should be applied to people.
Okay.
Where
felt like a
where do
gotcha.
we all stand on the issue of choosing to discriminate based on immutable characteristics? The reason being the law says you cannot.
Well, it totally depends on the context.
No. The law literally says you cannot.
No. Okay, look.
The
if-
1964
so,
Civil Rights Act.
Sure.
even
And for
religion,
years
national
after that,
origin.
we had affirmative action, which is discriminative on positive or negative discrimination based on an immutable characteristic, and you can be for or against that. But that was not illegal until the Supreme Court ruled on it recently, right? So,
But
this
the,
is-
the 1964 Civil Rights Act bars.
Like, this
the
is so wild. He's like, you can't discriminate on an immutable characteristic. It's like, yes, specifically in legal settings, specifically negative, specifically for race, gender, sex, sexual orientation, specifically for like hiring and institutional things. but you can obviously discriminate based on immutable characteristics in ways that aren't like this horrible negative discrimination. And the example I use later is like, yeah, if I said Ryan Gosling can't play Obama, that's a good example. Sniper. Like, that's discrimination, and it's fine, and it's not illegal. This is such a fucking stupid... I don't know what he's trying to do here.
Based on race, sex, national
When
origin,
you say
religion.
discrimination, that word means so many more things than just I am not allowing someone to do something because of their race, gender. Discrimination is something that you're like, I am distinguishing someone based on something, right? That could be a positive discrimination, that could be a negative discrimination. Like if I, again, this is an example, if you want to hire a black person for a role to play a black person,
I even
in a
use
movie,
this, okay.
that is positive discrimination. I'm saying, hey, everyone who's not black, you can't be here, but that's totally legal, right? That's
Well,
not
that's actually, I do see what you're saying. I think legally that is excluded from discrimination.
Sure, but it is discrimination. That's what I'm saying. Maybe the word legally means something else, but
I disagree.
discrimination just means I'm literally discriminating.
I understand what you're saying. For the purpose of what we're talking about like, if someone said I'm going to hire a bartender, and then a white guy came and said, you get out here, like we would say that's just racially discriminatory.
It's racial discrimination, yeah, based on race, right?
So I agree with you on the distinct semantics of the term.
Yeah.
I do not think that if a movie studio said, we have a character, he's a black man, and then a white guy showed up like, you don't fit, that's not discrimination.
That is, yeah, maybe colloquially people would say, well, that makes sense, but that is literally racial discrimination.
The role discriminated. The choice of actor.
You're saying you're white, so you can't do this role, which is to play a black guy. That's racial discrimination.
My point being, the creation of the role was the creation of the discrimination.
Sure, and that is
not
also
the choice of
that
actor.
specific kind of discrimination is okay, which is why I was hesitant to say, of course, there are discriminations that are okay. It's a very wide spectrum.
Yeah. I think we also have a big challenge.
It's like after all that, he's like, yeah, I guess. Like, it's like, fucking, why did you ask? Like, I wanted to know John's elaboration. Like, oh, yeah, I do think there are certain types. These people shouldn't be allowed to do certain jobs. But, you know, that's not, John's not there to answer questions. John's there to be a prop, unfortunately, for him.
You know, so like, here's a question for you guys. If one racial group is committing more violent crimes than another,
yeah,
then should police use that as a determinant factor in whether or not they would find someone suspicious?
No, I don't think so. I don't even think that you would need to take it that far. If police were simply allowed to do their jobs how any reasonable person would want them to, then we would see less crime and we would see more people in jail. The problem is, less crime might be acceptable, but more people in jail makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. Activist groups, media organizations, things of that nature. So that's why you have like predictive policing is very controversial, because AI will look at neighborhoods where crime is more likely to take place, finds out these neighborhoods maybe have a higher representation of minorities, and they say, well, we should probably police these neighborhoods a little bit more. That has nothing to do with the fact that
super weird. He's doing this weird like Minority Report thing where it's like, oh, people are upset that the AI is showing the truth that black neighborhoods need to be policed more. And it's like, black neighborhoods have been over policed already for various reasons, and the AI is being fed information from the justice system that is already having discriminatory effects that show that black people are arrested more because they're over policed. So it's not like the AI is like some omniscient being that's like, we must go into the black neighborhood. It's like, yeah, you gave it the crime data that is already based on the justice system that's biased towards them, and now the AI is biased. Like, yeah, Grok, is this true? Is it true that we should over-police black people more?
AI is, you know, programmed to be wearing a Klan hood.
That existed before AI too, right? Like, these neighborhoods are already policed more because of the crime that is
exactly,
there, right?
Which should happen.
The problem is, one, you got to look at like, all right, which crimes are actually being followed up on? Like, there's plenty of white-collar crime that no one ever does, and if you look at like drug usage rate, even not white-collar crime, it's pretty similar between races, but they do go into the communities where it's more of like a perceived problem there, and that might play into arrest statistics, that might play into incarcerations. Yeah, obviously they should go where the crime is. I think the problem is you're assuming that all the arrest data is this like infallible, like, oh yeah, like they're only arresting the people that are doing the crimes, and not like there are specific areas that are targeted and some would say over-policed.
I think women shouldn't be allowed to be firefighters.
Even if you look at, I think it's...
That actually got me. It was such a non sequitur.
The average. So, I mean, in terms of fighting fires, women, it's completely, like, I'm actually joking. My point largely is we have these affirmative action policies that you end up with like a 5'5", 120-pound woman as a firefighter, which is just the stupidest thing imaginable.
Well, it depends. What's her job, right? Is she the person who has to go in and carry
fighting the fires? I'm saying.
Right. But like firefighting means a lot of things. Are you holding the hose? Are you chopping a door down? Are you carrying?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter. Yeah. Because
at any moment, anyone responding to an emergency is going to have to be able to handle any one of these jobs.
I wish I could look at like the official policies. I don't know if we have any firefighters in chat, but it's like any moment, any of them have to be able to do this. It's like, isn't this like why you have a team? Don't you have like a driver or a guy that like goes in with the axe, or like a guy that's like the ladder guy or the hose guy? Like, I'm pretty sure they don't all need to be able to do every single fucking job, but maybe. And if they are,
fighters, and you've got 6 capable people of carrying a 300-pound obese man out of a
and there's
tank,
7 people,
and 4 of them can't. Like, I don't think that means this team is somehow less effective. Like, if these 4 people can do the jobs that are
agreed, fat men shouldn't be allowed to be firefighters either.
No, fat men shouldn't be allowed to be saved because it discriminates against women.
The problem is they lower the qualifications.
I do think that's the logical conclusion of the left.
What? You think actually?
If they're choosing to hire 5'5" women to do fire rescue, and there's a morbidly obese man, they're like, women can't carry them.
Well,
That's
first
his
of all,
fault for discriminating.
I have a few friends that are like 5'5" Asian women with no muscles, and they actually do a pretty good job of being EMTs. However, obviously,
very
a
different job.
stronger. Well, yes, but they do have to carry very fat people, is what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, look, if you have a team of firefighters and one of them is not capable of lifting the 300-pound man up, if you could show me that this was less effective overall, like this is causing all these fat people to burn to death because, hey, this person can't carry him, sure, okay. But it seems like there's a team of people, they all have different responsibilities. There's enough people that can do that heavy lifting thing. And if I don't think they should lower the requirements for people if everyone is actually legally required to be able to do that. But if it's like, hey, you're carrying the hose, or hey, like you're getting the ladder up, like who
So
cares?
the issue tends to be, and the reason I bring it up is that what happens is the progressives will look at the outcome and then determine the system is sexist. So they'll say, hey, hold on. How come only
Yeah, that's the thing is like, oh, what if a guy who can't be strong enough, like, should he be a firefighter? It's like, no, if he can't meet the requirements, he shouldn't be a firefighter. If the requirements for a woman shows that they can still be an effective firefighter that doesn't require them to do something that that woman can't do, then what's the problem? But like, just like, will not contend with this.
only 7% of the fire department in the city is female? They're clearly discriminating for some reason. They then look through it and they say the discrimination comes from the job requirements, which is you've got to carry a 150-pound duffel bag over your shoulder through a simulated burning building, and women tend not to be able to do that. So we have to change the threshold so that it's fair for all people.
if that's what they're doing, I would disagree with that. I mean, like, yeah, if they're, it's like the Navy SEALs example always brings up, where it's like, why are there no women Navy SEAls? And it's like, well, if they can't fucking pass the test, most men can't pass that test, they shouldn't be Navy SEAls. You shouldn't lower the requirements for some arbitrary like equality of outcome thing. But if it's, hey, these women on this job as firefighters can do these jobs that they're allocated to, and this doesn't affect performance, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think the requirement to be a firefighter should be the first test is you got to open a pickle jar.
Do you have one?
You walk in and then they're like, you're applying for a job. Here's one pickle jar. And if you can't open it, get out.
Yeah, that's the problem. I agree, and I think any firefighter would agree too. If like, you're all there, you're a unit doing jobs. I don't care if this woman maybe doesn't like bench what I bench, but they do lower the requirements, whether it's for firefighters, police officers. You have one requirement for the men, one requirement for the women, taking into account things like lower strength levels, lower endurance levels, perhaps. And if I were really sexist, I would say I don't know if women even have the temperament to do these jobs, and maybe I'd want to
Because this is 1.25 times speed. That's why I sound like Ben Shapiro.
discriminate on that. But like, I'm more of an open-minded guy than that. But
You have,
the problem
to, you have to
is
be not emotional to stop a fire?
I think in situations of high stress, there is a sort of consideration that maybe you wouldn't want. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos, for example, of women making arrests and they panic and they pull a taser and shoot a guy and they
I've
go.
seen a lot of videos of guys doing that too, and they're like, "Oh my god, a black guy," and they just unload a mag into him, and
That's
it's like,
not what happens.
I've seen it happen. I think there's a lot. The
Name a
idea
case,
that like
name a
women
name.
are like less temperamental is like, I don't know. We just saw like the two most powerful men in the world have a bitch fit on like the internet yesterday. Like, I don't know.
Again, you're comparing a situation where lives are on the line versus like two guys who are just like having a Twitter fight or whatever.
The big beautiful bill. Lives are on the line. I will say.
Okay, so
we don't have to deviate
the
from
point
that,
being, to achieve this outcome where we can have like an inclusive firefighting department or something does, as we see, require actually lowering those standards, which if people want fires to be fought properly, we can't have. And so
So this has happened, right? Like you're saying they've already lowered the standards.
Yes.
Is there some phenomenon of like fires not getting put out the way they should be because of this? Like I've never heard of that. If that's the case,
I spent some time at a fire station. Actually, my buddy's
that's
dad
not what I
was,
asked about your time.
Yeah,
when
it's like
he's
I'm
talking-
getting tired of the anecdotes here. It's like, okay, like, can you guys show me that because they've lowered the standards, fires are running rampant out of control because women aren't able to put them out and people are dying inside these homes? And it's just like, well, no.
About is like this instance of where people just seem to be taking the job less seriously. Standards are being lowered. You have more accidents, things like that occurring. Guys are getting hurt. And I don't expect the media to necessarily pick up this story because it would be incompatible with this idea of inclusivity. But
They just like lie.
Let's just be
fires.
real. Like there's
Yeah,
a
and then
trend.
so like I try to press them on it, Tim pivots, but it's like, what? So the media is lying. All this horrible thing is happening based on what your friend is telling you, and all these firefighters are failing because of the women firefighters, and it's like, what? He never elaborates on this. It's so stupid.
of people putting up viral videos of female cops struggling to arrest like teenage guys,
Oh yeah,
and they're getting roasted for it.
yeah, if their job is, if they're incapable of doing the job because of their physical strength, I don't think they should have that job. And like, there are plenty of cops I've seen.
So
that
there
are
are
like,
examples.
right, those are examples.
And
There
people
are
people
people
tend
that are
not
like
to like
heavily
film
overweight.
viral fires. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but if there was some crazy phenomenon of fires not getting put out, and there's like, there'd be a fucking. There's lots of videos of fire being put out. I would imagine you'd see one of like, some woman trying to hold the hose and she can't, and like sprays it out and the house burns down or something, right?
it's
Like
like
this.
levitating.
Yeah, exactly. Like that you would see that happen as well. And like, yeah, if you can't meet the requirements of the job and you can see the detriment of that, of like, hey, like cop, interactions are getting worse because women are so scared and they're just shooting them or something like that. Like, yeah, I would say you need to stop.
Why do you
hiring
guys
people
do
that aren't
gay
good at
fanfics of every? Oh, well, I'm asking. I know why. It's the internet.
their job? The problem is I don't think this is like
firefighting is
female
probably
phenomenon.
less dangerous because the technology with fighting fires has probably evolved to make it more automated than like with policing. So you can probably have weaker females operating these things and it's fine, point the hose. But if you got them policing, they're an autonomous body against another autonomous body. It's like you say, I mean, you see these videos and they just are simply incapable of executing, where even a fat cop, who's like a guy, can use his mass sort of to his advantage.
Yeah,
keep
but the guy
up.
gets away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it depends on what like,
I'm gonna sit
you can
on
look at
you.
these examples of like, okay, this woman freaked out and shot a guy, and I probably agree. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
she's a
lot.
bad bad cop, right? But if you're like, first of all, I come from a nice neighborhood, and it's like, okay, can a female cop stop a skateboarder from going into a place he's not supposed to be? Yeah, whatever. Like, this is very different from. What do you mean? Oh, you mean like physically, if like 3 teenage boys could probably overpower like
As a skateboarder who has hopped many a fence, ain't no way lady cop stopping me.
Sure, but like this is not going to turn into a physical interaction. This is going to be like, oh
yeah,
shit, the
just to be
cop.
clear, guys, like skateboarders aren't like beating the shit out of cops so that they can go skate at the school that's closed down. It's like, oh shit, it's the cops, and it's like that could be a lady cop, that could be like a 4'2" cop guy like with no muscle. He'd just be like, hey, get out of here, and they'd leave because they don't want to get arrested because they're not going to fucking fight the police. It depends on what you're doing, but yeah, guys. Anyone, woman or otherwise, who is a cop who can't fucking arrest a guy because they're too weak, yeah, probably shouldn't be a cop.
It's like, let's get out of here, right?
Bro.
Like they're just enforcing that.
So I have stories from my friends where they were like on a rooftop, and when the cops pulled up because it was a company, they ran to.
By the way, immediately goes on to show that this is not the case where skateboarders are fighting cops, but
and jumped 10 feet to a telephone pole and climbed down and ran away.
Okay, right, but that would work against a fat cop or a guy cop who couldn't catch up with you either. My point is that
I'm
if
just
you're,
saying
if you're
nobody's
doing
stopping.
low-stakes crime stuff that's not involving a bunch of physical altercations, this isn't some reason to bar women from ever being cops. It depends on what the job is, and I 100% agree. If she can't do the job, like in these videos, then she shouldn't be a cop.
You know,
that goes for everyone, not just a woman.
There's a couple ways that people look at the political landscape. There's revolutionaries, there's moderates, reformers, there's accelerationists. I don't like the word
I don't think
accelerationist.
Tim once acknowledges a point I made. Like, I try to wrap it up there and even be charitable. Like, yeah, if a woman can't do the job, she shouldn't be a cop. But I think that you can have women cops in all these other places. And he doesn't agree. He's just like, I think, and it's just like completely new topic.
There's got to be a word for where you just want to sit back and watch as liberals politically immolate themselves and just like roll with it. Conservatives don't like this because of their
I
moral
didn't ask
framework.
that, Albert.
They're like, it is bad that liberals enact things and do things that are detrimental. But as someone like me who I actually am more of a liberal guy, I can just look at liberals and be like, yeah, that's going to destroy your way of life and your society. But I quite frankly don't care because you'll cease to exist in 20 years anyway. So
What kind of liberal are you? Like in the Civil War movies. Like, what
I'm
kind of
so
American-
happy he brought up liberalism, because now this is where it starts getting spicy and I press him really hard and he gets mad at me.
kind of liberal would you say?
traditional.
What is that?
It's
Just
a
like,
ref. It's
my
so,
vibe from watching what I have, and I'll grant you this. I don't watch a lot of your show. I watch pieces, and I probably watch a lot of clips that are out of context. But like, it really
yeah,
seems
we
like you mostly align with like right wing stuff, even if your
Define
morals
right-wing.
don't. Right wing, like you voted for Trump in 2020, right?
So what does the vote of a person mean for your policies, your politics, and your
Well, that you agree with the.
is Tulsi
policies of the
Gabbard
person
liberal or
you-
conservative?
Right now, she's conservative. She used to be
Is
insofar as
RFK
like.
Jr. liberal or conservative?
Well, hold on, let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard, right? Like she had a very big.
So I
right-wing
prepped
shift.
for this. I looked up Tulsi, I looked up RFK, and I'm like, motherfucker, if you try to bring these up, if you try to tell me Donald Trump's a liberal, like, I'm going to fuck you so hard, dude. No way.
She was someone who was what was it, in 2017? She
But,
was
like, I'm asking,
fossil
what does
fuels,
that
right? She was like a green person, like she was like more environmentalism. Now she's with a party that's promoting fossil fuels that doesn't do these green initiatives.
So does-
she is moved to the right. It's not as if the left shifted
No,
around
hold
her.
on. But that's a question of fact, right?
Right, she is more right wing now.
What I'm saying is like you're asking about someone advocating for a fuel source.
Right.
So right is your argument that right and left don't define political philosophies?
A left-wing,
They define-
left-wing person is more likely to support some sort of clean energy act. Tulsi Gabbard used to do that. She's no longer doing that. That is a shift to the,
The
right.
question, right? So the question I'm asking you is, you define left and right not based on.
Based on policies.
It's not based on.
This is so weird. It's like, oh, it's not based on philosophy. You define it based on policy. And I was like, yeah. You're a liberal on philosophy? I'm a liberal on policy. Like, this is such a weird way to define it. And I think he's just obfuscating, obviously.
Philosophies. It's based on fact, like worldview.
Based on the policies that they support.
Is RFK Jr. a liberal?
I think he was kind of like a crackpot, slightly environmentalist person, but he's never been like a prominent liberal Democrat, and now he's supporting the anti-vax crowd, I guess. So
I guess my question is, I'm trying to ask you, like, when how do you define liberal and conservative?
yeah, based on the policies. So like progressive
what policies
taxes,
am I for that are
environmentalism.
conservative?
Like, well, that's why I'm asking you. Like, I think if you vote for Trump, like, what policies of his do you support that are liberal policies?
Getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, no new wars.
Those aren't liberal policies.
Deportate-
Getting rid of waste.
What do you
fraud,
mean?
and
Bill
abuse.
Clinton led the charge on waste, fraud, and abuse.
Saying
at Al
that
Gore.
we should make something better is not the same as, hey, let's cut the entirety of the
Bill Clinton-
education department and
Is
the
Bill Clinton a
USAID.
liberal?
Bill Clinton is a liberal, but
Bill
he would not
Clinton
do
and
what
Al
I just
Gore
described, which is
start-
what Trump is doing. So like, this isn't the same thing.
Getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, cutting
You can
back
say
on
vaguely,
bloat.
I think we should make things more efficient. Probably everyone would agree with that. But when you see what it's borne out in the Trump administration, that's very different from what Bill Clinton did. Like, these are not the same things at
He
all.
did a lot more, yeah.
No, he didn't do a lot more. You can say he
Well,
made
he
things
did.
more efficient, but this is not the same thing as I cut the entire Department of Education.
Tim was very visibly shaken after this, Grant, and was almost servile to me, like in the green room when he was like describing more of the Tenet stuff. Like he wanted my approval. It was a very weird tone. I was not expecting it. But yeah, so already he's like, well, I'm more like Bill Clinton. Every single thing he can point to that's like, I'm more like one of these liberals, I'm immediately going to be like, this is why you're not like this. So I really like doing this.
cutting USAID. These aren't These aren't the same thing. You can't umbrella these as, oh, this is the same kind of policy, especially when the policy is so vague as I'm making something more efficient.
So traditional liberal, not classical liberal. Classical liberals like Locke and, they're more like libertarians.
Sure.
Traditional liberal as a political term tends to describe the Democrat view from the 90s, which was abortion, pro-choice, safe, legal, rare, secure borders, no illegal immigration, workers' rights, workers' protections, and cutting the size of
When
government.
you say no illegal immigration, like what do you mean? Like let's pick some of these. Like,
Like, in the-
1980s, right? Like Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, I think, are arguing about like illegal immigration. I think the question at this town hall for this debate was like, hey, what do we do for the kids of illegal immigrants? You can look up this video, and it's like they're kind of almost like out liberaling each other. One says like, look, I don't like the idea of illegal aliens in my country, but these kids are here, and I don't want to deprive them of this education. I don't want them to be seen as criminals. Like this is the Republican Party in the 80s saying, I support at least like
The Republican Party up to like 2015 was for open borders.
not open borders. That's a very different thing.
This is so weird. The Republican Party was open borders till 2015 is such a wild take. But yeah, it's like, oh, I'm liberal. That's why I voted for the guy who said mass deportations now. But I'm a liberal like Clinton. I'm liberal like Obama who did DACA. I'm liberal like I'm more right than the right-wing politicians in the 80s, but I'm definitely a liberal. Like this is just such a wild thing. And like I wish I did clip farm a little bit and pressed him on this rather than just like calmly explaining how stupid it is. But
People are like, we need to secure our borders
borders.
and we need to do something for these illegal people here, but I don't want to like get rid of them.
Okay,
Versus
point
like
being,
you're describing well, hold
I'm
on.
not talking about the 80s. I said traditional liberal.
Right, but this is
as a
Republicans
term.
past the 90s, and you're saying you're a Democrat from the 90s. The Democrats were more liberal than the Republicans were in the 80s, but you're not. You're
In
not
the
there. You're voting
90s,
for the guy who says mass
In
deportation now.
2008, Hillary Clinton called for a border wall.
Okay. That's
I'm
very
not talking about
having
the
a border
80s.
wall is very different from, hey, let's deport every single illegal.
Barack Obama was called the deporter in chief.
Yes, and he also did DACA. Like, do you support DACA?
No,
Why not?
because you're an illegal immigrant.
Right. So isn't this
and you're not
so you
violent.
don't support Democrats from 20 years ago?
No, I think it's like the idea that you would support literally.
he's a little he gets to pivot here, right? So it's like, okay, so you don't support DACA, so you support a border wall, but you definitely support mass deportations, but you don't really support Clinton, and you don't even support the Republicans of the 80s, so you definitely are just kind of a Trump on immigration. And he's going to pivot off this as being like, well, this is just one policy.
Everything everyone does all the time is a weird cultist mentality.
No, sure. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm saying.
Oh,
Right,
real
so
quick, guys.
I am a-
Deporter in chief, by the way, for the Obama thing, that was almost all people who are just getting into the country and like putting them back, which is very different from going to people who have been here 5, 10, 50 years and like into their established lives and ripping them apart versus like people that just got here. And like, they're like, all right, go back. Right. Like these are like, I think a majority of these were at the border, which is very different from deportations from people who have been established here for decades. Fucking ridiculous.
With
Liberal
Trump today, because Trump is a right winger. He's not a liberal.
So Trump was called a moderate when he first ran.
Okay.
He is politically moderate to this day.
In what way?
Well, he got a lot of
What's
flack from.
politically moderate about mass deportations? What is politically moderate about like?
Look at what other regimes
I
have done
mean,
to illegal
like-
aliens throughout history.
talking about
Like
America
Barack
today.
Obama was the deporter in chief.
He's not.
In fact,
he was-
liberals
he did
right
not
now
advocate for mass deportations of every single illegal in the country. That's just
and
not what his
liberals right
policy-
now are
and he
bragging
did
about how Joe
deferred
Biden
action.
deported
He did-
more than Donald Trump
He
is.
did DACA. This is completely
Joe Biden
different
deported
from-
more than Donald Trump.
Probably, yeah. If you look at
Okay.
the statistics, but well, first of all, we're in the first 6 months. He's probably his idea is the platform that he ran on that you voted for. Did you vote in 2024 for Trump as
Yes,
well?
for Trump.
Yeah. He was, hey, let's get rid of every single illegal immigrant. That is not Obama's policy. That's not Joe Biden's policy. That's not liberalism from the 90s. It's not liberalism from the 2000s. Like, why not?
You're isolating like a single point and saying that hereby.
Okay, so it's like, all right, I've nailed you down. This is not a liberal position. This is your immigration policy of zero immigration, illegal immigration. Is that liberal? No. Okay, well, this is just a single policy, dude. What do you mean? Why are you drilling down on this specific thing?
What? Okay, well, let's move on to another
Like, this
point
is why
that
I
calls
say the
you a
left is
liberal.
cults. This is a cult. It's like
Well, I'm just asking,
The-
what
the
makes you a
idea-
liberal?
I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-progressive tax.
But then you voted for
I'm,
Trump, who's trying to get rid of abortion everywhere. Like JD
No,
Vance,
actually,
JD Vance said, I
Donald
want to
Trump
make it
got-
illegal nationwide, right?
And Donald Trump got tremendous flack from the pro-life side, who were saying Trump is not pro-life.
In 2016, sure.
No, in 2024.
They said he's not pro-life enough?
Yes,
Okay.
and they were saying don't vote for him.
Okay, and now the party that you voted for is attempting to. Well, okay, John, do you want abortion to be legal, like across the whole country?
Yeah.
I think it's a majority of the
All right, so Tim's using John as a prop. I'm like, I'll use John as a prop here. I'm like, hey, John, what do you think about abortion, buddy?
Republican Party is majority for illegal in all cases.
That's
Like,
not
that's
true,
not.
actually.
That's
You
not
ever hear of a
pro-choice.
moderate?
So
I know what a
this
moderate
interesting,
is. I'm
actually.
saying that you're voting for the
This is
party
what-
that wants to illegal
So what?
make this. Well, because that's not a liberal position. You're voting for the people that.
Damn, I didn't notice how much we're cucking John in this, but I think after this he was more defeated than Tim because he was just like, I don't get to talk. I'm just here as a prop.
want to get rid of
Voting
abortion,
is not is not a political philosophy. It's who you choose to best represent your views.
that would, if you vote for Trump and then called yourself a progressive, I'd be like, in what way? And then you say, well, my views are all this, but I'm voting for the party which will materially make all these things the opposite of what I want. How are you a progressive?
Because my biggest priority is probably anti-intervention.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to say it again. Y'all are a cult.
What was cultish about what I just said?
Like, you can't. So I'm a reformer, not a revolutionary. And I say this all the time because the left is a cult. That means Trump does bad things. And I go, yeah, well, you know, like, I'm going to win here, 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 and here. And I'm a reformer. And I want those reforms more than I care about other things. That tends to be the average voter, largely on economics and immigration. The left is like, but how could you possibly vote for Trump if one thing is bad?
Well, it's not one thing. I'm asking which liberal policy has Trump implemented that is aligned with your
anti-intervention
liberalism. Okay, so
the neocons my whole life were pro-intervention and pro-war.
Yeah, Iraq War.
And I didn't vote for
that.
Trump in 2016, but he didn't start any wars, and he set timeline for withdrawal from
escalated the drone strikes from Obama and changed the
during a
reporting.
withdrawal. Indeed, right.
The withdrawal.
The reason why Donald Trump escalated drone strikes was because we were pulling troops out of the Middle East.
Sure, but he killed more people in that area with drones and changed the reporting and changed the report. Well, okay, are you anti-interventionist because you are afraid of like the death and the destruction, or are you just like, oh, we shouldn't be located here? Like, I can be in America and I can send missiles into another country.
Donald Trump's policies in his first term.
I don't like the idea that Donald Trump gets to own the no new wars thing, and I think I give it to him a couple times here, but it's so ridiculous because it's like, yeah, he didn't start a new war technically insofar as like, well, he didn't start the Iraq war, he didn't start the Syrian war, but it's like he tried to fucking, you know, he blew up Soleimani, and by the time that like escalated tensions with the, you know, tanking the nuclear deal, now we're at war with Iran. I guess it's not some crazy you know, Iraq style situation, but we fucking, you know, bombed them, right? Like, oh well, he didn't start a new forever war, therefore it's like, well, okay, so for lack of trying, you know, he did all this other crazy shit, bombed the Syrian airport, escalated the drone strikes, but no new wars. It's like, okay, well, I guess he got lucky, but that's not anti-intervention. It's such a stupid fucking talking point.
Even to now have been the gradual rescinding of U.S. military might in foreign entanglements.
I'd say mostly that checks out.
And that was the liberal position for 30 years of my entire life and every protest I ever attended. And now the Democrats are pro-war.
Pro-war?
Oh, come on. How much do you want to give Ukraine?
That's not pro-war.
Do you want to give Ukraine?
Hold on, let me give an example. If I'm not like a pacifist, but I never in my life hope to ever kill anyone. However, if someone breaks into my house, I'll blow them away, right? If I'm not.
If someone invades the United States, I will join the military.
Exactly, right? So like, it's not pro-war to say, hey, we don't want new wars to start. However, if Russia invades Ukraine, then we should give them like money or weapons to stop that from happening. That's like a defensive
pro-war.
measure. Why is that pro-war?
Because
the war didn't get started. It's not like America's like, go commit war.
Here, I love this. Let's try this. Gentlemen.
I think I flashbang him here, but this is so stupid. His argument is going to be, hey, if I gave John a gun and John shot you, did I kill you or did John kill you, or am I complicit? And it's like, okay, but that's not the same thing as what's happening by funding Ukraine, who we promised to help defend. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
A foreign nation 12,000 miles away has invaded one of their bordering neighbor states of 29 million people. We need to send special forces, military training, ATACMS missiles. We need to provide intelligence. We need to sink the flagship of their Black Sea fleet and make sure they win this war. And we're going to make sure American PMCs are on the ground aiding them. And I'm like, y'all are pro-war.
Why is that pro-war if we want to help an ally when the war was started by
Ukraine's not an ally. They're not an ally of ours. They've never been a formal ally of NATO or the United States.
Yeah, so they're not in NATO. That doesn't mean we don't support their common goals. That doesn't doesn't mean like officially we scribed it like on this.
What should we do if a nation we are not aligned with bombs our energy distribution lines?
Are you talking about the Nord Stream pipeline stuff?
Okay, so this I did bring up because I did need to learn about this. So the Nord Stream pipeline thing is like officially confirmed. I think the Ukrainians did it, okay? So essentially what seems to have happened based on the official reporting is that they had a plan to blow up the pipeline because they're like, look, this will cut off one of the ways that Russia has leverage over Europe. And in so doing that, like Ukraine will have a benefit, because, oh, now Russia can't, respond in certain ways to sanctions or whatever to try to threaten Europe, which is them bombing something that is energy for Europe. Now, Germans found this out. They are upset about it. In fact, it seems, based on this article, that the CIA and other intelligence agencies in the West figured it out before it was going to happen, went to Zelensky and said, hey, you need to not do this. And Zelensky called it off, but it was not successful, and the people still did it. Now, whether or not there was some subterfuge or he's like, ads do it anyway, who knows? The point is, they did it. Ukraine did blow up the Nord Stream pipeline so that Russia wouldn't have the leverage. So it's technically, hurting an ally. Now, despite this, we're still funding them. We're very aware of this. In fact, we probably know more than this, whatever they're releasing to the public. And we're still like, but we still support you. But Tim is going to use this and this is why Ukraine is the enemy of the people, and we can never help them because they hurt us in a way that would weaken a Russian leverage over us, over Europe and us. It's ridiculous because if Germany and all the other people calling them out for this are still funding them. Clearly, it's not so much for them to stop. This was a, hey, our ally did a thing we didn't love. So it's absolutely ridiculous.
Or a friendly nation
I
does
didn't
that?
say friendly nation.
If an enemy nation does it.
I didn't say enemy nation.
If just a nation did that.
If a nation bombed one of our distribution systems for our allies' energy,
Yeah.
what should we do?
It depends on why they did it. Because if you're talking
To
about
cut off our
Nord Stream
access to
pipeline-
energy.
Yeah, so like the idea, this concept of like, I think the theory is that Ukraine did it to escalate our tensions with Russia so that we would support them more. Like that's the theory behind that, right? Like, and we should, if that's the case, that yeah.
I asked you a question about if a
we
nation.
both know what we're talking about, right?
Indeed,
We're
so
talking
answer
about
the
Nord
question
Stream.
and then
Yeah,
carry
so he's
on.
like trying to be like, oh, you got to answer it this way. And I'm like, dude, come on. You know what you're talking about. You're trying to be like, hypothetically, if this thing that we both know happened and we could just talk about the actual event, but he's like, well, hypothetically, because he's trying to gotcha.
If the case is that they did that, if that's what ended up happening, it's like, oh, okay, like this country tried to sabotage us to make us do something. That's probably a bad thing. We should punish.
And that's
them,
what
right?
Germany is accusing Ukraine of doing.
Germany's accusing Ukraine of the Nord Stream thing, right?
Germany has issued an arrest warrant for one Ukrainian who they said was accompanied by two other Ukrainians to bomb the Nord Stream pipeline for the purpose of cutting off NATO access to energy,
Right.
so that Russia would stop getting the resources from Europe, which benefits them. I don't want to say the singular source funds the war, but it provides them with resources in war. So Ukraine attacked a NATO ally
Hold on, I don't
because they were
know-
trying to cause harm to Russia.
I don't know if we know this is fact, and this is
That's fine.
I don't know if
You know what? I don't care. Our
care.
our ally asserted it, and we should be aligned with NATO, not Ukraine.
if Germany asked us, hey, can you? First of all, Germany supports Ukraine, but if Germany said, hey, can you punish them for this? Then I think that maybe we should listen to Germany if they did that.
Well,
the idea that we should, the idea that we should pull out of Ukraine because of this
you're
thing.
pro-war, dude.
How is this pro-war?
We should not be involved in some other country's war.
Why not?
They're not an ally of ours.
But they literally are an ally.
No, they are not.
We
That's
literally-
fake news.
They literally, we helped them sign the agreement to give up their nuclear bombs.
That's a
without security
memorandum,
government.
not an alliance treaty.
Yeah, I didn't. Just because you legally didn't write the word ally down doesn't make it that hey,
There is
we did not
something called
promise a security
formal
guarantee for
treaty
you, right?
alliance we do not have with Ukraine.
Are you saying that if we make a promise to a
You're
country,
pro-war. You're pro-war, bro.
Well,
You are in favor
keep
of
saying it.
foreign war and our involvement in it. Yes or no?
I am in favor of defending a country that was attacked by another country if that country has
I'm not.
security guarantees. Well, I know you're not.
Thank you, Sky Needs
Why is
Sleep,
that
for the
pro-war?
$2.
You want? Do you think the U.S. should be involved in Ukraine's war?
Yes.
Okay.
We gave them security
Agreed.
guarantees. Do you,
The
are,
liberal
do you think,
position-
wait, hold on. Let's talk about NATO. If Germany gets attacked by Russia tomorrow, do you think we should defend them? It's
Yes.
hard- Well, okay. But are you pro-war?
Okay, I gotta play this one in real speed because like this is like such a like obviously this is the dumbest fucking argument ever, and like he has to like contend and like think of a new way to like contend with this thing. But let's see.
That was attacked by another country if that country had
I'm not.
security guarantees. Well, I know you're not.
You're pro-war.
Why is that pro-war?
You want? Do you think the U.S. should be involved in Ukraine's war?
Yes.
Okay.
We gave them security
Agreed.
guarantees. Do you,
See, the liberal
do you think, wait,
position-
hold on. Let's talk about NATO. If Germany gets attacked by Russia tomorrow, do you think we should defend them? It's
Yes.
hard to- well, okay. But are you pro-war?
If
I didn't
our
notice the
alliance
twitch in the
is
mouth.
attacked by an enemy
Yeah, we're going to
nation,
send American troops.
an
They're all going to get
adversary-
shot by the Russian troops. Is that
Uh-huh.
pro-war? Because that's our guarantee that we'll go defend
Yeah,
them. based on-
it's not. Like I don't know how y'all can't grasp this.
Why is that not pro-war?
Ukraine is not an ally of this country,
In what
nor are
context?
we being attacked. And I would also add.
Oh,
I
and now he
am
walks it
skeptical
back. He's like, by the way, actually, maybe we shouldn't help Germany.
a bit on whether
By the way, guys. First of all, yeah, please go make clips of this. I see the people saying clip it. Death awaits. Thank you. The idea that like a NATO country was attacked in this Nord Stream pipeline, that was there was a question of whether or not like that's going to invoke Article 5 and we should like actually be against Ukraine. Clearly they hashed it out because we're still sending the money and Germany's still sending the money, and they still say, hey, despite what you did, even though maybe they're obfuscating it by saying, well, you told us to stop and we said to stop, but they still went ahead with it, like whatever the subordinates did. They've hashed it out. Clearly, this is not like the deal breaker, but Tim is going to pretend like, oh, and this is why we should never, ever, ever help because Article 5, because they attacked our ally, our NATO ally. Also, I'm not sure if we should defend a NATO ally.
we should answer Article 5
for NATO. But the
for
point
NATO.
is, like, I'm not
depending
pro-war.
on what Europe is doing right now. So let's just hammer out the nuances of this.
Okay.
5 years ago, if Russia bombed Germany, then yes, we should answer the call of NATO.
Is that
but
is that pro-war?
no, it's not.
Why not?
The issue that I'm talking
It's a war that you support to defend our ally.
you support intervention. That is the nuance of the conversation. You guys are cultists.
Why is
you
that
can't
cultish?
because you
Okay,
can't
hold on, wait.
understand
Can we
nuance.
take a step back?
You live in
Wait,
an
wait.
isolated
Wait.
one-dimensional reality.
Take a
of-
breather. I just want to ask like a really simple question. Like, I don't think I'm coming in here like with some crazy ideology. Now, you can say I'm wrong.
are.
Hold on. You can say I'm wrong for 100%.
Neocon
But when
zealotry.
I see
You're a
hey,
neocon.
a country that we signed an agreement with that said, hey, we'll protect you, so you can give up your nukes, so that you don't need them for protection, and then they get invaded, and we say, hey, we'll help you out. This isn't like some crazy concept to me. Now, if you can explain why that's a bad thing, I understand, but I don't think that makes me pro-war, right?
Yes, you're so when I say pro-war, I'm referring to what a traditional
Yeah, I'm
liberal is
so
over the
good
past
faith
30
here. I'm
years.
like, oh,
My whole
explain it
life-
to me then.
Supported aiding people that we made promises to our whole life.
Okay, once again, you are a cult. You can't seem to grasp nuance. Everything's black and white. No. You can't understand.
I'm being
that
so fucking nuanced here. It's like, actually, you're the black and white person. I'm like, you're the one who just says intervention bad, and if you support it, then intervention not your intervention. Like,
there is interventionary conflict, which I oppose, which had been the liberal position for 30 years, and we should not be intervening in Ukraine's domestic politics and their war.
Bill Clinton intervened in Kosovo. Was that pro-war?
Yes.
Why?
We should not be intervening in foreign conflicts in foreign countries.
So we should have let the Serbians genocide the Albanians.
I don't know or care.
Why not?
It's not United States.
You don't care about people dying?
I care about people dying when it's in our country and within our purview.
Yeah, but if we have someone that we can have some mutual beneficial relationship with and they say, hey, please stop them from genociding
Neocon
us,
bro,
shouldn't we do it?
you are allowed to believe what you want to believe.
Yeah, by the way, he said, I'm like a Bill Clinton liberal. Okay, Bill Clinton, the guy who intervened. Oh, that's neocon. What?
Movie Team America World Police.
You are
just,
you
like,
are a
making fun of
neocon.
exactly
No,
that.
what they're making fun of was the Iraq War.
If we went back to
World Police,
2006,
Is Bill Clinton a
you would
neocon?
be a neocon.
Is Bill Clinton a neocon?
If we went back to 2006, you would be
Bill
the
Clinton
neocon.
was in 92. Was Bill Clinton a neocon?
Neocons and
we went
neolibs.
back
are
to
things.
Wow, if John had interrupted there, I would have got another flashbang moment. Jesus.
We went back to
World Police,
2006.
Is Bill Clinton
you
a
would
neocon?
be a neocon.
Is Bill Clinton a neocon?
If we went back to 2006, you would be
Bill
the
Clinton
neocon.
was in 92. Was Bill Clinton a neocon?
Neocons and neolibs.
back
are
to
Wait, answer my
2006.
question. Bill Clinton is what I don't think is a neocon, intervened in Kosovo to save the Albanian people from a genocide. You call this interventionist? Is he a neocon?
When I call you, okay,
neocon.
this is because you guys live in a one-dimensional reality. You can't seem to
Answer my
grasp.
question about Bill Clinton. How is he?
He's not a neocon.
Okay, but if
I think
but
you
is that
lack the understanding to
How
which.
is- what am I lacking of the understanding of?
Okay, so Bill Clinton is not a neocon, because you can't say that because it's the stupidest fucking thing ever. But Bill Clinton is pro-intervention in Serbia and Kosovo, which I said I was pro, which means I'm a neocon. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Intervention that I may or may not agree with and say, oh, this one makes sense because of a security guarantee that we gave them. Why is that pro-war? Is Bill Clinton pro-war?
I'm using the word pro-war to refer to your pro-intervention stance.
You're comparing it to what
I'm
I would.
I'm not an
We would agree
isolationist.
here. We would agree here. You don't like the George Bush Iraq invasion, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's not just interventional.
Nor Serbia, Kosovo, nor Desert Storm
Hold on,
under
one is stopping
first
a
Bush.
genocide. One is our intelligence agencies.
stopping a genocide?
Bill Clinton stopped the genocide of the Albanian people in Kosovo using intervention, right?
Yeah, I don't
That's
care.
very different from our intelligence agencies lied to us about.
Oh, yeah, that's stopping a genocide? Yeah, that's what they did. They stopped the Serbians. Oh, I don't care.
Of mass destruction. So we went in and devastated this country, killed almost 1 million people, right? You and I are both against that. That is not anti-war because I'm against that. That is I'm anti a shitty war.
I know it's hard for you to understand, and I don't know how to convey the idea to you that I don't believe the U.S. military should be an apparatus of the world police,
Okay.
be it Serbia or otherwise, or Ukraine.
Why not?
I think that America should be responsible to the American people.
If
I don't
having
believe
a
that the
relationship with
American
a country by saving
you want
them
to let me
benefits
answer the
us-
question?
Well, hold on. If
You asked me a question. Do I
Right, and
answer
I'm
it or not?
clarifying my question. If you
Oh.
get a beneficial relationship with a country by intervening and saving them from a genocide, isn't that good for America? Then we now have
No.
influence there. Why not?
That's my
I
point.
don't think a single American troop died in the Kosovo.
The
thing. It's not
American
like we're
people
hurting.
should not be spending their labor on foreign incursions by a political class that rejects the will of the people.
Do you think the will of the people was don't help the people getting genocided in Albania? Like I don't understand this.
Trump won the popular vote.
Well, I'm talking.
Right?
Hold on.
Did
You can't
Trump
keep
win?
jumping around? Yes.
No.
Trump
I don't give a
popular, yeah.
shit about Serbia and Kosovo. I already said no. I don't. I was a little kid. I don't think you. How old are you?
I wasn't alive. When
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's not argue about things we didn't exist in. Because if we want to go back to the
I
80s,
support us
we can talk about Ronald
liberating-
Reagan being for gun control. Okay. And he was a
okay.
conservative, and the Republicans love him. And I think he was a scumbag. He was also in favor of no-fault divorce. Going back and talking about how politics change is not the point being made here. The point.
Going back and talking about how politics change, which is exactly how I can defend the idea that I'm a liberal because I'm using the word liberal as what I mean to be 30 years ago, but also we can't talk about those policies and whether or not they were liberal because I actually don't agree with them. Absolutely fucking insane. Like, he can't stay on a point and he's like trying to pivot so hard, but I wish I'd nailed him down just a little better, but I think I got on his nerves. His blood pressure was risen. His blood pressure was higher. Thank you, Jack Vince Dan, for the $5 good job thumbs up sticker. I didn't know you could do stickers, but that's awesome.
Being made
It
here.
is because you say you're a liberal from 2002, and I'm saying none of your positions
Traditional
line up with these people.
liberal tends to refer to where the Democrats used to be.
But you don't line up with those people. You're
I do,
literally anti-Bill
anti-intervention.
Clinton from the 90s, which was the liberals in the 90s, so even further back.
I know this is hard for you to understand.
So yeah, now he's going to pivot again when I point out exactly that he's not Bill Clinton. Thank you, first name, last name, for the $5. I think America should be responsible for the American people. That's why I voted for the guy who just cut everyone's health care. True.
Damn, but saying the same thing over and over doesn't change what I said.
Because
Thank
you're
you,
not
Jack.
acknowledging what I'm saying. You're not a liberal from the 90s. You're not a liberal from the 2000s. You don't support DACA. So, like, how are you a liberal from any of these eras? Just, like, why not just say, I like Trump's policies because Trump is on the right and that's who I support? Like, what's wrong with
I
that?
think like I said this earlier, one of the biggest divides between the left and the right is that the left is retarded and the right is slightly
I
less
saw you tweet
retarded.
that this morning because the Brian Cranston
Because,
thing
like-
fell for your bait, right?
Because you can't seem to grasp that I was 13 years old when the U.S. began their interventionist neocon policies.
In 2003.
And that is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then when you start talking about a bygone era to which I didn't exist in politically, nor you, it's immaterial.
I talked about Obama. You were alive for Obama. You're disagreeing with Obama's
disagreeing with
policies.
one policy.
Which policies do you support?
Doesn't make you a conservative.
Which
I'm in
policies do you
favor of
support?
universal basic health care. I'm
Okay.
pro-choice.
But then why
and
vote for
anti-war.
Trump?
Because
He's
what am
not
I,
for any of those things.
do you think that I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris?
If she's closer
I'm
to
a
those policies
reformer,
than
not a
he is.
revolutionary. I get a
Me
withdrawal
too.
from the Middle East if I vote for Donald Trump.
I want to reform the left-wing party from what I don't like they're doing. But
By voting for what?
Are you going to vote for Trump and reform him to become pro-choice, become immigration in the way that you want? Like, is this really what's happening? Are you changing the Republican Party to be more left?
Is Trump pro-war or anti-war?
It depends on what you mean. He didn't
Trump-
start any new wars, but like I said, he escalated drone strikes.
wait,
He's talking
say it
about
one more time. Say it one more time.
talking
Say
about
it again.
invading Greenland.
Say-
He struck Soleimani, which might have caused a war with Iran, which might still happen.
No new
Now. People
wars?
are-
No new wars?
in
Do you
his
say
first
no,
term,
do
yeah.
you say no new wars? Oh my God, that means I have a choice between the Democratic establishment pro-war.
Joe Biden
and,
start a new war? I actually don't know.
yes, Ukraine. And he got us involved in it.
Started Ukraine? Not
Joe
Russia
Biden
invading
started
them?
the U.S. involvement in the Ukraine conflict. Yes, he
didn't
did.
Start the war.
Agreed. Joe Biden got the U.S. involved in a foreign entanglement in Eastern Europe. It's
So all this and his like ideas like, well, I'm a reformer, not a revolutionary. It's like, okay, are you gonna push Donald Trump left on any of these issues? No. And he never will, and he never has. And it's like, this is the weirdest dodge ever, which is like, well, I'll vote for Trump because of the war thing, which is my number one issue. You know, forgetting that Donald Trump ran on like, let's invade Panama and fucking Greenland. Like, oh, but he's just joking. But then once he gets elected, I'm going to be like, hey, Donald Trump, I know that you are running on this platform of banning abortion nationwide based on Project 2025 and all these crazy conservative things. Could you not do that, please? Like, but he won't even do that. You won't see him being like, oh, the Republicans have gone too far, because he knows what his audience is. He knows what he's pivoting to. It's fucking so annoying.
Okay,
fucking
so you're
nuts.
like not just no new starting wars, no new involving ourselves with any country's politics that are at war.
I'm not going to speak in absolutes. My point is this. I am not a revolutionary. You live in a cult world where it's black or white. I am saying
have to feel
that the
so much
mathematic
nuance here.
proposition of the last election is Donald Trump gets me closer to what I like with RFK Jr. Tulsi Gabbard. And so I say I will vote
name some things that are you're
RFK
getting closer
Jr.?
To be clear, Sky, thank you for the $2. Trump didn't bomb Iran until after this. We just knew it was probably coming.
What are you getting closer to with
banning
RFK?
artificial dyes in food.
Okay, that's a very actually I agree
Very
with that
specific
policy.
thing that I'm
That's a
very
very
much a fan
specific
of.
thing. But like,
And
what is he
other
getting you closer
environmental
to on
chemicals?
other? What environmental things does he propose? Like what clean energy? What
RFK
like,
Jr.
You say aren't you pro Green New Deal, right? Or no? Did you say that at some point?
I was pro Green New Deal when the policy was we're going to build roads and bridges, not when it was we're going to racially discriminate against people in colleges.
Okay, maybe
That's what AOC's Green New Deal was.
I think I might have seen there was some DEI stuff in there.
Right.
That's what you're talking
So
about.
when AOC came out and said, we want a government program that reinvests in roads, bridges, and we want to focus on environmentally sound practices, I said, this sounds fantastic.
Sniper, that's so good. I supported fascism because they're gonna ban food dyes. He's like scrambling for like anything. Like look, I think banning food dyes might be a good thing. He also just cut 500 million to vaccine research. So
And I made a video saying this is a good idea.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
going
I
to bring
remember
back
that.
a bunch of middle-class jobs.
Right.
It's going to strengthen construction companies, and it's going to fix our crumbling infrastructure. And then she released a resolution that said in hospitals, in universities, and in other hiring practices, race should be the preference.
Right. So what's
I
gets
was
you
like,
closer to that? Because my policy is I might
hate
disagree
all
with
of it.
some of
It's
those things, and I'm going to be in that party telling them, hey, you got to nix X, Y, and Z to get us closer to that original thing you had. But you're voting for the complete opposite party who's nowhere close to that.
Trump didn't start any wars.
Green New Deal.
Obama
let's stick on
started
this.
7.
What environmental policy is Trump getting you closer to? Right. Like, and the no new wars thing. Again, Biden didn't start one.
I didn't say I voted for Donald Trump for the Green New Deal.
What did you vote for him for then? That's what I'm asking. You're saying he's getting
the
you closer to
less
the things
war
you want.
candidate.
Helping out Ukraine is not us starting a new war.
Obama started 7.
Started 7 wars. I think
he
Syria.
will not answer the question of what is Donald Trump promoting any of the things that you claim to be good for. And the only thing he can say is the wars, maybe the food dyes. And even then it's, but all the stuff that he's doing that might indicate war. Like here's a litmus test. Has Tim, during the Iran stuff, and maybe because I haven't been watching him, you guys can tell me, has Tim been like, actually, I regret my vote for Trump because of Iran? Actually, Trump is not good. I withhold all support from him. Let's criticize him the entire time. Is he going to talk about the Epstein stuff and how likely it is that Trump's in there? No, none of that. He's never going to show any amount of regret for this because he knows what he's doing.
That one. What are the other ones?
Yeah, wow, amazing. He got us involved in Syria without congressional approval nor notifying the public.
Sure, and you can
we
be-
only found out after we were already in Syria for like 2 years.
Right, and you can be upset about that. But again, how does voting for Trump get you closer to this? I just don't understand this. Like, I really don't.
Right, because the left is a cult. If I have to choose, we can call it whatever we want. Did Donald Trump start?
Yeah, he's covering for the
Famous
Epstein
in his first
stuff.
term, he
Joe
did
and I
not
have
start
seen
the
that.
war.
He
Yes,
did not.
famously, right, yeah.
Famously, he did not.
Right.
I'm going to vote for that every day of the week.
But do you support him, like, drone striking Soleimani?
That's a coin toss. It's tough.
But like, I
Coin
don't know
toss.
what-
Like, it's like, dude, I actually have a nuanced position on this. It might have been a good thing to kill Soleimani. I don't know. I don't know what the downstream effects are. I don't know if he was about to like fund some crazy fucking attack. But that's because I'm able to look at this with nuance and say, hey, maybe Trump did the right thing there. But you're explicitly absolutist, anti-intervention, but also when we intervene like that, I'm coin toss. I don't know if I'm for it.
Whether or not it's good, I'm like, oh,
Sure,
maybe
I
we
agree.
needed to do this, right? However, that absolutely could have started a new war, and it might end up being a part of the reason we go to war with Iran. Like, there's
It's a
still
really,
upset
a
about
really
that.
Oh, wow,
solid
look at
point
me
made by
predicting the
Sebastian Gorka
future.
When I talked to him recently, is that the biggest concern that we have is we don't intervene with boots on the ground in foreign countries. However, when it
Joe
comes,
Biden do that?
we have special forces on the ground in Ukraine.
Well, they're not
we
fighting, right? They're instructing
They're-
people, right?
look, I'm not gonna. This is such a psychotic. Listen,
Isn't that different?
do you? If,
Tim
if
tries
I,
to make the point that America is fighting Russia, which is a Russian talking point. The idea that American troops are firing at Russians, which I don't believe is happening, or at least not officially. If it is happening, by the way, it's some like, CIA op or something. There are Americans fighting Russia because there are mercenary groups. There's volunteers in the Ukraine army. I mean, shit, there's even there's that guy who defected to Russia and then he was put on the Russian front line. So there's Americans shooting at Americans. It's the new civil war over there in Ukraine and Russia. But that concept is like he wants to make it seem like America is fighting the war. And that's just not true. We're helping people. But like, here's the thing. Here's an analogy. Because he's going to say, look, if America gives... Sorry, if I give John a gun, I say, John, kill you. Did I kill you? It's like, well, technically, no, you didn't. But yeah, you're complicit in that crime. Okay, if a boxing coach is telling his, boxer how to dodge and where to hit, did he win the fight? It's like, no, he helped with instruction, which is what we're doing. And materials. Maybe the boxing coach bought him the gloves or whatever. It's such a stupid fucking point.
if I hand John a gun and tell him to shoot you, who
I
kills
see
you?
you, Devin.
John?
And would I go to prison?
Yes.
Indeed.
Right, but
so
are
when
you
the
saying,
United
like,
States
we
provides
fought in World War II and we gave guns to the British, like this isn't us
Yes,
fighting
that's
in the
what got us
war. We were
involved.
aiding an ally then. And
Yeah,
then,
Louis, I watched Erudite the week before, and I was prepared for this stupid fucking talking point. So thanks, Erudite, for taking the L insofar as not pushing back as far. But it wasn't the L. It was just like she was not prepared for this amount of bullshit. She was having a much more good faith conversation about feminism. So
we got involved when. Well, oh, you're saying that's why the Japanese bombed us, or?
There's several reasons why the Japanese bombed us. One of which was we were supplying their enemies with weapons.
Sure.
Then they
Okay, so you're saying it's semantic to say we're not fighting the war because we're not shooting at them. We're giving them all the tools to do it.
we have American special forces on the ground
Yeah, like
providing
instructing
logistical
them,
support,
right?
instructing. We have trainers in Poland training their troops. We have U.S. citizen PMCs on the ground pulling the trigger and shooting guns.
true, Grant. Sometimes you got to look over at the cuck chair and be like, "Hey, you're still being humiliated, right? You got to check in on your cuck."
The
Wait,
U-
okay, so
private military contractors.
volunteers or private PMCs are.
we call them.
not part
It's funny how the media calls them volunteers and they're paid to be there, but sure.
Well, I know there are volunteers in Ukraine. They probably get paid by the military. But you're also talking about something like Blackwater, right? Like an actual a private company is there
What do they,
fighting
what
on
do they call
behalf of
themselves
Ukraine.
now? They change their name every year or something.
Yeah, because they got.
I
What
don't
is
know that they're
Blackwater
actually-
called now? I do want to look this up real quick. I don't want to look it up. Someone tell me what the new name for Blackwater is, because they changed their name for PR.
There. The volunteers that are fighting there are paid individual private military contractors to fight.
That's not the American
They're-
military. That's
they're American-
Academy?
They're Americans
That's
that are
awful.
money to pull the trigger.
If I go and do that, right? I'm not an American veteran. I wouldn't say that America's on the ground.
try
It's just
this.
an American citizen, right?
If I give John $100, a gun, and say shoot you,
Yeah.
will I go to jail?
Yes.
Indeed. And where did that money come from?
Came from you.
Okay, so like,
Okay?
I
But you're
don't
not
care if
fighting in
it's-
the war.
I don't-
You didn't commit a violent action against me. You just
We are.
contracted
It's,
me to be
it's
killed.
ridiculous semantics
Whitewater.
to be like, well, American citizens are there fighting, and they are paid by the American government to
Not
be
the
there.
military. The American military is not
Sure,
declared
the
war on
American
Russia.
government's not really involved because they're only paying the guys, but the guys chose to be there of their own volition.
I think the way to put it would be if you were in support of us fighting, and then you're like,
Blue.
dude, Tim, it'd be so funny if you like gave John a gun right now, and then he does, and then I kill this guy, and then you're like, but I'm not pro
Well,
killing.
the analogy is like, hey, John, I'm going to protect you for the rest of your life if you give up your gun. And then he comes at you, and I say, oh, shit, I did make a promise. Here's a gun. I said I would do it. Like, this is not the same as America
we need to
fighting.
simplify it completely and be like, Democrats want
Blackwater was too woke is a really good one, Bradley.
foreign entanglement. I don't.
If
Is
you,
True.
Do you ever question, like, if Russia gave you tens of millions of dollars because they thought...
This is wild. Okay, so I was ready to bring this up at some point. I read through the document. I was like, all right, maybe I should just like use this to question Tim. Like, hey, maybe your Ukraine points are a little questionable given the fact that Russia gave you tens of millions. I was not expecting this, which is he's just going to say, no, it never happened.
I think you were tricked by these people, right? Like,
That's
they-
what
they-
I'm
well,
And but by the way, real quick, his narrative before when this came out was they tricked me. They came in, they gave me money for the Culture War show through Tenet Media, and I didn't know that it had anything to do with Russia. I had no idea anything about this. I thought they were just giving me money, and it wasn't that much money. And also, I make so much money. Now, to be clear, he says, "Oh, my shows make 7 figures, 8 figures, or whatever," which I believe he makes a good amount of money on this, but a lot of his employees were like contractors because like, yeah, we got laid off and he hired me on temporarily, but like he can't pay us as much. It's like, oh, okay. Like clearly he had some money issues here. Whatever. The point is he's about to say, well, as for the tricking thing, actually, no, that none of that ever happened. So let's see this because this is a very weird narrative.
Oh, hold on. That story's not true. It never happened.
the Edward Gregorian thing, right? Like
Yes, it's not real.
tried to
Never
deceive
happened.
you. It never happened?
Never happened.
They never tried to host your
No,
stuff
you
on
guys
Tenet
believe
Media?
fake cult bullshit because you
Well,
live
this
in
is from the
Canada.
DOJ. Maybe I should
dropped
trust
it.
them. They dropped it.
There's
completely.
no
It's totally
evidence.
gone.
No evidence was ever released, and there's no case.
I tried to look this up. Maybe someone can give me a link. I'm sure he's lying here. I don't see them dropping anything. And that's why I question it. Because like if I was meaner, I'd be like, no, dude, you're just fucking lying. But I'm like, okay, if that's true, show me where they dropped it. And he can't do it. He's just like making some shit up here. And he bounces around some of the crazy narratives here. It's kind of weird.
They
The
dropped
two
the case
people,
completely.
the two people that I can't. I'm not going to speak out of turn. I will just say this. There's the case
That's
is
what's so wild. He says, I can't speak out of turn. It's like, why? The case is dropped. Say whatever you want.
But the case is dropped, right? Like
I'm
it's all
not gonna-
public now, right?
How about you let me finish talking?
Well,
like, what are you
I'm
doing?
just asking if this is all fake.
Case
sure.
the case is dropped.
Okay.
There's no evidence.
Why can't you talk about it?
If, I'm talking about it right now.
But you said I'm not going to speak out of turn. Like,
Beyond what I can say, I will not speak out of turn for other people.
okay.
What I can say is there's no case, there's no evidence. As far as anyone can tell, it never happened, and it was dropped almost immediately the day they announced it.
It was dropped immediately. You know,
Almost immediately after they announced it, the
can you-
case was
can you-
gone.
I don't know if you got a Jamie. Can we pull it up? Because I want to
Hold what up?
hold the fact that the case was dropped.
How do you do that?
How do you know? It was
How do you do this? Like, it's like, so, okay, this giant conspiracy for the Russian government to funnel money into American conservative pundits, it was dropped. You don't think a single news organization would pick this up? Not even Newsmax, not even Breitbart, not even like fucking Alex Jones would talk about it. Like, pull something up. No, how would we know that it was dropped?
Because I have lawyers that were working with the DOJ
that
on it.
wasn't reported anywhere. Not a single person.
Yes, indeed. Because the story wasn't real to begin with, and it was picked
I
up
love when he says indeed, because it's clearly like I'm pivoting off of your good point to try to make the complete opposite point.
by a bunch of fucking
Who
retards.
made it up?
The
The
DOJ.
made it. What was it?
I will tell you
DOJ
this.
made it up to go after you.
I didn't say that.
Well, yeah, but who's making? If it's completely fake, where did it come from?
That's an interesting fucking question, isn't it?
Yes, because my understanding was I think you were deceived. I watched your response to it. I was
What's your
like, that makes
what's your
sense.
evidence any of it happened?
I don't. The DOJ report. That's all I have.
What DOJ report?
The DOJ PDF that they released.
And
with
Just to be clear, I have this open. So here's the DOJ report. This is like the unsealed documents. It names everything that happened, how it happened, who's getting charged with it. The two Russians, Kalishnikov and the often how do you say this? Afanasieva. And it's like, clearly these are people that got indicted based on funneling money to Lauren Chen and her husband as like head of Tenet Media. And it's like, what's your source? It's in the DOJ document. It's like, okay, well, what? Like, do I scroll to the bottom and like Wikipedia? Is there like some sources in here? Like, is the DOJ going to be like, anyway, here's our confidential informants. Here's how we collect data. This is how we're infiltrating other groups to make sure that we can get them. It's like, no, this is what they're alleging. Maybe they got something wrong. It's possible. But what the fuck are you talking about? Like, oh, they just made all this up. It could be a faulty source. That's happened before. Show me your evidence that it's faulty, that they just like fabricated all of this out of nowhere from some fake source. Where did it come from? Oh, it's a good question. Okay, so you're saying none of this is true? No, it's completely made up. What's your source? Well, they said it was true. They're basing it off something. Like, do you have something that says that this isn't the case? No. My lawyers do, but I can't tell you. But it's dropped. Even though the case is over, I can't tell you all my source. It's insane. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe this isn't being talked about more, because I don't know if this is breaking news that I brought up, because apparently no one else fucking knows about it. But if I was a reporter, I'd want to report on it.
What
all
did
the
it
different
say?
names. It said that Russia was trying to pay people through
Okay,
Tenet
okay.
Media Company, funneling money to host your content. Cultural. This show,
What's the
by the
evidence?
way,
What's the evidence?
I don't have
There's
the
none.
fucking links in there.
There
What
was
do you
never
mean?
any evidence.
Okay, so where did it come from? What do you mean? I'm confused. Look, all I'm saying is
DOJ
the
issued
story
a-
was, and if this is false, sure. The story was the Russian government thought it behooved them to pay you money because your talking points on Ukraine were indistinguishable from their propaganda. Now, if that's not true, maybe
It's not true. That's not even in the indictment.
when you scream Ukraine is the enemy of the people, that is essentially Russian propaganda. No, I don't think you're being paid for them.
Did
to say
our
that-
ally Germany accuse Ukrainians of sabotaging
Did our
energy
ally
pipeline?
Germany put money into that country to fight back against the? Is
not the
Germany
question.
not raising money for them right now?
You gave a specific quote when I said
Right.
Ukraine is an enemy of this country.
Yeah, so he's like, so I actually, well, I only said that because Germany accused them of bombing them, and I'm like, okay, is Germany giving them money now? Do you think we should give them money? No. Okay, so you're doing the Russian propaganda thing, dude.
Right. What did you mean by
Because
that?
Germany, our ally,
No, okay, wait, Emily, to be clear, the reason why the comments are pro me now, because they weren't when you first watched this 2 months ago, is because I think Destiny watched part of this on stream, and they went and saw it and were like, oh yeah, fuck these guys. So I got lefty brigaded. Thanks, Destiny.
Yeah.
said that Ukrainians just bombed our energy pipeline.
Sure.
And I said, that makes them an enemy of us. Our ally
Okay.
was attacked by Ukrainians.
Okay. So clearly the governments of these
Oh,
nations
but also we shouldn't invoke Article 5 because he doesn't think we should do that for Germany.
don't agree with you insofar as they think, hey, it still behooves us to give money to this country and help it defend itself against Russia.
I don't care about that.
Meanwhile, the Russian narrative is 100% that did happen in that way that you're describing, where we don't actually know. This is my
So
understanding.
let's-
My question is, why should I take your Ukrainian facts seriously if this
CBS
seems to be the
News.
case? What?
CBS News.
What's CBS News?
What I just cited was CBS.
They said 100% this is confirmed, or this is an
CBS
alleged thing.
CBS reported that Germany has issued an arrest warrant for Ukrainian
Okay.
diver named Vladimir
And that
Z.
means
and
100%
two Ukrainians-
it happened.
It means our ally has asserted that this
Okay.
is their stance on it,
Right.
and we should
So
stand
why
with
is
our
it
NATO
their
ally.
conclusion Ukraine is the enemy of the people?
Maybe it is.
Well, no, it's not. They're giving them money. They're supporting them.
That doesn't get into the nuance of a political climate in Eastern Europe.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, your position on this seems to be at the least aligned with a lot of what the Russian position is, which is,
Well,
fine,
that
that's your
Russia's
opinion.
scumbags and should have invaded?
If that's your opinion, and what I'm saying is, why then are all these countries still doing the exact opposite of what you're suggesting?
What does that have to do with what we were talking about? I don't
This has to
understand
do with the
point you're
fact that, like, I'm asking you, why should I take any of your opinions on this seriously when it seems to be 100% aligned with a country that is the enemy in this
making. Are you
situation?
retarded?
What?
Are you a retard?
I mean, yes, but that's irrelevant to right.
What does my opinion as an American who doesn't want to be involved in foreign wars have to do with whether Russia agrees with that or not?
Because if the Russians thought that they should give you millions of dollars to spread your opinion, which helps
And they
them
didn't,
out,
and that's made up.
can we
What was-
look at that?
what
The
was
case
the-
being dropped? Like,
so
do you have an
let's-
email from your lawyer about it being dropped or something that you're allowed to show? With, like,
Is
a
there any
little
proof that it ever
redactions?
happened?
The proof, I look. If you
No.
think the DOJ made it up out of thin air, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, let's try this. Do you believe everything the government says?
No.
And then this pivot. Well, the DOJ said it. Okay, do you believe everything the government says? Oh, hold on, Tim. 10 minutes ago, I asked if you thought the DOJ made it up, and you said, I didn't say that. And now you're like, well, you believe everything the government says? It's like, okay, well, did they make it up? So,
And with no evidence being issued, no case ever being
There's a
brought,
very
no
poorly
individuals
written
ever
thing with
ever
things-
identified.
with charges. I mean, okay, with the two Russians.
You just
that were-
believe whatever the government
were
says.
the two Russians indicted. Are they free? Are they free now?
Who are they?
Kalishnikov and the other one. I don't remember that one's name.
When have you ever seen them before?
Are you saying these people aren't real?
oh, you can name them, but have you seen them? Like, I'm like, okay. So they just picked two Russian-sounding names, which, to be fair, Kalishnikov is one of the real names, which is like if I was just making up a name and I was like, yes, it's Mr. Gun. You know, obviously the gun is named after a real person, but that's like one of the most stereotypical things. But yeah, too obvious to make up. Oh, well, you haven't seen them with your own eyes, so they're not real. Like, what? What?
We don't know that they are.
I'm asking you if
They
you
haven't even posted photos of these people.
So okay, hold on. Let me
Oh,
just get
hey.
this straight. Because
What's
the
up,
idea
Ryan?
is this entire thing was crafted out of thin air. We made up fake names.
Why'd they drop it?
directly with XYZ people. It's directly linked to this company that we know is real, which is Tenet Media, started by Lauren Chen and her husband or whatever. But everything in between those names is completely fabricated.
So you believe whatever the government tells you?
That's not
I even like lay it out. I'm like, okay, so what you're claiming is all of these companies are real. Russia's like money was real. These Russian people were real, but everything else is in between. It's like, what was my last defense? You believe everything the government says?
I asked you if everything is completely fabricated in between those names.
Just because they issued an indictment doesn't mean that they made it up. They could be wrong.
Well, who? Okay, what is
Oh.
the source that is
Now the DOJ didn't make it up. Maybe they're just wrong.
wrong then, right? Like, are all these Russian? Because you just alleged these Russian people don't exist.
Here's the world
right?
that you live in. You live in a world where if the government asserts it, it must be true without charge or trial
That's
or
not what I
evidence.
said. I said if someone says something
You're
with a
using
very
that to
credible
strike at my
report,
opinion on a war in Ukraine, which I think we
I-
shouldn't be involved in.
it's because I'm questioning the
for-
veracity
let's-
of some of
let's
the
try
facts you're bringing up
Let's
on
try
it
this.
because they are
Let's
indeed
try this.
aligned with Russian state
Let's try
propaganda.
this. Let's try this.
Okay, let's try this.
Let's try the second biggest live show in the country is contacted by a conservative personality to license a cultural debate show unrelated to the news.
Sure.
The DOJ then comes out shortly before the election and claims that Russia paid for the whole thing.
Yes.
And then within weeks, it's completely gone. No evidence released, no charges, no trial, no evidence.
Were the Russians not, charged? I thought they were.
I'm saying outside the
I don't think
indictment.
you committed the crime. I read the report.
Yeah, so he's like, there were no charges. Actually, I'm pretty sure in the report that he specifically charged the Russian people with this, and I think Lauren Chen and her husband are charged as well because they knew. So what do you mean it was dropped? So it's like, this is so weird. It's like, oh, well, if I just deny, like eventually my whole audience will forget. Like, I guess it looks so bad that he can't even contend with the fact. Like, you can't do the narrative of I was deceived, which, by the way, is totally possible. There's a very good chance Tim did not know. I actually do believe that. I think Dave Rubin is stupid enough to have just taken this money and not questioned where it was coming from. There's, as far as I know, no evidence that they knew the Russians were doing this. Okay, maybe you're just a fucking idiot. Maybe your positions are just 100% one-to-one with Russian propaganda and you fell for it. Okay. But you can't even contend with that because it looks so bad, so you have to say it was made up based on nothing. He still has nothing, by the way.
They
Don't you
deceived you to funnel money into you because they thought that your opinions aligned with theirs and they want to spread those. That's it.
So
That's all it looked like.
I think you're a retard.
Why?
Because when the U.S. government, largely under the Biden administration,
Okay.
wants to be involved in a foreign conflict,
Sure.
and the second biggest live stream in the country is saying we should not be, they
Now he's pivoting back to the DOJ made it up because they want to manufacture consent for being pro-Ukraine. And the big Tim Pool show is so anti-Ukraine intervention that they need a way to delegitimize them. So now we're back here.
then issue a statement without evidence,
Do you have
impugning my
evidence
honor
that
that
the
you are
Biden
using to
government
strike at my
Do you
credibility.
have evidence that the Biden government fabricated this to frame you because they hate your
Didn't say
opinions
they
on
did.
Ukraine?
Oh, I didn't say that happened. You just said that.
What?
I didn't say they did.
Well, that's what you're alleging right now.
No, I'm alleging that they.
You just said that. What do you mean? You just said when someone says something against the motives of the Biden administration, they might go after that second biggest podcast because they don't like what that podcast is saying. You said that's what
My
they did,
point
right?
was that you are using a claim without evidence to impugn my credibility.
No, I'm actually not.
You literally just said, "Why should I listen to your opinions?"
I'm
on
using
this?"
because your opinions are indistinguishable from Russian state propaganda, and it behooved them to give you money because they're like, I want these opinions
So
disseminated more.
the Russian position is that they shouldn't have invaded Ukraine.
So that's your basic position. I'm talking
day
about
one.
Ukraine is the enemy of the people. America is fighting this
Never
war.
said they were enemy of the people.
You literally said Ukraine is the enemy of this country or whatever.
Because
right?
they bombed the Nord Stream pipeline according to Germany.
The point is that
Bro,
your
you know so
positions
little
in
about the
Tulsi-
Ukrainian conflict.
What do you mean?
That you like
Are you gonna get me to name all the oblasts right now? I know like one of them. So
you don't. Oh wow, I'm impressed. You don't know.
it's like
you know,
Donetsk and
you know what-
Luhansk or whatever. Those are the only
you
two.
don't even know two.
Okay, wait.
Dumb pronounce.
Did I say those wrong? Donetsk and Luhansk? Ukraine Oblasts. Donetsk, Luhansk, Hansk. I pronounced them wrong, but I definitely know two, so fuck you.
Them wrong.
Luhansk and Donetsk.
Yeah, there,
I don't care if you know the
Luhansk
names of
and
oblasts.
Donetsk.
I just remember you
the point
called
is,
out Wick on that. So
you don't know shit about what's going on, but you were adamant we be involved.
what do you mean? I don't know shit. I know that the security guarantee happened. I know that we should defend.
Why did
an
Russia
ally.
invade?
Why did Russia invade? Well, I think you're alleging that it was because of the trade deals, and they didn't.
By the way,
want
he
to-
had two different explanations for why Russia invaded. One is like, oh, they're flooding the Russian zone with cheap products because of these trade deals, and we want to stop that. And the other one is because they want a pipeline and access to Sebastopol. But he just jumped around a lot.
cheap European goods flooding into
Luhansk.
Russia or something like that. I thought you said that at one point. I'm sorry if that's not what you think. I thought the
I
Russia.
read that in a
invaded-
Reuters article
Okay. So what do you think? Why do you think Russia invaded?
because they don't want to lose control of Sevastopol.
Okay.
That's why they control the land bridge into Crimea.
What does this have to do with anything I said?
And he doesn't bring this up. He brought this up when Wick was on. He's like, they actually don't want to take over all of Ukraine. They just want the land bridge and Sebastopol. And it's like, okay, well, they're clearly going past that, buddy. So where's this coming from? And it's like, oh, wait, that's right. That's a Russian propaganda point about, well, it's not about taking over a country. It's just we want what's rightfully ours.
I've seen you talk
You
about this
don't
stuff.
know why the U.S. is
hold
involved
on.
in Ukraine, but you want us
You're-
to be there.
I think that the U.S. is opposing, one, the invasion of Ukraine because we promised that, hey, if you give up your nukes, we'll help you if you get invaded because we don't want the nuclear proliferation in this country.
And what was that called?
I don't remember. It's like
I didn't
1983 or
remember the
something, right?
Budapest
Listen,
referendum. And now he's like,
I have an issue.
oh, you don't remember the name of the Budapest referendum? You don't know anything, buddy. I did not come here to debate Ukraine, by the way. I just wanted to talk about the tenant media thing a little bit.
Ill-informed individuals advocating for an escalation of war.
Why is this? Dude, if you're talking about, look, I can probably name like the way that you've described of Russia's goals in this country and like all the points you're going over. My question is, why is it that when we do a security guarantee for a country, we shouldn't help that country out?
What's the security guarantee?
The security guarantee is that if you give up your nukes, we will protect you, right?
Tell me about it.
What, do you want me to pull it up? I don't have it memorized. Do you have it memorized?
Yeah, it was the Budapest Memorandum.
There we go. Didn't remember.
It was the nuclear deproliferation at the beginning of the START treaties.
Right.
Now, why is
Memorandum,
the United States involved in
referendum.
Ukraine?
Fuck.
Because why are we involved in any foreign country?
No, there's a specific reason we're involved in Ukraine.
Are you talking about like to combat the spread of Soviet like
No.
Stuff, or what do you mean?
I have an issue my whole life with ill-informed people propagandized by the government to advocate for foreign intervention in other countries.
Why is this? What am I propaganda? Like, tell me what my
You
Thank
don't
you.
know
I've
what
said it
you-
wrong
in
like
good
40
faith, I'm asking
times,
you, what do
Louis.
you think my position, why I support this based on this like thing? Like, if I said, oh, it seems like we promised this country we defend them.
We'll be greeted as
please tell me.
liberators.
Huh?
Because you're basically saying we will be greeted as liberators.
No, I'm saying
You
it
are.
seems to me like we had a promise to this country to defend them in this case. My question is, what's wrong with that? Because maybe I'm wrong, but tell me about it. But my question originally was going back to this, like, okay, but like if you're saying the same things as Russian state TV, it makes it hard to take you seriously.
Does the does the treaty that we have with Ukraine that
The reason I'm being nice here is because I'm in front of an audience of Tim Pool people who are more like, you know, open to the Tim Pool. And I've seen if you get like incredibly blasted up and angry, it's just like he just is like, oh, look at you, you're the crazy lib. Like the way he paints it, he's really good at manipulating that. So
does defend them include any guarantees for Russia?
Probably, I think so, right?
Does it maybe is there maybe some kind of issue pertaining to if the U.S.
Well, you're
aggresses?
asking, you know, just tell me. I haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah,
since,
like
3 months ago or something.
Was it Timber Sycamore? Was that the operation?
That was in Syria.
Yeah, when the U.S. started providing weapons to Islamic terrorist groups,
Yeah.
so that they could topple the Assad regime, which was allied with Russia, where Russia has their naval base in Tartus.
Okay.
That was an aggress upon an ally of Russia, which destabilized the region,
Okay.
creating a conflict, particularly around control of a Russian naval base, which put them at risk.
Okay.
Assad had to flee the country. We viewed him largely as a terrorist who was gassing his own people.
Right.
Russia viewed him as an ally and sought to protect him.
Okay.
The U.S. threatened to put a no-fly zone over Syria, to which Hillary Clinton said, let's do it,
remember
even though
that,
she was
yes.
warned that would start war with Russia directly. She said, I don't care.
Okay.
The reason we are in Ukraine largely has to do with our attempts to bring natural gas from the Middle East into Europe to offset Russia's control of natural gas.
Right, yeah, I've seen you talk about this. Okay.
So the U.S. is setting up operations in Ukraine,
Okay.
running soft power operations to shift their government towards a pro-EU, pro-Schengen, pro-NATO sentiment.
Okay.
Russia opposes this.
Okay.
This is why Russia invaded. Firstly, the reason why they seized Crimea in I think it was 2014,
Yeah.
was because they saw the writing on the wall with the ousting of Yanukovych. They didn't invade Ukraine at the time.
So
They simply had
I
their
wish I
existing-
knew more about Ukraine. I've did a little bit, talked to Dylan Burns, I talked to Ukrainian Anna and Wick for his debate, but now he's like going to bring up all this more specific stuff. I'm like, fuck, I should have like known this stuff a lot better, so that I could push back. But honestly, I'm kind of happy we didn't, because I got to move on to the Trump stuff. So
troops in Sevastopol walk outside and
Didn't
then
they put a bunch of special forces and like
They were
control
already
the
there.
elections? No, the Little Green Men thing, right?
they were already there.
Okay,
They have a
why does
naval
that
base
make
in
it
Sevastopol.
okay?
No one said it was. I'm saying this is what Russia did.
Right. Then there was
Russia
a lease, there was a
invaded
lease
Ukraine
agreement in
after Joe
Sevastopol, right?
Biden got back in.
Right.
Because when Trump won in 2016, all of these tensions simmered down and halted. The response
okay,
from the
I'm pretty
left,
sure this
Democratic
is
Party was
not true. Oh, the tensions simmered down when Trump was in office, like as if they weren't like building up to take Ukraine the entire time. It's like, oh well, Trump kind of scared them off.
largely
hold
that
on.
Donald Trump was supporting Russian interests
One more time.
by removing our involvement from Ukraine.
I asked what specifically about my position is completely fabricated or brainwashed, but
Because you
but,
don't
but I'm
know
also
any of this,
but
but
I'm
want us to
also
be
hold on,
involved.
but I'm also questioning everything you're telling me now, because first of all, you have been in this industry way longer than me. I would always concede and cop to the fact that you probably know more about more things than I do, and probably ever will.
Not
So
only do
just
I know
hold on,
more about it
just
than you,
by
I was there twice at the start of the Civil War.
But my question is, if this Russian state media says, "Hey, this person's opinions are so aligned with ours, we want to give them millions of dollars," why should I believe you?
That's made up.
And your evidence of it being made up is, well,
You have no evidence of
maybe,
it.
Well, yeah, but you're if you think the DOJ completely fabricated it, just say that. But I don't think
No.
that's the case. Or
Let's say their indictment is fine.
Okay.
What evidence did they release?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the sources.
The indictment
at the
contains
bottom.
no
What do you
evidence.
mean? It's like, can we like call Lauren Chen on the phone and ask her right now?
The indictment contains zero evidence that anything that they've claimed happened.
Yeah, when the government releases a report on something, do they have like a list of sources at the bottom, or they say this is what we're alleging happened? Like, Joe Biden said, "Hey, Russia's about to invade Ukraine in the coming weeks," and they didn't say, "And these are intelligence sources, and these are our spies." They were just like, "This is going to happen," and then it did, right?
If your
Like,
only argument against the historical facts that I brought up is, but I heard from an indictment that
that's
you
not my,
may have been
that's
paid
not
by
my
a foreign
only
country.
argument. I have a lot of arguments there. I don't want to get into a whole.
I really wish I
Boyle,
countered this.
and
Oh
I'm glad to
crap!
be back on the
I really wish I countered this a little bit, but the idea that it's like, oh, your only argument against my ability to spout off these like random historical talking points that aren't necessarily all true, by the way, because a lot of them are like Russian informed. It's like, well, hold on, I'm not arguing against this specific historical fact. I'm arguing against the fact that every single talking point that you have is one-to-one with Russia, and that's the reason they gave you money, not oh, I can't contend with what you're saying, therefore you must be propaganda. So let me get back to this. Sorry, where were we?
Post, I'm like, hey, just so you know, we just bombed a country. We're leaking it to you first.
Media and the boogeyman that seeks to.
That you brought up.
Where Trump said,
Some people, especially, I asked what specifically about my position is completely fabricated or brainwashed.
because you
but,
don't
but I'm
know
also
any of this,
but
you
I'm
want us to
also
be
hold on.
involved.
But I'm also questioning everything you're telling me now because first of all, you have been in this industry way longer than me. I would always concede and cop to the fact that you probably know more about more things than I do and probably ever will.
Not
So
only do
just
I
hold
know
on,
more, but
just
I
by-
was there twice at the start of the
Yes,
Civil
but
War.
my question is, if this Russian state media says, hey, this person's opinions are so aligned with ours, we want to give them millions of dollars, why should I believe you?
That's made up.
And your evidence of it being made up is, well,
You
maybe,
have no evidence of
maybe,
it.
Well, yeah, but you're, if you think the DOJ completely fabricated it, just say that. But I don't think
No.
that's the case.
Let's say their indictment is fine.
Okay.
What evidence did they release?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the sources.
The indictment
at the
contains no
bottom. What do you
evidence.
mean? It's like, can we like call Lauren Chen on the phone?
So it's
and
like
ask
this
her
is
to-
such a weird thing. It's like, oh, the DOJ didn't release the evidence. They didn't make it up. It's like, okay, well, so either they have a completely fabricated thing from someone else making it up and they just didn't check their source, or they made it up. But you're just kind of like, oh, well, I'm not saying that. I'm not accusing the DOJ of doing anything, but I don't know their source.
The indictment contains zero evidence that anything that they
Yeah,
claim
by the way, Tim is so aggressive because this is true and he got paid tens of millions of dollars.
happened.
Yeah, when the government releases a report on something, do they have like a list of sources at the bottom, or they say this is what we're alleging happened? Like, Joe Biden said, "Hey, Russia's about to invade Ukraine in the coming weeks," and they didn't say, "And these are intelligence sources, and these are our spies." They were just like, "This is going to happen," and then it did, right?
If your
Like,
only argument against the historical facts that I brought up is, but I heard from an indictment that
that's
you
not
may have been
that's
paid
not
by
my
a foreign
only
country.
argument. I have a lot of arguments there. I don't want to get into a whole Ukraine debate. My point is like, I don't understand why.
Let's just pause on the Ukraine thing because I don't need to rehash a history lesson to somebody who didn't research it.
Okay.
Let's just talk about
Speaking
the
of
point.
not researching, can we
point
talk about the
being-
fine people hoax you talked about?
Yeah, I let him move off of this because I'm just like, I'm so done with this. This is so ridiculous. But I'm happy I got him to admit that all of it's fake. So when something may or may not catch up with him, I hope someone splices in at least a little bit of me being like, really, it's all fake?
Like, I think you bring that up with liberals a lot. I just made a video on it. You feature in it, the Adam Conover clip itself.
Right.
And the idea.
You did research it. You did know the full quote.
Yeah. So okay. So people.
This is great too. I released my video like 3 days before this, so I was like super well read on the Charlottesville thing. And he really backs down on this.
People, especially Chuck Schumer, he did this. He said Donald Trump called neo-Nazis fine people, which is not the quote, right? It's like
They should be condemned.
Yeah, fine people on both sides. And then, but I'm not talking about this. But like, I think that completely ignores the context of the white nationalists who organized the rally, who was there on that day, and all the Identity Europa, the KKK. Like the idea that there were fine people in this group is kind of like what everyone was upset about. Is that he didn't condemn them on August 12th when white nationalists killed a guy. 2 days later, he gave a teleprompter speech that seemed kind of like wooden and hollow. And then on the 15th, he finally said the fine people thing, pointing to no one because there were not fine people on the side of the neo-Nazis.
I think
right?
this is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party.
Because we don't like neo-Nazis.
Because Trump condemned neo-Nazis, and you're trying to make the case why he actually did.
Can we talk? Can you bring up the Snopes article that you brought up?
Where Trump said, not the
I'm
Nazis.
so happy I got
Here's
him
the
to
thing, is,
read
like,
this fucking like editor's note on the Snopes article.
You look at that article. Yeah, obviously, Snopes did a good job. They're like, we are here to report on the factual thing of what Trump said.
Yep.
But you brought this up with Adam Conover. Scroll down. Can you read the editor's note?
Some readers have raised the objection that this fact check appears to assume Trump was correct in saying there were very fine people on both sides of the Charlottesville incident. That's not the case. The fact check aimed to confirm that Trump actually said, not whether what he said was true or false. For the record, virtually every source that covered the anti-right debacle concluded that it was conceived of, led by, and attended by white supremacists, and therefore Trump's characterization was wrong.
Right.
So it's like even the article that he uses is like, yo, Tim, like this was a white nationalist rally and Trump was wrong to say there were fine people on both sides. Just so you know.
Most of the people and the media narrative around this as a whole was that Trump
Getting Tim to read is pretty impressive in general. That's true. Too true.
is not condemning white nationalists at this rally that killed a person.
I'm just going to say it again. This is why young men are leaving the Democratic
Well,
Party.
can you address the point I'm bringing up?
I
August 11th
am.
happened.
I'll say it right now. Who did Trump describe specifically as the fine people?
So on August 11th,
Who did Trump describe as the fine people he was
he said
referring
the people that weren't the neo-Nazis and the racists who
to? No,
should
he
be condemned
specifically said
totally.
some people who just didn't want to see statues torn down
Right,
in
so,
their
so
neighborhood.
not those people. So everyone excluding those. And
So when
what
Trump
Snopes has
says like
confirmed-
a
what
little
Snopes
old
has
lady
confirmed-
doesn't want a statue torn down as a fine person,
But that's
he's
who,
right.
where is this little old lady, right? The point
In
is
the video,
this was a
it's
white
Charlottesville.
nationalist rally organized by Jason Kessler. a
By the
white
way,
nationalist.
someone got really mad at me on Twitter and sent me a video and was like, huh, look at this. Like, look at all these people that aren't Nazis. And like in the video he sent me, there's like an Identity Europa flag, which is a Nazi group, like a Workers' Party, like, Nazi group flag. And like the main guy in focus on the camera is wearing, United Workers' Party symbol on his fucking helmet. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is the worst video you could have sent me.
And with the scheduled speakers being David Duke, Mike Enoch, Richard Spencer. And so when you show up, you look at these promotional materials, the news,
they should be condemned
and the news reports on this as this is going to be a white nationalist rally. And then you show up and you're like, well, I know I'm one of the 4,000 other Nazi people here, but I'm just here to protest the statue. Do you think those people like existed? And like this is specifically this
they're on
one or two
video.
people.
How old are you?
Actually, and it's also if you look at like the history of how these organizations operate throughout America.
This is wild. John's about to say, actually, it was a Nazi rally, but that was perpetuated by people that tried to make Nazis look bad. Or, excuse me, the statue defenders look bad.
It's exactly like you're describing, where you've got something like a statue for Robert E. Lee. You've got Americans who are local, and they're like, you know what, this is my heritage. Maybe I don't swear by it, but I like it and I respect it. And they all of a sudden can bring in these boogeyman figures like David Duke, who famously sold lists of his members to the SBLC.
Why do you say boogeyman for David
because
Duke?
that is
He's
what they
not
are.
the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
The boogeyman referring to this sort of like archetypal scary thing so that the media can then report on it. And now 8 years later, we're pretending that Trump is maybe a white
supremacist. The media didn't bring David Duke to the rally. David Duke promoted and organized.
There is a
Jason Kessler.
there is a relationship between the state, the media, and the boogeyman that seeks to take normal right-wing opinions and vilify them and make them scary and alienating to normal people.
This is so wild to me. It's like, yeah, they're trying to make normal right-wing opinions look bad. It's like, John, you're a Nazi. Like, why are you pretending like there's some like apparatus to make people more radical when you're actually yourself so radical? Like, is he like a Nazi who's like upset that the moderates are like being lumped in with him? Like, it's so weird.
Subversion tactic, which made the white nationalists promote this rally to scare people away from defending the statue?
100%. Yes, that is how this has operated since the end of World War II. This relationship between the national security state, far-right organizations, and the media. They all work together to vilify normal right-wing opinions, such as, we don't want a statue of a local hero.
I got a question for you. Do you think that intelligence agencies in the United States coordinate with news organizations?
100%. Yes, of course. And I mean, even worse than that, they subvert certain movements. Like I brought up COINTELPRO, right?
Do you think that news organizations, even today, take direction from intelligence agencies?
Direction? Depends on what you mean by that. I'm not sure. Like,
they get a
the FBI's like, you have to report on this. Maybe if it's like, hey, we're doing a story on this and we have insiders here. Would you like to make a story about this? That might be manufactured consent, but yeah, they probably do that.
So I can tell you with firsthand experience, the State Department particularly makes calls on the phone, the editor in chief, and
he's about to make this sound so conspiratorial. It's like the State Department calls journalists and tells them what to report, and it's like, dude, yeah, the State Department calls journalists and is like, hey, this happened. They're not like, you have to report on this or we'll kill you.
They say, hey, you need to report on this, or hey, this is what happened if you're making a report on this.
They say, we need you to report on this.
Sure, but that's not forcing them to report on something. If I, bombed a country and then I'm like, hey, we're going to report that we just bombed Cambodia or whatever, and I get on the phone with Washington Post, I'm like, hey, just so you know, we just bombed a country. We're leaking it to you first. Go ahead and,
No, I'm telling you that the State Department contacts the heads of news organizations and says, we've got a big story that we need you to cover. We need this one out there.
Sure, but like this is kind of the way you're phrasing it makes it seem like, oh, news, like you got to do this or we're going to punish you, and not, hey, you're a news organization. This is going to be a huge benefit for you to get ahead of this story and talk about this very big thing that's about to happen, which is a completely normal relationship.
So I think because of movies largely, people live in this world where they think everything's a perverse incentive or blackmail or a bribe. The reality is, for news organizations, it's really simple. You just hire the people who will do.
I actually don't know who Johnny Harris is, Bradley.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky made a whole thing about this.
So what ends up happening is, you're a news organization and you want someone who's you need to report that this conflict in Afghanistan has to happen and the Taliban are the bad guys.
Oh, if you want to talk about how the media was very complicit in the Iraq war narrative, 100%.
So what you do is you get a list of people who are writing, and one guy says, I'm a bit nuanced, I'll write whatever you need. One guy says, I hate the government of Iraq. Saddam Hussein is a scumbag. You're hired. Then when the State Department says, write this, they go, hey, look what we got from the State Department. He goes, oh yeah, and he writes it up.
Yeah, there's ideological capture for sure. I don't disagree with
Well, it's functional of the U.S. intelligence.
Okay, but if we're talking about this, and it's like, okay, if we look at the timeline, you had a bunch of neo-Nazis on August 11th go and talk about Jews not replacing us, blood and soil, gas the K word, right? And it's like the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people versus every other Republican politician coming
He did.
No, the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people, right? He says, he tweets something
so
out.
stupid.
Well,
This is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party.
You can keep deferring to that, but the point is, like, your narrative on this is painted by what I will admit are people like Adam Conover who like don't understand it. They just hear this like, oh, he called neo-Nazis fine people, and they brush it aside. They don't think about it. Did Adam Conover lie about it?
Because the first thing he said was,
I don't know anything about it. Right?
Yeah, Sniper, I should have made a comp with every time he's like, this is why young men are leaving the left. It's like, why? Because I'm describing the historical accuracy of what happened.
Which is like pussy shit, in my opinion. And but the point is,
and now what you're doing is called sophistry.
What is the sophistry to say that people were upset?
You can look at the articles from this time. Tone about things that happened 8 years ago.
You are arguing
the day after neo-Nazis
Trump instead of what actually happened.
The day after neo-Nazis marched in this rally with the tiki torches, Republicans came out. Mitch McConnell, the Bushes, all these other people came out and said, by the way, I'm not saying these people are good. I'm saying all the other Republican Party said, hey, these are neo-Nazis and these are bad. And Donald Trump said, many sides, right? And people were upset about that. And
you mean after a different event?
No,
that's why I call it
after the tiki torches.
Trump didn't say very fine people on both sides of
No,
the
the many sides was on August 12th. He said many sides. Fine people was on August 15th. That was 3 days later, after he didn't say anything to condemn them for 2 days. Then gave the teleprompter speech. Then finally condemned them after every other reasonable politician who I fucking hate Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was condemning this and he wasn't. And it seems like the reason people are mad are not that he said verbatim, neo-Nazis are fine people, because he didn't. You're right. That is a lie.
That's why they're mad. That's literally what they're saying.
Why they're mad is because he refused to condemn like one of the most egregious displays of white nationalism in this
How
country.
many times has Trump
for
condemned
days.
white supremacy?
I don't know, but he seems really reluctant to do it compared to other people.
A lot.
Have you seen the clip of him on, was it Jake Tapper, where he asked?
All right. Tim can't find this clip, and I thought this might have been a conspiracy, so I brought it up from my video. But this is Donald Trump. Who's this guy? Who's the soy pill? This is Donald Trump unable to condemn neo-Nazis on CNN.
Europa, the Daily Stormer, people Nazi saluting, people holding Nazis to denounce these groups, like when he struggled to denounce the KKK until reporters rubbed his face in it.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
I don't know anything about David Duke.
I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. Certainly, I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine.
Okay, I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke. One of the great memories...
It's like so fucking obviously like, yeah, this guy knows who David Duke is, cited him as the reason that he left the Reform Party in 2000. Everyone knows what the fucking KKK is. Just say you don't like them and he won't do it. It's like, this is clearly an indication that he's, invigorating a base of white nationalism, which is obvious if you've paid attention for the past 10 years and seen where the fuck we've gone. Hey, look, it's the Jubilee thing where everyone's a fucking fascist.
Asks them to like denounce the KKK and he just won't do it.
Have you seen literally the 57 times Trump's been like, why do I keep getting asked to do this and I do it every time?
Because he just really struggles to do it. And it's like, hey, why are you so reluctant to do this versus every other politician who, like, would you denounce the KKK, Tim?
No.
Wait, why?
I can't believe he was like, I was just like, dude, just say yes. Like, what? Oh my God. That should, like, I can't believe he didn't think, like, this is going to get clipped.
Because it's a bullshit smear tactic. PR
Ask me,
game.
I'll say yes. Why not?
Because you're in a cult.
I'm in a cult because I will immediately denounce the KKK because I think the evil racist lynching group is bad.
Why are you asking me to denounce the Klan?
I'm asking you not because I think you support them. I'm asking you because it's showing how easy it is to denounce them, and he struggles with this. And it raises questions where it's like, hey, why is it? Yes, it absolutely does. If he says,
this is why Trump won the popular vote.
If he lies on national television when someone says, "Hey, will you denounce David Duke?" and he says, "I don't know."
Obviously,
David Duke
Wick, I won. How's it going, buddy?
No, because in 2000 he said, "I'm leaving the Reformist Party because David Duke is part of it." So he did know who David Duke was.
No, it doesn't.
Isn't that like the point though? If
he knows who he is,
party,
bro.
They tried
if he knows who a character is
prior.
and then pretends like he doesn't understand the concept of the KKK, he says, "I don't know this."
I'm gonna say it again.
Does this not raise questions, Tim?
It does not.
Why not?
I've got videos that I've been making. I've been making online videos where I talk for hours for like 16, 17
You know what the KKK is?
Indeed, I do.
Okay, so why would he say, "I don't know what that is"?
And if someone
does that bother you?
If someone went back and said, "Tim, you know what's really funny? I'll tell you this. When Andrew Tate got really big, and everyone was talking about Andrew Tate, I was like, "Oh, I know that guy. Oh yeah, holy shit."
He was on the show.
8 years ago, he had DM'd me about.
8 years ago, Andrew Tate DM'd me and I forgot about it. And then I didn't know who he was when someone asked. It's like, okay, well, Donald Trump cited David Duke as the principal reason for leaving this party, and then when asked about it 16 years later, said, I don't know who that is, and also said, I don't know about the KKK, a thing that everyone knows about because they learned it in fucking grade school, and of course you know what the KKK is. No, this is my old appearance, Wick. This is from June. I just haven't looked at it because I've been so busy, and people are like, where do I watch it without giving them views?
The field reporting stuff, he had like 40,000 followers. If someone had asked me, what do you think of Andrew Tate? I'd be like, honestly, I don't know the guy. Bullshit. You were DMing with him 8 years ago. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, but that's very different from citing him specifically as the reason you ended a particular part of your political career. It's like specifically because of this man, and then also saying, I don't know what the KKK is.
You understand the problem with that though? Is it's like, okay,
literally, can we bring up the clip?
He said, I don't know what the Klan is.
Can we watch it?
In
look
2015,
up Donald Trump denounced KKK.
No.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Maybe I'm quoting it wrong.
And we really do cuck John a few times here. I honestly, as much of the fact that John is a Nazi, and would see people like me, in camps or deported or whatever, and because he's a white nationalist crazy person, I genuinely did kind of feel bad for him. Like, I was like, damn, we really did cuck him. Damn, you were just brought on as a prop, buddy. But yeah. Oh well. Sucks to suck, buddy.
I think he said, I don't know about that group.
Before we
I don't know about the KKK.
My question to you is,
yes.
He said, I don't know.
I don't want to say quote it verbatim, so let's watch it together.
Trump. Okay, so then I don't.
Trump
What do
refuses
you
to
ask me?
denounce the KKK.
While you look that up, do you understand the problem with that though? If it's 2015 and you're having a conversation with Trump and you're like, denounce David Duke.
Death Awaits, thank you for the $2. Soy, next time, can I sit in the cuck chair? Did you, like, it won't not let you type out cuck chair? Is that what you spelled it like that? course, you can come on Tim Pool and be in the cuck chair.
And he's like, I don't know who that is.
Just pretend to be super right wing so Tim can look like he's in the center.
And you're like, yeah, you do, because here's you denouncing him 15 years ago.
He didn't actually bring it up. Right.
The point being, it's the same game. They've been doing it for decades. He gets bored of it. They just wait for him to not give a sufficient answer one time. And now 8 years later, we're discussing
every
it like
other
it's relevant
Republican
to his
politician
policy.
can easily give the answer of, yeah, no, I don't like these white supremacist groups, but he struggles with it.
He did, as Tim said.
No, he
50
didn't.
times.
It took him days to denounce.
And
them.
we know about that one instance because that's
and the KKK one,
they
which
got
is a completely different one, and also struggling to denounce the Proud Boys, which is another one. Like this keeps happening, right? So my question is, no, I'm not looking up. Has Trump condemned white supremacists? This is obvious. He said it in the thing. Look up the.
Well, hold on. You're asking me to pull a single thing out of context.
It's not out of context.
I just searched for Tim Clan white supremacy.
Look up the.
Yeah,
CNN
Wick, I was
clip.
going to say, when you went on, Lactoid just kind of like disappeared for the second half of your debate. Same thing with John here.
Him talking, I think it's Jake Tapper, where he asked him like, "Hey, David Duke has endorsed you. Will you just quickly denounce?"
Yeah,
him?
Emily, also, yeah, I the Overton window has shifted so much. Like the absurdity of like, oh, he didn't know or he gaffed, and it's like, fuck, he's the president and he gaffed about knowing what the KKK was. Come on.
Which any reasonable person.
I'm just pulling a bunch. I'm going to pull up all of it.
Can you just bring up the one I talked about?
No, you've been talking back and forth.
This one's embarrassing, by the way.
I would love to end, sir. I would love to end it.
I just Google search and I'm pulling up all that comes up.
Okay,
I'd
like to watch that one.
but I'm
Stand by the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa. And other
Remember the
right-wing
Dean
extremist
scream?
groups.
True.
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to
about to fail
say
the
that
QuickTime
they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
That's what's so wild. Okay, look, Shakasine. If I do, let's do this. Donald Trump, David Duke, Jake Tapper. Okay, he couldn't find this. Wow. Okay, maybe maybe there's a conspiracy. Maybe his algorithm is like tailored to not show him things. Maybe Tim is a victim.
Say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something.
I think it's
about
fair.
it.
Condemnation, yeah.
I think it's fair to say it was a gaffe.
Sure, if you want to say he fucked up there.
I should have pushed back on that harder. Oh, it was fair to say that was a gaffe. It's like, dude, come the fuck on. This is like clearly indicative of a pattern of behavior of him not wanting to denounce these people, if not emboldening the people who, I can't believe I didn't bring this up. Seditious conspiracy, Enrico Tarrio, Proud Boys tried to fucking January 6th and then he pardoned them, like, which he, by the way, got wrong in front of Luke Beasley and looked like a fucking idiot.
Failing to do this, and we can please watch the KKK clip, which I think is even worse than that one, which was bad, by the way, telling a white supremacist group to stand by and not, hey, yeah, these people are evil and I hate them. Like, this is very, like I said, you didn't want to do this because it was a smear tactic, but anyone asks any of these Republican politicians, do you denounce the KKK? Yeah, fuck them, right? Easy. Because obviously, versus someone who's like clearly struggling to do this. Now, by the way, I don't think this makes Trump a white supremacist. Like, I think this is literally just
This is actually addressing John's point where he's like, well, if he left the Reform Party because of KKK, then he's not a white supremacist, right? It's like, well, yeah, at certain points he was like, well, this is not good for my campaign. I don't like it. And now that the white supremacists are backing him, he doesn't want to denounce them and is using them. Because at the end of the day, I actually don't know if Donald Trump is like a virulent racist who's just like, I hate black people. I actually don't think Donald Trump hates gay people. I don't even think Donald Trump hates trans people. But he's willing to throw them all under the bus for his own personal gain. So doesn't really matter if he personally thinks that black people are worse. He is going to put, minorities and marginalized people under the bus for his own power. And that's the end of the day. It doesn't matter what he really thinks. In the same way, like we talked about before, if someone blockbusts, if someone comes in and says, hey, look, I don't hate black people, but I will acknowledge the fact that there's a slight chance that they're going to rent differently or the property values are going to go down here. So I'm going to bring one in and make all the property values go down so that I can buy up all the property or whatever and cause white flight. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter that you don't have racist intentions. You're racist. Like, that's how it works. Donald Trump is an opportunist. Good. Yeah, pretty much, Wick.
Hesitant to alienate his base, but like, that's bad if you're emboldening like these really, really bad groups.
Last chance. Super Tuesday brings caucuses and primaries in 12 states. For Republicans, about half
right there.
About
Yeah.
what you're even talking about with. I don't know anything about David.
Beginning with a new controversy surrounding Trump today. Here's Major Garrett.
I don't know anything about David Duke. Okay, I don't know anything about what you're even talking about.
Oh no, John left the cuck chair. I didn't even notice that he got up before we were done.
White supremacy or white supremacist.
Donald Trump demurred when asked whether he could.
Yeah.
The full clip is much worse than that too.
I'm trying to find it. The only thing that comes up, I got to be honest, when I search for it, is that Trump condemns white supremacy.
Okay, well, I promise you.
The only thing that
I do
okay, so yeah, if you did Donald Trump, so I couldn't find it because I was frantically looking on my phone. But it's like, yeah, like you said in chat, if you do Donald Trump, David Duke, Jake Tapper, it's like the first result. I don't know why I couldn't find it.
Agree with you.
I can find
Maybe he
it.
didn't want to
agree
find
with you.
it.
There's a longer clip. He basically was like, I know what you're talking about. I don't want to condemn him.
But then he concedes. He's like, oh, by the way, I agree with you. It's like, what the fuck were you fighting me on it?
Trump KKK CNN, and then it's like Trump campaign denounces Klan. Trump calls KKK Nazis repugnant. Trump denounces David Duke 2016. I mean, here you go. CNN politics. Trump denounces David Duke KKK.
Yeah, he did it eventually, I'm sure.
He's a
In the
bad
same way
person,
He
I
eventually
disavow-
condemned white supremacists.
So
Does it not raise any alarm bells? I mean,
No,
I
not really.
hate to do this. I hate to do this on stream, but I know it's in my video. If you go to my channel, you go to my most
That's
recent
why I
video,
brought it
and you
up,
scroll to
guys,
that
on
exact
my
clip, and you
video.
Watch the whole thing in full.
but you're correct.
Why don't you want to show the clip?
I can't find it.
Well, I just said if you go to.
And also, I
I
feel
don't
like-
want to shamelessly promote myself, but if you go to my channel, it's in my most recent video, The Soy Pill. Like I know because I just released this on Tuesday, so I watched it like a million times.
What I'm trying to do is find the actual raw clip.
I
just need the title.
cut out the dead air of it, if that's what you're. worried about.
For the same reason, I don't want to play the CBS Evening News clip. I'm trying to find the actual raw clip of what Trump said. That way, no one's going to say. So first of all, I agree with you. You're correct that when Trump was asked about it, he was like, "I don't know anything about it. I don't want to." And it was contentious. And then he came out later and said,
Would
"I
you
do
call that
condemn them."
a gaffe?
No. Call it inconsequential, I guess.
You don't think that at all?
I have a
You don't
transcript.
think that at all emboldens the?
But this is NPR. People don't trust them. I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group. Oh wait, what is this? I don't know anything about Dave. Why don't they have the video in here?
I know I got the video from.
Wait, hold on.
Too.
No. I don't know, man.
Well, does that not bother? Does that not give you pause that like someone you voted for is like struggling to denounce a hate group when every other person can immediately do it?
Let's just do this.
Well, answer the question.
I am, and it's called no, because I typed in Trump refuses KKK CNN, Trump condemns all white supremacists, Trump refuses to condemn white supremacists, Donald Trump stumbles on David Duke KKK twice. That's the one I pulled up.
Okay.
Full interview. Trump denounces KKK.
I don't think I bring this up. I should have been like, don't you think it's crazy that these people say that they're emboldened by it? We see a rise in white supremacy, and also one of the groups that he refused to condemn, stormed the White House and specifically stormed the Congress and tried to overturn the election. Don't you think that maybe he has some culpability in that? Like
Trump, I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan.
Sure.
Like this is just a political non-story as far as I'm concerned.
So when the groups come out afterwards, when this happens, and say, "Wow, we really feel emboldened by this person," and then you can see like a rising trend of these groups' influence, like I think that's a very demonstrable material
These
harm.
people have no influence, though, dude. The Proud Boys used to be a drinking club.
Steve
They're
Bannon
not around
is an
anymore.
alt-right person. He's like
He's not
hired by
alt-right.
Trump.
Steve Bannon
he's
is like
literally
a
claims to be alt-right.
broadcaster.
No, he doesn't.
What do you mean? Does he not claim himself to be a proponent of the alt-right as he has since like 2016?
This is, oh man.
Oh my God. So this is wild because I was not prepared for like pushing back on material reality. But he's like, Steve Bannon's not alt-right. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm pretty sure Steve Bannon's all-right. Steve Bannon says, what does he say? He's like, we're the platform of the alt-right, he told to Mother Jones, referring to Breitbart. It's like, what the fuck? Why did you fight me on this shit? You fucker. Such a little
You know
weasel.
what's really challenging in the political space is like,
What about Steve Bannon isn't alt-right when he's
what does alt-right mean?
Alt-right? Oh man, like getting me to define the concept of this.
Well, the
like,
AP has
using
the
it to assault
AP
people. Yeah,
guidelines.
what do you mean
for
when you say
the AP
alt-right?
guidelines have a definition of what alt-right is.
Okay, and what's that?
White nationalist.
Okay,
Steve
Yeah, I
Bannon's
think he
not a white
literally
nationalist.
coined the term.
if that's the only criteria for it,
It
I
is.
think that he might still be, but I'd have to look into.
He's not.
this. Okay.
Steve Bannon.
I think
thinks we should
Steve
tax
Bannon
the
is a
rich
white
to
nationalist, by the
oblivion.
way.
He thinks there should be a wealth tax on billionaires.
Okay, but that doesn't. No, by the way, I already know this, but that doesn't make him not.
It's actually in the 80 article. Let me just find it again. White supremacy, white right. Bannon expresses enthusiasm, a loose network of individuals promoting white identity and rejecting mainstream conservatism in favor of politics that embrace implicit or explicit racism, anti-Semitism, and white supremacy. I mean, it's Breitbart, so obviously. When President Trump named Bannon as his chief strategist, numerous well-known white supremacists celebrated the appointment, including David Duke, Jared Taylor, and Peter Brimlau, founder of the racist site Vidare, calling the hire amazing. After Bannon was dismissed from his duties, he resumed his position as, okay, this is not, I was just looking at whiteness. But yeah, it's just like, guys, he's a fucking white nationalist. Like, why are you defending it? It's like, this is so dumb.
No, he's not
Well,
alt-right.
Well, first of all, there are Nazbols, which are Nazis who are like super pro like socialist weird policies, right?
Oh my God, Jesus Christ, Bradley, yes, Steve Bannon fucking Nazi saluted. What am I saying? This is so stupid. Did this happen before? Steve Bannon. It's literally in my search history. This was fine. This was before. How did I forget this?
We don't have victory if we surrender.
This was my biggest gaffe, guys. This is my biggest gaffe. I didn't bring this up and do I'm like, hey, what do you think of this part?
The only way that they win is we retreat, and we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit. Fight, fight, fight.
It's just like, fuck. Can't believe I forgot about that.
A economic left policy and be
Look at that idiot. Look at that fucking idiot there.
We had Steve Bannon on the show, and I asked him, I was like, you've been called white nationalist. And he's like, I have. And I was like...
So he was playing dumb? Because of course he would know that, right?
We were specifically
The longer I'm spending time on this topic, I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I didn't bring up the Steve Bannon Nazi salute. Fuck.
Alt-right as white nationalist. And I was saying, they're claiming you're racist. And he was like, I said, there's a viral post on Reddit right now. It says, this is the face of white supremacy.
Wait. Okay, real quick. Is Steve Bannon named here? Okay, no. I was going to say, it would be so funny if he brought up an article that he didn't read where Steve Bannon's mentioned there, but this is just on the alt-right.
Okay.
And he's like, I didn't realize they were saying that about me.
What was this, like 2016?
Yeah, well, no. He came on the show in 2022.
So for 5 years of every mainstream media outlet reporting on him like
real
that?
quick. Look at John Doyle just fidgeting because he's like, why am I here?
Alt-right as white nationalist. And I was saying, they're claiming you're racist. And he was like, I said, there's a viral post on Reddit right now. It says, this is the face of white supremacy. Okay. And he's like, I didn't realize
fucking around with pieces of
Like
paper.
2016?
Well, no. He came on the show
I want to go home.
2022.
So for 5 years of every mainstream media outlet reporting on him like that, and he's never heard of that?
Have you ever watched his show?
I've never watched it.
Did you know that he's pro wealth tax?
Wait. Can we not move on from the fact that
we're not moving on? I'm asking you about the policies of Steve Bannon.
Right. So
and what you know about him.
I know that he has he wants to tax billionaires, right?
Why don't you like Steve Bannon?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to go look at all the articles that have been propagandized into my brain to force me to have this narrative. I can't remember right now.
Probably. I mean, if you watch his show, you might be like, "Whoa, this guy's Occupy Wall Street."
Yes. Okay. I can have people.
Steve Bannon. I called him a leftist.
No, hold on. If he's Occupy,
I call Steve Bannon the leftist because he wants to tax billionaires, and it's like, dude, how? Okay, if I was a Nazi, but I was pro-choice, am I a leftist? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Steve's not a Nazi. He's just a little autistic. True. Thank you, first name, last name, for the $2. Yeah, him and Elon just have their little stimmies. These little stimmies.
Let's just say that he's like super mega leftist on this policy. Then why is he in the Trump cabinet voting for the Trump policies that are not getting us anywhere close to this?
Well, Bannon wants arrests.
Arrest for what?
He wants the government dismantled, broken, arrested.
But okay, look, no one is 100% aligned with like one policy, one party. I am on the left. I'm progressive, and I am pro-gun. Right? I have like policies.
The left is pro-gun.
Well, to the far left.
No, the left is pro-gun.
Liberals in California are stupid anti-gun. Right? They're like putting taxes on ammo or like background checks on ammo. All this stupid shit. I think that's dumb. Right? However, that doesn't make me not left. So the thing is, there are key principles that I have, like progressive tax rates, welfare state.
I should have fixed my posture. I would have mogged harder.
Keep me in this party. If Steve Bannon has this leftist policy of taxing billionaires, but he's completely aligned in voting for the right policy. This is not the thing that is the deal breaker for him. This is not his principal value.
You call him a liberal, but say he's on the right.
He's like in the Trump cabinet helping Trump win, which is right.
He's not in the Trump cabinet.
He was in 2016.
He got kicked out.
Okay, sure, but the point is the fact that who he
or he retired or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if he got fired or
whatever.
Like who he aligns with and who he votes for.
A bunch of liberals are on the right.
What is if I'm a right wing person, if I say I'm right wing because I vote for Trump, but I support every other taxation progressive, I support gun rights progressive. I want to ban all guns, but abortion is my mainstream value.
Emily, the workout video is coming. I'm recording it soon, so the thirst trap edits are coming.
On the left or I'm on the right? Like,
so you're saying
like every single one of my policies is aligned with Bernie Sanders. However, I think abortion should be illegal in all cases, so I vote for Donald Trump because that's my delineating issue. What party am I in? What side of the aisle am I on?
Well, we can talk about tribal or philosophy. So you could be a liberal Republican.
You're voting for the material outcomes that are caused by the Republican Party. So whether or not he wants to tax billionaires, he's voting for the party that is cutting taxes on billionaires in this new bill that they passed in 2017. So how does that make him on the left?
Steve Bannon?
Steve Bannon is helping out the party that is
doing Steve Bannon? The guy is just called a leftist? What do you mean?
Of this left-wing party, right?
You have to ask him or watch his show. Well, sure, my point was that he advocates for taxing the billionaires.
No, Tim, I don't have to ask him. You just called him a fucking leftist, dude. Oh, God.
Sure. And if he's not doing anything...
I'm getting mad. I'm so happy it's almost over, guys.
To make that happen, why would that make him on the left?
Maybe he is. I don't know.
He's not. He's supporting Donald Trump.
See, once again, like this is why I say the left is a cult. It's like a zero...
It's like every time I fucking back him into a corner in a logical argument, he's just like, you're in a cult.
Some reality.
This isn't zero sum. This is why do I vote the way I do? You vote for Trump because you think that these policies that you want are going to happen, right? Like,
yeah, two-hinged. It's like, why does it matter what your personal philosophy is if you don't vote for it? It literally doesn't matter.
Sure. And what I'm saying is if you say, hey, I'm a liberal because XYZ policy, but I vote for the exact opposite person on all these other ones because, let's say this, you're
in a cult.
No, because your mainstream policy, you're delineating.
He says
this
it so many times.
Dividing line is no new wars, no new conflicts. That's fine. That's why you vote for Trump. But then why pretend that you're a liberal on all these other things when you will vote for the material opposite of all of that?
People have different weights to what they find to be more important than other things.
Exactly. It's a hierarchy of what
This is
you
why
want
I'm
to
not.
happen, right?
I'm also anti-death penalty, and I don't go march for it.
Right, but you are going to vote for the party that's going to try to reinstitute it, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so that's what I'm
Some
saying.
things are more important than others.
Indeed.
Like I think
war is
woke,
the delineating factor. That's
I think woke cultism and critical ideologies are a threat to the existence of this United States.
And that makes sense. Then why you would vote for Trump? Because they think the same thing. But that's not a progressive or liberal position, right?
It's a classically liberal position.
Okay, but it's not,
and traditionally liberal.
But it's not a liberal position.
Traditional liberals were not in favor of whatever the weird shit y'all are doing now, like cutting kids' balls off.
Well, I mean, trans stuff is new, but the point is that the policies of like
and that's my point. 20 years ago, if you went to a liberal and said,
To be clear, trans people in the audience, I understand the historical precedents of trans people. I'm just saying the trans narrative is new. It is. We weren't really talking about it a while ago.
Big video with like 500,000 views. We talked about how in like 2010 or whatever, College Humor made a video with Jack Black and a bunch of celebrities where they said, it's for Prop 8. And then the fake conservatives in it said they'll teach kids about sodomy. And the liberals go, that's a lie.
They'll teach kids about like gay sex.
But
Why
they do.
would they not do that?
So back in 2008, 2010.
I would disagree with that ad then because, like, of course,
So
if
this
gay
is the
people
point.
have sex.
This is so funny. It's like he's like, actually, the liberal position was that we'll never teach kids about sodomy because of this one commercial on Prop 8. And I'm like, well, I disagree with that commercial. We should absolutely teach kids about anal sex. It's a part of sexual experience. And what I didn't do, and what all of my friends got on me for, and this is fair, is like I never was like, oh, because he's about to be like, oh, anal sex is awful for you. It's so damaging. It's like, okay, what about heterosexual sex? What about STIs? What about fucking throat cancer from going down on a woman? What about like any and all the other things that can cause potential harm in society that obviously we say, yes, these are acceptable risks for what we do as part of our lifestyle, like driving a car, like drinking, like doing anything, owning a gun, which is more dangerous than fucking anal sex. Why is all of that acceptable, but you're focused really much on how anal sex is so damaging? Because he's fucking pandering to a right-wing audience to try to make it so gay people look bad. That's why. That's the only fucking reason. But he, gets pinned down on it and tries to pivot and say, I'm in a cult. Sky Needs Sleep, thank you for the $2. You're in a cult. It's his get out of jail free card. True.
With sodomy, then why would you say, yeah, sex
So
ed, but not
liberals
for
back
sodomy?
then said, we are not going to teach kids about sodomy.
That's dumb.
And that's why 9 million
Yeah, so Cleomorus, HPV, there's hundreds of strains of HPV. There's low-risk strains that cause warts. There's strains that never do anything. There's strains that cause cancer. Gardasil is a vaccine. Gardasil 4 was the old one. Now they have Gardasil 9. That's how many strains it protects against. It protects against most of those strains. However, if a woman has HPV, and you go down on her, and it's a cancer-causing strain, there's a potential for you to develop throat cancer. Now, my understanding is these are not super deadly for the most part. That's why Michael Douglas, who had this throat cancer from going down on a woman probably, or from something else, didn't die. Now, do you need to be a millionaire to survive? I don't know. The point is, get vaccinated.
I'm a voter. I think they should not teach children about sodomy. Why not? Children should not be taught about fetish, kink, things that can destroy your body.
Sodomy is fetish kink, guys.
Fetish or kink.
Yes,
It's the way that primarily gay people have sex.
It's not sexual reproduction.
Okay.
It's sexual gratification.
Right, but if you're...
I don't think they should teach about blowjobs in sex ed because it's not sexual reproduction. It's like, motherfucker, people do blowjobs. Like, this is... the dodging that he has to do to pretend like this is like this is a crazy thing that these people do when it's so clearly pandering to the right-wing audience of, well, I want them to think that I think that gay sex is bad. It's ridiculous.
You're trying to prepare children for the outside world, and this is something that might happen if they're gay. Don't you want them to be safe and know about it?
No, you
It's not
shouldn't
really
teach kids
a
about
safe
gay
way
anal
to
sex.
engage in that.
Anal sex in any circumstance is damaging to the body and
Do you
can
think
kill
that
you.
gay people should never have sex?
First of all, he said anal sex in any circumstance is damaging to the body, and that's just not true. There's plenty of ways to have completely safe anal sex. If anal sex was damaging in any way, then pooping, if any poop was the same circumference or otherwise, size as a fucking wiener, it would totally fuck your ass up, apparently. It's like, no. This is not the case. There are ways to have unsafe anal sex if you don't have enough lube, if you don't go too hard, if the dick's too big, whatever. If you don't what's it called, enema or whatever. Like, there are ways that it can cause problems, which is why we should instruct people that if they ever do something like this, these are the safest ways to do it, and how to just do it in a responsible protected way, not spreading STIs, not hurting your partner. It's just like, fucking A, dude. Like, this is such a no-brainer, but it's like John Doyle, by the way, is like, oh, all anal sex is degenerate, even if straight people do it, which, by the way, yeah, straight people can have anal sex. I know I should have said that too, but I was just so baffled by this, like, how can you not go from A to B here? It's because he's pandering, so.
You mean like anal sex?
Yeah.
That you should not have, no one should. Ask a doctor.
So yeah, okay, so no.
Go to a doctor now.
Okay, so if we have a philosophy on
Also, like, go to a doctor and ask, hey, should I have gay sex? Should I have anal sex, doctor?
gay sex can cause harm because it can. Like there are the colon cancers, like incontinence. There's things that
gastrointestinal infections and sepsis.
So bad things can happen. So if we're dealing with the reality of okay, however, there exist all these gay people that are having sex, wouldn't you rather them at least understand how to do that the safest possible way than not do it at all? Because you can't prevent it from happening, right? We can't Thanos snap gay sex out of the world. People like gay sex. I'll say that. People. You
shouldn't teach children to have gay sex.
You're not teaching them to have gay sex. You're saying, hey, if you are gay and you happen to have a gay encounter, this is the safest way to do it. Here's
right. So don't do this.
They draw it out and like graphics.
I went to a progressive.
Bro, I'm a liberal, man.
Wait,
I don't think you should teach children to have gay sex.
I'm sorry. You're a liberal, but you're saying the way that most, if not all, gay people engage in sex with each other shouldn't be done. That's not a liberal position.
Again, this is the third time it's happened. I don't know. Someone should comp. Just every time I ask him a question, it's like, oh, I have to think about the fact that my position makes no fucking sense, and he's just like, and then he has to like come up with some fucking pivot.
Traditional liberalism.
Dude, come on.
Let's try this again.
No, you don't agree with the way that gay people have sex.
In the year 2000,
this is not. Look,
do you believe that if in 2004 you went to a Democrat and said we should teach children about having anal sex, they would agree with you?
This is not.
Yes or no?
You said that.
Yes
no,
or
we already agreed on this. You said it was.
So that's my position. Yeah, stop acting like you can't comprehend these
things. You're saying that gay people shouldn't have gay sex.
People of any types, male or female, should not put things in their
bum. And that's not a liberal position from 20 years ago. No one said gay people shouldn't have sex. They said we shouldn't teach it in schools, apparently, from this commercial.
People should not be putting stuff up their butt.
Okay, well, they're doing it, and if they're doing it, I want them to be safe about it.
You know what else we don't talk about in school the kids shouldn't do? Smoking. You know the smoking cigarettes? No, hear me out. Smoking cigarettes on average.
You're going to start your little dare group and go
guys, we're way over.
I was going to finish my point first, which was going to be that smoking cigarettes on average takes 11 years off your life expectancy. Not good. Sodomy, being a practicing homosexual, removes 20 years on average from your life expectancy because of the things he's mentioning, not to mention the proliferation of STIs within.
I don't trust anything that John Doyle is saying here. I think if anything, the life expectancy for gay people being at all reduced based like compared to the population is probably heavily skewed from the AIDS epidemic, but just going to assume he's just lying about this, but maybe not.
The homosexual community and things of that
nature. Is education.
That's not true, actually, though. Unfortunately, I wish it were true, but it's not. So, promoting unhealthy lifestyles to children is bad.
Telling people how to have safer sex doesn't stop the spread of STIs.
Clearly, no.
I mean, clearly, no.
Clearly, no. Like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, STIs are just running rampant. All the sex ed that has ever happened, none of that helped at all. It's fucking insane. Oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, the AIDS epidemic and teaching about, like, how people can get AIDS is, like, an argument in favor of sex ed. PrEP is in existence now, so great for that. But, oh, God, it's so stupid. Yeah, no, I should. No, that's the thing is, like, I didn't even want to humor John Doyle because one, it's like, just shut up, dude. Like, you're here as a prop. But two, it's like, dude, like, you're a fucking Nazi. Like, well, I don't want to like argue in favor of like, oh, should I defend the concept of all my gay friends existing to you? Like, it's just like, get the fuck out.
Because
is AIDS as big as it was in the 80s? Like, you know, like
because of massive viral subsidies, not because of condom proliferation.
That's the Jack Black movie.
So even though I've already said to Tim, if this says that we shouldn't teach about sodomy, that I don't agree with it, he's going to bring it up. He's like, see, this is the liberal position. It's like, dude, I already said I don't even agree with this commercial.
Nothing can go wrong. Look, nobody's watching. It's time to spread some hate and put it in the Constitution.
Now, how?
Proposition 8.
Proposition 8. Great.
People listen to our plea. They'll teach kids about sodomy.
This is making me hate the rules.
That wasn't right. That's a lie. But it worked, so we don't care.
In California,
that wasn't right. That's a lie, but it worked, so we don't care. Now you are sitting here telling us that's a good thing to do.
I think it is good to teach people that if they're going to engage in sex a certain way, they should do it safely.
We are in agreement of your worldview and my position.
By the way, also he's using this as the way to paint the entire like narrative. Like go around and ask a random liberal in 2004, like, do you think that gay people should be able to have anal sex? They would not say no. It's so fucking stupid. No, I know it's a Funny or Die skit, Sniper, but this was a Funny or Die skit meant to go against Prop 8. So he's using this as like, see, they all are against sodomy in schools. And it's like, well, are you saying teach kids to have sodomy? Or are you saying, hey, by the way, this is what they did in my sex ed. Sometimes people do anal, they do oral, they do all the sorts of stuff. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. The reason, by the way, I kept saying you think gay people shouldn't have sex is because framing it that way is just kind of exposing how not liberal it is. Conservatives are claiming to be a liberal because they held one liberal position 20 years ago. True.
From where I used to hang out with these people in California, and you are on the other side of that.
Listen to me.
And you're
Listen,
behind
wait,
them. I don't know where you're at.
Tim, my liberal, super progressive middle school, when they did drug education, they did not.
Mercado, Andrew, Battlefield 6 beta, it's out? God, I can't do it tonight, but dude, DM me a code. Is there a code? I want to play Battlefield 6. I actually don't know if I want to play Battlefield 6. I haven't liked any of the new ones. But I heard it was inspired by Bad Company 2, which is my favorite one.
Not teach us to do Molly and cocaine and all this. However, they had a very comprehensive slideshow of here's every drug you might encounter because these things exist, all right? These things are out there, and especially in San Francisco, there's a good chance that you might find someone who's trying to sell it. And they're telling, hey, these are the risks of these drugs. These ones you should probably never, ever, ever do. These are the risks of these ones. This one won't harm you. This one's addictive. And they gave a very good comprehension of like how
I should have got you a lot of these on cable. It's like, would you ban alcohol? Would you ban driving? The problem is, I think John would ban a lot of some of these things. But yeah, for Tim, it's like, okay, these can cause, damage. I mean, there's like literally almost no benefit to fucking cigarettes. Should cigarettes be illegal? Now, I might make cigarettes illegal, personally. I think there's literally no reason you should have them. There's like no anything. Now, weed, you could argue, oh, it's recreational and maybe it doesn't cause long-term damage. But like, here's the thing. If people want to do it, I don't like alcohol, but people like drinking, okay? I don't think we should make alcohol illegal. And unfortunately, people are just going to find a way to do it anyway. That said, I do think like things like gambling should be illegal because it's like essentially a tax on poor people, especially like the lottery. It's like literally preying on getting you addicted to it. I don't think alcohol is nearly so addictive as something like gambling. Cigarettes, nicotine is in a way that's like, oh, this is literally preying on people and killing them. This is like a double like whammy of like, we should probably just get rid of this. There's no benefit to having this in society. So junk food is a little different. Maybe I think maybe see, this is where like my morality starts getting all muddled because it's like I actually do think there's like certain things that junk food is more addictive than something like cigarettes. So hard to say, but also junk food doesn't cause cancer if you have it in moderation. Cigarettes, I think, still kind of fuck up your lungs. Man, now I'm getting inconsistent. Sorry guys, it's too late for this. I will think out this position better. Someone else come up with my position for me in chat, buddy.
With these things in real life. And people are having gay sex, all right? I don't know if you knew this, but gay guys love fucking each other in the ass. It's like their favorite thing to do. And so if they're going to go out and do that, I'd rather them
can't
doing it
believe
safely
they didn't
than
laugh
spoilers.
at me
However,
saying
they had
that.
a very comprehensive slideshow of here's every drug you might encounter because these things exist, all right?
Don't
These things
smoke,
are out
Bradley.
there, and especially in San Francisco, there's a good chance that you might find someone who's trying to sell it. And they're telling, hey, these are the risks of these drugs. These ones you should probably never, ever, ever do. These are the risks of these ones. This one won't harm you. This one's addictive. And they gave a very good comprehension of like how to deal with these things in real life. And people are having gay sex, all right? I don't know if you knew this, but gay guys love fucking each other in the ass. It's like their favorite thing to do. And so if they're going to go out and do that, I'd rather them.
Like I said that so matter of fact, I was like, damn, I figured both of you would laugh at this. Neither of them did.
Do it because that's how abstinence education works, and it doesn't.
I love how
work.
we've gone from like the conservative traditional position of abstinence education and actual intercourse to, but what about shoving stuff up your ass?
Yeah, the thing that
so
Dare
didn't work. Dare didn't work, and
it didn't.
So teaching kids.
This was so dumb. He's like, DARE didn't work, so why would teaching kids about gay sex work? It's like, motherfucker, DARE was like an abstinence only, never do drugs. DARE to not do drugs. It was not, hey, let's educate kids about drugs and how they can harm you and how to stay safe and all this other stuff that they taught me in like progressive school. They were just like, just say no. And it fucking failed. Just like abstinence only education doesn't fucking work.
It's about drugs actually backfired. Maybe we should have just been like, let's not bring it up.
I agree. DARE was like this, hey, look out for this scary guy behind the, fucking school. It's going to
You're right. They should have been like, here's meth. Here's how you do it safely.
That literally, they're like, well, this one's really bad. You probably should never touch this. But however, this is what it looks like. And this is the effects of it. This is how you can avoid it, which is not what DARE did. DARE was this very much this abstinence only type of thing to just say no. It's a horrible, this is my point.
You guys want to hear a funny story? So in Chicago.
Anecdote time.
When fentanyl was starting to become like pop up on the scene, there was a fentanyl death on the south side where I lived. And the local news did a breaking story. At the corner of 63rd and Sacramento, an individual was found overdosed.
Wait, okay. I can say this. I know that they've banned loot boxing for like children's games in like Europe, and that's like preying on addictive tendencies. I don't like the way it works. And it's like, look, I've recently become addicted to blackjack, I will say, and I am able to do it in a way that's responsible because I'm willing to go in with a certain amount of money that I'm willing to lose. But most people don't do that, and they lose all their money and their savings and ruin families. And it's like, just because you can enjoy something like junk food in moderation doesn't mean you can trust the population not to just have deleterious effects because of this thing existing. And so it's like, what is the benefit of having cigarettes, right? At all. Like, there's zero that I can see. Alcohol, if cigarettes were as mainstreamed as alcohol, I guess you could make similar arguments for them. But like, as far as I can tell, like, there's no like, oh, I'll just cigarette in moderation. It's like specifically meant to get you to smoke packs and packs and packs and packs a day, and they put all these addictive chemicals in and they fuck you up. Even I would say like you could ban cigarettes and like maybe not cigars, right? But like tobacco maybe doesn't need to be banned, but like the nicotine cigarettes thing is like, is there even like a fucking like benefit to having it? I don't know. I don't think there is. And that's why I think gambling should probably be banned too. It's just a way to drain people of their money, preying on their worst tendencies. Junk food. Yeah, we need better education for health, but like, how do you better educate people about gambling? Like, can you, like, I guess I would consider myself a more educated person on gambling, and so far as like, I only go in with the amount of money I'm willing to lose, and I'm a little more responsible about it. But like, unless you could show that that's the way that you can teach people to gamble, like, I don't think you should have gambling anywhere. I don't think you should have, like, how do you teach people to be responsible with cigarettes? You can teach people to be responsible with junk food, but
super potent, super heroin, they're calling it, called fentanyl.
Okay.
The next day there were 16 dead.
downed a cigarette
You know
once
why?
to impress a guy, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
They said, everyone watch out for this crazy super heroin, and people ran full speed to go get it.
Do you think those are heroin addicts though? Because if I was a heroin addict and I heard there's a super heroin, I would immediately go try it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
This is different from like.
We are way over, so I do apologize, but we do got to wrap things up.
Okay.
But I do appreciate you coming. I thought it's always fun to have these conversations, as contentious as they may become. So I do appreciate you coming, and John.
No, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll do more, and hopefully we.
I didn't know. John, thanks for coming. He's just like, look at this.
No, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
He's
we'll
like,
do more,
yeah,
and hopefully
I
maybe
sure
come for one
showed
of our
up.
shows.
Should I do a call out to the other like leftist himbo that won't come on shows like this?
The himbo?
The Hassan Piker? Yeah. Should I call him out?
I will. You don't have to call him out, but I
should, right?
I actually will defend Hassan, because there are these personalities that I really despise, where every thumbnail they make is a random picture of Trump, and then the title is just Trump says bad thing, Trump does bad thing, and it's not actually news. It's like Trump looks disheveled and angry, and they get millions of views.
I call it Hassan as a joke here, which I had fun doing. You'll see.
But Hassan doesn't do that. He actually talks about news stories. He's just a leftist, so I respect it. Okay. But you shout out whatever you want to shout out. Hopefully we can have you at our live shows in the future.
I'll call. So yeah, I'm the Soy Pill on YouTube. I do video essays. If you think I was even remotely good faith here, please go watch them. Although my most recent video does feature Trump.
Look at his most recent.
Yeah, exactly what you just described, which is Trump, and the period is making his face Hitler. But yeah.
What is it an argument?
My argument, you heard most of my argument.
He's talking about the fine people thing, but the thumbnail is like Trump like this, and then he's got a Hitler.
That's fine. I'm saying like,
oh, Donald Trump said.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as of my videos of 2025, it's like X is racist, or you know, like Donald Trump bad is generically what the headlines are. So like, it doesn't really fuel this narrative of like, I'm not one of these crazy liberals who's just angry at Trump and has TDS. But
this egregiously big gaffe, and look how disheveled he.
Bro, I'm sorry, but why would cigs ever be banned? Free society doesn't ban stuff like that. What are you talking about? We ban heroin because we determined it's too addictive and deleterious, and I think that cigarettes have literally zero benefit for existing. So I don't know. Call me draconian. I just hate cigarettes.
They just go, oh my God, Donald Trump was on the news today. He looked crazy. It's getting so bad.
Trump derangement syndrome is real. My dad has it, and I'm trying to cure him.
Perhaps you mean something more like Trump had a bad day.
That is exactly what I was talking about. That was the day of the election. Yeah, that was a fun one. I really like that photo of him.
Yeah, but again, like, I have no problem with periodically you talk about Trump or criticize him. That's fine. Like, your videos are, you're talking about things, you're making arguments.
I am.
Does the left hate America? Yeah. Does Trump incite violence? Like, that's what a toxic man. That's all fine. I'm fine with it.
I'm glad.
I'm saying,
you
like,
should subscribe to.
You look at some of these channels, which I name too often, and like every single video is just a random screenshot of Trump. Anyway, did you want to?
Oh yeah, no. Let me call out Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker, I challenge you for the throne of Twitch and the soul of America's young men. You get these aspirations of anti-Semitism and being a himbo. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a bigger himbo. I'm Jewish, and I'm more anti-Semitic than you because I have to live with Jews. Okay? While you were complaining about Israel and their bombing campaign in Gaza, I was there on birthright, having to listen to their stupid fucking arguments. And you hold your swastika sword in front of Ethan Klein, while I have felt the blade of the circumcision knife. Okay? So no one is more anti-Semitic than me. So I challenge you, Hassan, for the throne of himbo Twitch. Meet me in the ring.
Well, how about you, John?
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. I just thought it'd be funny. Fucking John is wild too, because not only did he think that he was a prop in this debate, but he's also just like, I can tell the whole thing's like a facade to, like, you know, paint some stupid fucking narrative. In the car ride back, I was trying to be nice. I was talking to him. I was talking to Tim Pool's employee. And we started talking about movies. And one of the movies brought up, he's like, oh, you seen any good movies lately? And I was like, Yeah, I like Sinners. I didn't love the ending, but I really did like the set piece, and like I appreciated it for what it was. It was like a really good piece of art from a director. And like a few weeks later, John's like replies to some fucking like article on Sinners and is like, I've never seen anyone talk about this movie. I was like, motherfucker, you and I talked about this movie 2 weeks ago, like in real life. You just don't remember. Like this, he was so like either checked out or he's just like lying about shit for the narrative. But like it's so fucking weird to me, like this character of like, oh, he's like a Nazi, but he like defends the right from being called Nazis, even though he himself is like explicitly, openly like, yeah, eugenics good, black people bad. Like it's so fucking weird.
You can find me at youtube.com/John Doyle, and I talk about stuff not maybe pertaining to the foreskin or lack thereof, or anything like that, but it's a good time.
Right on. Okay, we went a little bit over. We got to bounce now. We are back tonight. Timcast IRL.
Oh, the reason I couldn't play Magic the Gathering with Tim is because they had to pick up Roseanne Barr, and that means they had to drop me off at the airport.
Roseanne's going to be here. It's going to be fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Roseanne's going to be here. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that.